Chapter 351. Baron Deep Sea stood before his army, projecting his voice across the gathered crowd. We are born of the sea, the children of the sea god. This place does not belong to those despicable foreigners. The high priest, spiritual leader of the sea clan of the endless sea, has received the sea god's oracle. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. The sea god told us he has ended his long slumber since ancient times. He already knows the suffering of his children. He will make those wizards pay the price. Citizens, the sea god has awakened. Pick up your weapons and fight to take back our homeland. Let our descendants live freely in this sea. Free all of our people enslaved by evil, selfish, and greedy wizards. A roar erupted from the gathered members of the sea clan. They raised their arms, blood boiling with fervor. They retreated behind the giant beasts in the water, guiding the creatures toward their targets. The sea beast tide had begun. On Black Sail Island, Levi left the Leviathan in a distant stretch of ocean. He transformed into the Duke of Montenegro, moving through the streets to gather resources. The Black Sail Wizard Market felt alien, transformed by the news of the approaching tide. Stalls stood empty or shuttered. Wizards affiliated with various factions had retreated to their bases, knowing safety lay in numbers. Nomadic wizards sought refuge in the island's depths, or submitted to the recruitment of official organizations, trading their labor for protection. Speculators hovered near the remaining booths, hoping to offload supplies at exorbitant prices. Levi secured the items he required from the few active merchants. He visited the Celestial Circle shop and others, stocking up on 2,000 ether stones worth of materials, including various potions and casting reagents. Time remained short, and the recent wave of panic buying emptied the shelves of ingredients for the Sandman potion. He would have to survive the coming tide with his existing stockpile. He skipped the spellbooks, possessing everything he needed save for breathing technique inheritance diagrams. He hammered a sign into the port walkway. Buying breathing technique inheritance diagrams at a high price, the wood announced to passersby. This was a high-traffic area, bustling with those boarding ships or entering the island. A burly, low-level apprentice wizard stopped and peered at the sign. Are you really buying breathing technique inheritance diagrams? The man asked, his tone laced with suspicion. Of course, Levi replied. I have a breathing technique inheritance diagram here, the man continued. It is a breathing technique passed down from my ancestors. If you offer me a reasonable price, I will sell it to you. The brawny man carefully produced a piece of parchment. Levi studied it, recognizing an excellent raid strength breathing technique called the Green Elephant Breathing Technique. He did not lack strength, but it would serve him well in the future. I will offer you 2 ether stones or 2,000 gold coins, whichever you choose, Levi said. I want the 2 ether stones, the man answered without hesitation. The trade concluded quickly. Levi collected a few more inheritance diagrams. They were shallow grade, but included a defense breathing technique and a physique breathing technique. He felt at ease. With most of the market emptied, only a few stragglers remained. I should head back, Levi muttered, preparing to return to the tower. A commotion broke out in the distance. The conflict involved members of the Grey Tower. Levi paused, debating his course of action. He could not stand by while his peers faced harassment. He shifted his appearance, obscuring his identity, and drifted toward the storefront to observe. The shop, known as the White Tower Store, served as one of the Grey Tower's primary business hubs in the market. It stocked potions and materials for apprentice wizards, with the occasional rare item for official casters. It was second only to the Celestial Circle shop and Whale Song. 2 groups stood at the entrance, hands resting on their magic wands. Apprentice wizards and market enforcers from the Grey Tower faced off against a group from Whale Song Island and other miscellaneous forces. Senior Sister Winnie stood at the front, eyes blazing with anger as she glared at her adversary. Hurry up and open the door, a high-level apprentice from Whale Song Island demanded. Why can we not buy things? I am Quinn, and I am not leaving until I purchase items here today. He led a small team of market enforcers. The owner of the White Tower Store wiped sweat from his brow, his hands trembling. Like I said just now, during this special period, according to the Grey Tower's protocol, the materials in the shop are not for sale for the time being, he explained. All of them will be brought back to the organization. I hope everyone can understand. Chapter 352. Quinn sneered. That is none of my concern. I demand you to be in business today. As a Black Sail Wizard market enforcer, I, Quinn, order you to open this store. How could you be so selfish? Right now, everyone should unite to overcome this crisis together. Does the Grey Tower only think of yourselves? No wonder your organization is getting worse and worse. A bystander chimed in. Yeah, how selfish of you. You are a bunch of exquisite egoists. Exactly. I am speechless. It is not like we are asking for the goods as charity. Voices from other forces echoed these sentiments. They were all actors Quinn had planted. Winnie narrowed her eyes at him. Quinn, was it? You claim that our Grey Tower is selfish, right? Then, why do you not tell us why Whale Song suddenly closed today? Could you have moved all the supplies back to Whale Song Island last night? The last time I visited Whale Song Island, you tried to court me with an arrogant attitude, but I rejected you. Are you still holding a grudge over that incident? Fortunately, I did not agree to date you. A cold smile curled her lips as she stood before the nervous store owner. She stood tall as one of the most outstanding apprentices in the younger generation of the Grey Tower, surpassed only by the freak Levi. Growing up in the Grey Tower instilled a deep sense of belonging within her. She would never allow anyone to insult her organization like this. She recognized Quinn as an outstanding apprentice of Whale Song Island. Quinn stood stunned. He cursed her internally as his face turned beet red. Unable to formulate a retort, he mustered his resolve and gestured to the crowd. Everyone, charge in. During this crisis, it is our right to buy goods. Do not worry. On behalf of the Black Sale Wizard Market Law Enforcement Team, I declare that charging into this store will not violate the order of the market. Who dares do so? Winnie drew her wand, ready to strike at any moment. The other Grey Tower apprentices bristled with tension. Even a female apprentice like Winnie dared to confront the enforcers. They had to make their stand and uphold the reputation of the Grey Tower. Levi watched the proceedings calmly from the side. In his opinion, these apprentice wizards resembled a group of children in an ivory tower fighting for the honor of their class. Although childish and naive, their dedication to the Grey Tower remained commendable. How quaint of them, he thought, a playful smile touching his lips. The apprentice wizards from both sides clashed. They unleashed all sorts of cantrips that Levi deemed non-lethal. Watching them felt like observing a group fight between high school classes. The Grey Tower side lacked numbers. Soon, Winnie and the other apprentices were repeatedly pushed back, and some suffered injuries. The Whalesong Island apprentices did not dare to kill them. After pushing the Grey Tower apprentices aside, they rushed into the White Tower store and began raiding it. Levi silently observed everyone from a corner. He noted down who was involved in the raid and what they took. For these people to dare to lay their hands on the Grey Tower property in broad daylight, someone must have been backing them. He sneered internally. He wanted to see who stood behind this. The Grey Tower apprentices watched helplessly as the raiders rushed into the shop and ransacked the place. Despair loomed over them. Some of the apprentices even cried. Winnie's eyes turned red. She suffered injuries in the battle just now. Her wounds throbbed with agony, and her face remained pale. An apprentice wizard stepped toward her. Winnie, calm down. They have the advantage in numbers. We should go back and tell the official wizards in the tower about this. We need these supplies to survive the sea beast tide, Winnie replied. We found out about the tide too late. Otherwise, we would have moved the supplies in the shop away long ago. It is okay, Winnie. I have already secretly stashed away the important things in my storage bag, whispered the shop owner. Soon, the White Tower store stood empty. Even all the sea beast meat had been taken. Levi wondered why the raiders took the sea beast meat. After the sea beast tide, there would undoubtedly be no shortage of sea beast meat. Quinn looked at Winnie with a mocking expression. I hope the Grey Tower will survive the sea beast tide this time. Miss Winnie, we will meet again after the calamity. After saying this, Quinn snorted coldly and swaggered away. Winnie wore an ugly expression. Alas, she could only helplessly watch them leave. A strange thought flashed through her mind. If only junior brother Levi had come with me. I want him to crush Quinn's head with his hands. Amidst the crowd, Levi's figure had long disappeared. In the dark alley, Levi flicked his snake tongue and tracked the auras of the raiders. A Whalesong Island apprentice leaned against the wall, happily counting the spoils he had just obtained. Suddenly, something pierced through the wall. A crimson tentacle materialized and pierced through the apprentice's robe. Before the apprentice could react, the tentacle grabbed his heart. He soon became a dried corpse and fell to a swarm of saint scorpions. On the other side of the wall, the crimson tentacle slowly retracted into Levi's palm. A silent, one-sided massacre occurred in the Black Sale Wizard Market. Chapter 353. The massacre concluded quickly. Levi surveyed the large pile of items inside his storage. One target remained. He whispered to himself, his voice cold. Quinn went to the residence of the Enforcement Union president. That is the territory of the official wizard, Circus. Calm washed over Levi. As he passed the White Tower store, the apprentices had already locked the shutters. They walked toward the port in a group with Winnie. He watched them depart, his expression neutral. He turned in the opposite direction and dashed toward the residence of Circus. He flapped his wings, transforming into a streak of crimson light. He soared into the sky and vanished among the clouds. Below, the Enforcement Union compound waited. Levi flicked his tongue. His blood-red tentacles danced wildly in the high-altitude gusts. He hissed, a demonic silhouette against the sky. Circus managed the Black Sale Wizard Market and held the rank of a first circle wizard from Whalesong Island. Levi knew the intelligence reports well. Circus was merely an ordinary first circle wizard. He paled in comparison to the likes of Green Ghost Carter or Kane the Fireplay Master. Levi formulated his plan. The chaos of the sea beast tide provided perfect cover to eliminate an official wizard from Whalesong Island. The old feud from the Shadow Realm still festered in his mind. At the residence of the Enforcement Union president, Circus smiled at Quinn. Well done, Circus said. The people from the Grey Tower should learn from this experience. During this crisis, an organization that only thinks about itself cannot survive in the wizard world. We can only endure the sea beast tide by uniting to face the enemy. Yes, Lord Circus. Those people from the Grey Tower are too ignorant, Quinn replied. We are also preparing to retreat, Circus said. The Black Sale Wizard Market might be abandoned within a year or two. Let us return to the island first. He paused, a sudden thought striking him. By the way, the murderer who killed Colorado has not been found, correct? We have had a hard time, my lord. Quinn wore a troubled expression. We have investigated for a long time, but we have not found any leads. Forget it then. You do not have to continue investigating the case, Circus ordered. Quinn nodded, looking as relieved as a man who had just received a pardon. Circus glanced back at the Enforcement Union headquarters. He had collected a vast amount of resources in the Black Sale Wizard Market over the past few years. It was enough to propel him to the rank of a senior first circle wizard. If everything went smoothly, He would never return to this place. He would take advantage of the sea beast tied to cultivate in peace on Whale Song Island. Let us go, he said. All right, Lord Circus, Quinn answered. Quinn had only taken a few steps forward when a bloody shadow swooped down from the sky like a peregrine falcon. A loud bang shook the ground. Dust filled the air. A tall, imposing figure crashed directly into the small courtyard of Circus. The landing pulverized countless floor tiles and sent debris flying. Cough. I think I stepped on a bug. Levi emerged from the swirling dust. He shook his head and looked down into the half-meter-deep pit beneath his feet. A pile of flesh and bone lay splattered everywhere. Quinn was dead. Terror seized Circus. What kind of monster is this, he thought. How dare it trespass into the Black Sail Enforcement Union? Even as an official wizard, he could not identify the creature. It possessed wide blood wings and a snake tongue. Ferocious black scales covered its burning body. Frost coated its arms. Its back rose high, resting on a pair of bizarre legs bent like a bow. The monster blurred into a bloody shadow and charged toward Circus. A crimson storm followed in its wake. Circus cast water shield to defend himself. Simultaneously, he unleashed a first ring spell, the sailfish arrow, to strike at the beast. The monster did not dodge. The sailfish arrow exploded against its body, but the beast remained unharmed. The creature surged forward. Green vines erupted from the ground beneath Circus, wrapping around him tightly. Levi had unleashed the first ring spell of green gloves, green vine love, golden revolving divine palm. The invincible revolving force instantly caused the water shield to distort. A moment later, the barrier shattered. Levi grabbed the neck of Circus and stabbed the vampire touch into his heart from behind. With a gentle pinch, Circus died. His eyes remained wide open, filled with fear and disbelief. Levi looked at the lifeless body in his hands. He felt stunned. He is really weak. Levi tilted his head, deep in thought. Did he really die just like that? Chapter 354. Levi stood stunned, letting out a heavy sigh. He had barely fought since advancing to the legendary two-dimensional state, and a worthy opponent remained elusive. He had hoped for a satisfying duel against Circus. Instead, the man had died on the spot. The act felt no different than extinguishing a high-level apprentice wizard. He shook his head, muttering to himself. It is definitely not because I am too strong, he reasoned. An ordinary first circle wizard is just too weak. I cannot afford to grow proud. In a Xingxia novel, I would have merely killed a chi cultivation noob. He warned himself to remain patient. After releasing the sacred insect to devour the soul of Circus, he swiftly swept up the spoils of war. He tucked the corpse of the wizard into his storage bag and departed. Circus possessed only average strength, so Levi felt little interest in turning him into one of the living dead. Still, if a better replacement failed to materialize, Circus might earn a spot among the 7 generals of the living dead family. After all, an official wizard held potential value. With the sea beast tide imminent, Circus proved a godsend. Levi wondered what treasures hid inside that storage bag. Upon arriving at the Grey Tower, Levi left Leviathan in the ocean. The creature was too large to bring ashore. When the tide of beasts descended, Levi would let the creature blend in with the enemy. Given its immense strength, Leviathan should easily weather the coming storm. When Levi reached the Grey Tower, senior sister Winnie and the others remained absent. He decided to hand the supplies from the White Tower store over to Marlene for distribution. The items held little value, and he lacked interest in keeping them. Levi offered Marlene a brief account of the events, carefully omitting the details he preferred to keep secret. Marlene raised an eyebrow in genuine surprise. You killed Circus. Levi offered a faint smile. Yes, ma'am. He sent people from Whale Song Island to rob our store. With the sea beast tide approaching, it would not be strange for an official wizard to perish during such a chaotic period. Marlene let out a short laugh. You brat. It is fine, so do not worry. If anything happens, I will let the Tower Master handle it. It is indeed time to teach those people from Whale Song Island a lesson. You may leave. Levi retreated to his home on the 9th floor of the Grey Tower. Later, he noted that senior sister Winnie and the others had returned as well. He paid them no mind. He opened the storage bag of Circus to assess his loot. Winnie led the other apprentice wizards to the 3rd floor of the White Tower after securing permission from Ms. Marlene. The woman sat wearing her glasses, deeply engrossed in studying an ancient potion formula she had recently acquired. Winnie and her companions stood by the door in silence, heads bowed. Only when Ms. Marlene set aside her work did Winnie find the courage to speak. Her eyes appeared red, and her voice trembled with the remnants of tears. Granny Marlene, the White Tower store was robbed by people from Whale Song Island. Another apprentice piped up. Yes, those accursed bandits are shameless. Granny Marlene, we cannot allow the Grey Tower to be humiliated by Whale Song Island. As wizards, we would rather die defending the honor of the tower. The apprentices all chimed in, their voices rising with indignation. They worked themselves into a frenzy, ready to declare war on the wizards of Whale Song Island. Granny Marlene watched these chattering youths, a headache blooming behind her eyes. She spoke with a weary helplessness. All right, go back to your respective rooms. A kind-hearted soul has already returned those supplies. The apprentices stood dumbfounded. They had been robbed only moments ago, and the raiders should still be at large. How could the stolen supplies have been returned so quickly? Winnie wore a strange expression. She possessed a vague idea of the identity of this person, though the notion seemed implausible. Ms. Marlene, who is this kind soul? Granny Marlene shook her head with a faint smile, her expression mysterious. Perhaps in the future, you will find out. She waved a hand dismissively. All right, let us disperse. Winnie, Take a few apprentices and help Mr. Marco prepare the defenses of the island. While you are at it, arrange for people to strengthen the coastline patrol. Advise the mortals in the town to move closer to the Grey Tower. When the sea beast tide arrives, I will activate the defensive array of the tower to protect everyone. Everyone, get ready and bring yourselves to peak condition. We have a long and fierce battle ahead. Although confusion lingered among the other apprentices, the weight of the upcoming sea beast tide pressed on them. They wasted no time, following the instructions of Granny Marlene as they hurried to their posts. On the 9th floor of the Grey Tower, Levi finished counting the loot taken from Circus. The harvest exceeded his wildest expectations. 3,800 ether stones. The number staggered him. Although Circus was extremely weak, he had earned a vast fortune through the dirty channels of the Black Sail Wizard Market. As a result, Levi now possessed more than 12,000 ether stones. I am generating more income even though my expenses have increased. Even with so much money, I cannot exchange it for materials for the Sandman potion. What is the use of having so much money? Levi lamented with a bitter smile. His current wealth surpassed that of almost any other first circle wizard. Apart from the ether stones, the storage bag of Circus contained a large quantity of casting materials and stacks of neatly arranged small boxes. Chapter 355. Levi opened the small boxes to reveal a collection of precious herbs and potions. A diary rested beside the small boxes. The handwriting belonged to Circus, detailing a long list of benefactors who had provided him with gifts. 1 3-leaf dead soul grass, a first circle potion material worth 20 ether stones, came as a gift from Helen of the Gloomy Store. A concentration potion, a first circle potion worth 180 ether stones, arrived courtesy of Bald Hans of the Valenki gang from West Street. The list continued, page after page. Levi scanned the entries, impressed by the scope of the collection. Over a decade of service as president of the Black Sail Wizard Market Enforcement Union, Circus had amassed an impressive haul. Levi shook his head, momentarily speechless, and offered a silent nod of acknowledgement to the man's talent for extortion. The gifts in these boxes alone held a value of 4,000 ether stones. The concentration potion stood out as the most valuable item. A wealth of fine herbs filled the collection, including several ingredients for refining the Sandman potion, though a few key components remained elusive. Circus lacked the skills of a pharmacist, so he kept these materials rather than selling them immediately. He did not live long enough to enjoy his accumulated hoard. Levi withdrew the concentration potion. He examined the label. It was a concentration potion, refined by Grimwalter, a registered member of the Pharmacist Association. The notes indicated it served to assist in meditation and enhance the spirit. Levi considered the potion. It was a first circle meditation aid, similar in effect to his own Sandman potion. He lamented the absence of the prescription, which would have allowed for further research. Then again, Grimwalter was not a local pharmacist. Levi stowed the potion away, intending to sell it later. Despite its official certification, he chose not to consume it. He could produce his own concoctions and preferred to exercise caution. These gifts, combined with the ether stones, made Circus wealthier than most first circle wizards. He turned his attention to a spellbook containing 3 first ring spells. These were the Sailfish Arrow, Water Shield, and Water Prison. Levi already possessed the latter 2, but the Sailfish Arrow was new to him. He also found several discarded magic wands, though no true wizard tools. In a corner of the container, Levi uncovered a nautical chart. He scanned the parchment, realizing it mapped a portion of the outer ring of the Endless Sea. The parchment depicted a vast ocean and specific coordinates, with various islands marked clearly. He traced the shape of the islands, immediately identifying the location of the Grey Tower. Using the Grey Tower as a reference point, he deduced the relative positions of Whalesong Island, Sighing Sea Breeze, and the surrounding regions. A specific location in the corner of the chart, far from the Grey Tower, drew his attention. It bore the label The Lost Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth. The name meant nothing to him. Perhaps it was the ruins of an ancient wizard organization. He remembered a time when Nas had invited him to explore such ruins, an invitation he had turned down. He had dismissed Nas at the time, but perhaps genuine, undiscovered ruins did exist in this region. Ancient wizard ruins operated much like the Shadow Realm, serving as vast treasure troves for those daring enough to explore them. They could contain ancient spellbooks, meditation arts, rare herbs, wizard tools, or powerful potions. Exploring these sites remained a high-risk endeavor. Strange mechanisms, evil spirits, bizarre arrays, and even forgotten transcendent creatures or alchemy puppets could lurk within their depths. Levi pondered whether the place held any connection to the gods, though he considered that unlikely. In his experience, true gods were powerful entities, much like the 7 orthodox gods of the astral world. While various tribes and civilizations often elevated transcendent creatures to the status of totems or gods, such deities were relatively common. Even the great Ice Ape King he had once subdued could be considered a mountain god by some. He decided to set the matter aside for the time being, resolving to investigate it once he had grown stronger. He rolled up the map and stowed it away. With his spoils catalogued, Levi returned to his cultivation. The sea beast tide remained a short distance away. Rapid breakthroughs in his breathing technique and meditation arts proved difficult to achieve. However, he stood on the verge of advancing to the 4th level of the Black Devil Blade. Achieving this would significantly increase his power. Far away, 4 powerful second circle dark wizards gathered on the undead ship amidst the foggy sea. The group included Melinda, the Bone Witch from the Bone Forest, Sarek the bloodthirsty wizard from the Blood Sea Vortex, Elens the spider witch from the Sea Spider Lair, and a powerful second circle nomadic wizard known as Pinaz the Lost Wizard. The Bone Forest, Blood Sea Vortex, and Sea Spider Lair were famous dark wizard organizations, located on the edge of the Outer Ring. Their expertise in concealment made their headquarters difficult to track. The dark wizards from these groups remained at large, periodically emerging from hiding to wreak havoc. Chapter 356. Following the rise of the undead ship, those three dark wizard organizations gradually receded into the shadows. Under the guidance of Morpheus, a third circle wizard, the leaders of those dark organizations convened to orchestrate a grand conspiracy. The Lost Wizard held only the rank of an ordinary second circle wizard, yet he possessed mastery over powerful arrays. Tales claimed he inherited this knowledge from an ancient master. Array wizards appeared even more rarely than pharmacists or weapon craftsmen. The difficulty and resources demanded to achieve the rank of an official array wizard surpassed even the requirements of a master pharmacist. Relying on his arrays, he evaded pursuit from the Star Tower enforcers on numerous occasions. During one encounter, he overcame an opponent who possessed greater strength. He slaughtered an enforcer, a senior second circle wizard, using a trap he constructed. Morpheus recognized his value as an exceedingly rare array wizard and extended an invitation for him to join the operation. Demon Harland unleashed a sinister laugh. He gestured to the group. Morpheus has already informed you, so I, Harland, will not squander any more time. I will lead this operation. To ensure we do not spread our strength too thin and risk defeat, I want everyone to work in unison. Our first target is the Grey Tower. After we raise the Grey Tower, we shall continue to dismantle the next faction. We need not act in haste. We still must wait for the right moment. We exist in the shadows now, and the advantage belongs to us. Moreover, we maintain an alliance with the Sea Clan. We shall let those simple-minded creatures lead the charge to wear down the enemy's strength. When the enemy exhausts their ammunition and provisions, we will deliver the killing blow. A severe injury plagued Demon Harland from his previous skirmish with Herman. Yet this time, Harland held the advantage of the encroaching sea beast tide, the array prowess of the Lost Wizard, and the support of three other second circle wizards. Such a formidable lineup guaranteed his victory. Black clouds loomed over the city as a storm swept across the sea. The weather intensified the already depressing and demoralizing atmosphere. The sea beast tide approached with terrifying speed. Apprentices and wizards stood prepared. Upon the twin towers, spell runes flickered into existence. These runes interconnected to form a complex array. A blue barrier manifested, encompassing the area within 1 mile of the Grey Tower and forming a semicircular shield above the ground. Light flowed across the surface of the barrier as runes pulsed. The site carried an aura of deep mysticism. The Blue Ocean Shelter, a second circle array, hummed with energy. It remained the most precious legacy left behind by Salmon, the first tower master. The array drew in water elemental power from the surroundings to construct a formidable protective shield against enemy attacks, fueled by ether stones. The array integrated directly into the architecture of the Twin Towers. During his tenure, Salmon claimed the Twin Towers as his own and poured effort into their protection. He spent tens of thousands of ether stones to commission an array wizard for this task. It required 2 second circle wizards working for half a year to complete the construction. Operators reserved the Blue Ocean Shelter for times of grave danger. It consumed more than 100 ether stones every day. The Grey Tower could not sustain such a drain for long. If the barrier faced heavy attacks and operated at full power, the consumption of ether stones would increase exponentially. This array possessed sufficient power to block most first ring spell attacks. It could withstand second ring spells as well, though the massive ether stone cost limited its duration. Apprentices stared at the massive array in awe. It stood as the first time many of them witnessed such a spectacle. Inside the White Tower, Marlene observed the activation with heavy emotion. The last time this array pulsed with life was during the war between the second circle wizards of the Grey Tower and the undead ship. Marlene hoped to never witness this array activated again. She scanned the interior of the barrier. Mortals from the island established temporary tents within the shelter. They followed the orders of the wizards, performing physical labor and constructing simple fortifications. While these barriers might offer little protection against sea beasts, the effort provided a sense of purpose. Some physically imposing mortals and knights armed themselves, ready to fight at a moment's notice. Apprentice wizards maintained order within the enchantment, while scouts watched for the enemy. Marco carefully inspected every corner of the array to identify potential weak spots. Mr. Tim stood with a group of apprentices, explaining the nature of the approaching sea beasts. On the 9th floor of the Grey Tower, Levi opened his eyes. A black shadow manifested behind him, rising 5 meters tall until its head brushed the ceiling. The 9 Swords Azura evil spirit loomed over him. The 9 Swords Azura possessed more tangibility than before. Its figure grew taller, and its 3 heads took on a more lifelike appearance. An additional ribbon wrapped around its arms and body, similar to the armillary sash worn by Nezha, and danced through the air around it. The 9 Swords Azura radiated increased power. It possessed enough strength to flatten the Twin Towers with a single strike. A smile touched the lips of Levi. My Black Devil Blade has reached level 4. Levi checked his progress. The Black Devil Blade had reached level 4, with 235 experience points out of 20,000. Level 4 did not represent the ultimate limit of the Black Devil Blade. Further refinement remained possible. Chapter 357. The Black Devil Blade served as a technique that cultivated both the physical body and spiritual force of the practitioner. To break through to the 5th level of the Black Devil Blade, Levi knew he first needed to acquire the spiritual force of an official wizard. He dismissed the 9 swords Azura with a thought. He donned his robe and stepped outside the tower. Everyone busied themselves with preparations for the Sea Beast Tide. He had used his points to take leave for secluded training. Now that the Black Devil Blade had reached the 4th level, he could not simply sit in his room. He needed to contribute. An apprentice wizard offered a greeting as he stepped from the tower. Levi smiled and walked toward the White Tower. Ms. Marlene had something to discuss with him. On the 3rd floor of the White Tower, Marlene observed his arrival. She gestured for him to step closer and asked if his seclusion had ended. Levi nodded. He inquired about his next task. There was no need for him to act immediately, Marlene explained. The tower currently lacked first circle combat power. She designated him, Marco, and Tim as the pillars of the tower. She advised him not to waste his energy in the early stages of the Sea Beast Tide. He would fight when first circle transcendent creatures made landfall. The 3 of them held one mission, which was to prevent those creatures from attacking the array. She would join the fight when necessary, but she had to remain ready to prevent second circle transcendent creatures and the people from the undead ship from causing trouble. She would rely on them. Levi agreed and confirmed he understood. Marlene offered a smile and asked if he felt confident in dealing with first circle transcendent creatures. She reminded him that he was only a high-level apprentice wizard, and it would be a challenge. The tower had always treated him as an official first circle wizard, and she felt they had worked him too hard. After the Sea Beast Tide ended, she would ask the tower master to provide him with rewards, including at least one first circle wizard tool. Levi shook his head. He had dealt with Leviathan before, and ordinary first circle transcendent creatures posed no match for him. The Grey Tower had taken in a child of chaos like him and treated him with kindness, so it remained only right for him to show his gratitude. Marlene advised him not to push himself if the battle proved too difficult and simply hide within the array. Levi agreed. He asked how long the Blue Ocean shelter could last with the reserves available in the tower. Marlene explained that if no first circle transcendent creatures attacked the array and accelerated its consumption, it could last for more than 3 years. If there was external interference, the situation looked bleak. Levi vowed that he would not let any first circle transcendent creatures get close to the array. He nodded and left the room. His black snake's message allowed him to sense the movements of the sea beasts on the nearby coastline, while he remained in the Grey Tower. Advanced perception enabled him to sense everything inside the barrier. If any transcendent creature approached the barrier, he would eliminate them with the methods of a knight. Now was not the time to hold back his strength. He needed to protect his life first. Since he had chosen to stay and fight against the sea beasts with the Grey Tower, he would do his part with seriousness. The task assigned to him was to guard the array, so Levi did not waste time wandering. He returned to the 9th floor of the Grey Tower and used the remaining time to cultivate his breathing techniques. Cultivating meditation arts required a deep meditative state that left him unable to sense the outside world. Even if sea beasts invaded, he would remain unaware. Moreover, achieving a breakthrough in meditation arts would likely take until next year. Without Naga's blessing, his chances of becoming an official wizard remained slim. He preferred to focus on techniques where he felt confident. He decided to pause his wizard training and catch up on more breathing techniques before the Sea Beast Tide arrived. He monitored the situation outside while cultivating breathing techniques in his room. Among the breathing techniques he cultivated, his level 10 Red Lotus reached 1/3 of the way to level 11. Hunchback Dragon rested at level 9, not far from level 10. Undying Bird remained far from reaching level 10, and the Black Whale breathing technique neared level 9. Beyond those, he also cultivated shallow breathing techniques to break through his limits. Levi focused on reaching level 10 with the Hunchback Dragon breathing technique to improve his endurance. Time passed, and half a month slipped away. He had yet to achieve breakthroughs in his breathing techniques. However, he moved closer to breaking through to level 10 of the Hunchback Dragon breathing technique. Levi was forced to stop his cultivation. The Dragon King whale hummed a nervous whale song. This served as a warning that an enemy approached the shore. Levi immediately descended from the tower. Winnie approached him, noticing his serious expression. She inquired what was wrong. She harbored a suspicion that the kind soul who had aided her last time was Levi, though she possessed no proof. In her opinion, Levi was shy and introverted. On the surface, he rejected her invitations to shop, but behind her back, he silently protected her and performed good deeds anonymously. Chapter 358. Levi turned to the apprentices. "It is fine. I am going to the beach to take a walk. You guys just stay here and keep watch." Winnie opened her mouth to speak, but Levi walked away before she could finish the sentence. Winnie sighed and turned back to her duties. Levi crouched somewhere by the coast. The black snake's message pulsed. The auras of many unfamiliar sea beasts flooded his mind. The first wave of sea beasts had already arrived. Several first circle transcendent sea beasts hidden within the swarm stood out. This enormous sea beast tide felt different. Usually, the first wave of a sea beast tide lacked such powerful creatures. Weaker beasts typically served as cannon fodder first, depleting the wizard's reserves, before the first circle, or second circle beasts struck the wizard tower. Today, the sea beasts held nothing back. The situation was urgent. He needed to inform the tower to make preparations. Levi turned and dashed back. He burst into the tower and shouted for everyone to hear. My dragon king whale senses the sea beast tide approaching. There are first circle transcendent sea beasts among them. Everyone be prepared. Many sea beasts can make land and fight. Do not think that you will be safe staying on the island. Mr. Marco and Mr. Tim rushed over. Marco looked grim. Levi, how many first circle transcendent sea beasts are there? I am not sure, but there might be more than one. Let us get ready and kill the first circle transcendent sea beasts before they get close to the barrier. Marco nodded. Okay, let us get ready to set off. Tim turned to the apprentices. The three of us will be responsible for dealing with the first circle transcendent sea beasts. Remember to clear out the low-level sea beasts that approach the array. A high-level apprentice wizard stepped forward. Teachers, let us go too. We can help. Marco rejected the offer with a cold gaze. You will only hold us back if you follow us. Levi is a legendary knight, and he is strong enough to protect himself. Can you do the same? Can you defeat Levi's Dragon King Whale? Defending this tower is also part of our victory. The high-level apprentice wizard blushed. As an elite among the apprentice wizards of the Grey Tower, he had hoped to use this opportunity to show off. Marco's dismissal cut deep. The other apprentices nodded. That is right, senior brother. Let us defend our home. Under the envious and worshipful gazes of the apprentices, Levi and the two teachers headed toward the shore with looks of determination. About 10 miles from the Grey Tower, a 13-foot-tall, thin, Blue Sea Clan member stood on the back of a first circle orca. He possessed an octopus-like head with wriggling tentacles around his mouth. 8 slender tentacles formed his lower body and limbs. Each tentacle held a sharp bone knife. This was Percival, a warrior of the Mollusks clan, and the Siren swordsman. He led the vanguard of the invasion. The 8-legged sea demons excelled in swordsmanship. Their 8-blade sect technique stood supreme among the Sea Clan. Percival was one of the most experienced swordsmen of his kind. He had killed many human powerhouses with the 8-blade sect technique since his debut. 8-legged sea demons possessed inherent flexibility and speed. No human could compare to them in terms of the number of weapons they wielded simultaneously. Percival's father was Blade King Vandro, one of the 4 great generals of the Sea Clan under the command of Baron Deepsea. Vandro held power equivalent to a human second circle wizard. He had warned Percival to be careful. Word had reached him of a human legendary knight in the Grey Tower. Percival should never underestimate a legendary knight. His father had nearly lost his life to a legendary knight in his youth. Although that legendary knight was a woman, her violent swordsmanship could part the sea waves and split sea beasts. The memory remained vivid for Percival's father. Percival sneered. I will prove to my father that I am not weak. This young and powerful siren swordsman prepared to use his 8-blade sect technique to end the life of the legendary knight. Thousands of sea beasts, led by 3 first circle transcendent creatures, charged toward the island. Percival sat proudly on the back of the orca and watched with cold eyes. 3 figures stood on the shore. They seemed to have been waiting for a long time. Mr. Marco's expression turned solemn. That 8-legged sea demon is powerful. I will deal with him and his mount. Tim, you deal with 2 of the first circle transcendent sea beasts. Levi, you deal with the other one. Levi nodded in agreement. His spider sensing flared, warning him that the 8-legged sea demon posed a significant threat. This monster matched the strength of an experienced first circle wizard. This was Levi's first time fighting against the Sea Clan, so he did not dare to be careless. He had to eliminate these first circle existences quickly to relieve the pressure on the Grey Tower's array behind him. Many sea beasts rushed out of the water as they hit the shore. Sea beasts was a generic term used by wizards to refer to everything living in the endless sea. Chapter 359. Among these sea beasts, some could not leave the sea. They waited by the shore and surrounded the island, cutting off the supply lines to the wizard tower. Other sea beasts rushed ashore. Their huge bodies and sheer numbers made the island tremble. Levi, Marco, and the others had no choice but to temporarily avoid the crushing mass. They could not waste energy on the fodder. They had to deal with their primary targets. Marco chanted a spell while clutching his wand. A wizard tool, shaped like a knight's sword, orbited him. He lunged into a fierce battle with Percival. Levi found his target, a giant sea snake measuring 60 feet long. It was a first circle sea beast, known as a blue-patterned sea snake. This venomous creature possessed 2 spell abilities, a toxic mist barrier, and a venomous fang drill. It flicked its tongue and charged at Levi the moment it hit the shore. Levi hissed in response, his snake tongue darting through the air. Black scales covered his entire body, hardening his features into a ferocious mask. The blood of a first circle transcendent snake would serve perfectly as his secret medicine. Boom! The blue-patterned sea snake and Levi collided. The hump on Levi's back surged with power. The terrifying force pushed both combatants backward. The sea snake had not expected Levi to possess such raw power. It activated a spell ability it had been charging. A dense cloud of poisonous fog engulfed Levi. An unprepared wizard would have had their body corroded into pus by the toxins. However, a trident flew out from the fog an instant later and pierced the blue-patterned sea snake's neck. Levi's body glowed with the light of golden protection. His black scales shifted and closed, sealing his 7 orifices and blocking the toxic mist. He dashed forward, grabbing the trident embedded in the serpent's neck. Terrifying power surged through him as Levi's body expanded. He activated his frost arm and flame body. With a wet, tearing sound, the blue-patterned sea snake was ripped apart by Levi's trident. Internal organs scattered across the ground, yet the creature still thrashed, refusing to die. Levi brandished his weapon and sliced the giant sea snake into pieces before gathering them into the storage bag he had prepared. The corpses of first circle sea beasts were treasures. If the current chaos allowed, Levi would have turned them into living dead. After swiftly dealing with the beast, Levi checked on Mr. Tim. The wizard fought 2 first circle sea beasts, and neither side held the upper hand. He remained safe for now. On the other hand, Mr. Marco, a veteran first circle wizard, stood on the brink of defeat against the 8-legged swordsman. Sweat drenched Marco's brow. He had never encountered an enemy of this caliber since attaining his rank. Even a forced second ring spell might fail to neutralize the threat. This swordsman was simply too strong. He handled his 8 custom bone knives with lethal proficiency. Many of Marco's spell attacks shattered against the blades. Defending against the swordsman required exhausting effort. The tentacles extended and contracted at will, making the creature's movements impossible to predict. Marco realized he had no choice. He had to attempt a second ring spell. He wondered if the array could hold out much longer. He began to cast, but Percival gave him no quarter. The swordsman laughed wildly, mocking him in the common tongue of wizards. He scoffed that he had expected more from wizards, but found them to be nothing but weaklings before his invincible 8-blade sect technique. The 8 blades spun, turning Percival into a whirlwind of steel. He broke through the surf and charged straight for Marco. Tim felt the urge to rush over and assist, but the 2 sea beasts pinning him down left him immobile. He glanced toward the spot where Levi had been fighting the sea snake moments ago, but the warrior had vanished. Marco's wizard tool flew out to resist the 8-legged swordsman. With a loud bang, the tool spun away, its spell runes dimming as it shattered. Despair washed over Marco. He began chanting a second circle spell, but a large hand suddenly grabbed him, forcefully interrupting the incantation. Clang! The sound of metal colliding echoed across the shore as the siren swordsman's 8-bone knives struck something unbreakable. A strong, stalwart figure holding a trident blocked the siren swordsman's attack. The shockwave shattered the solid black scales on Levi's body, but they instantly regenerated. Percival froze. He demanded to know which tribe the warrior hailed from, and why he had blocked the strike. The sea demon standing before him possessed a tall body and a towering back. Black scales armored his frame, and flames engulfed him. He stood on bird feet, his ice blue frost arms gripping a trident, the weapon most favored by Sea Clan experts. The trident looked familiar, much like the one the Baron had lost. Percival shook the thought away, refusing to entertain such nonsense. His expression turned solemn as he waved his 8-bone knives and launched an unstoppable assault. He barked that he did not care which clan the stranger served, adding that anyone who dared to stand in his way would die. Levi sighed. It was humiliating to realize he was so ugly that the Sea Clan mistook him for one of their own, and he had not even unleashed his blood wings or vampire touch. As a human, this was a great indignity. Raging flames burned over his body. He gripped the trident, the power of ice and fire swirling over the weapon, as he launched his counterattack against the expert of the Sea Clan. Chapter 360. 8-Blade Sect Technique, 8-Fold Star Slash. Percival shouted, his voice cutting through the roar of the ocean. His 8-bone knives blurred, overlapping in the air, until they transformed into a terrifying greatsword that slashed toward Levi. Levi curled his lip into a sneer. The phantom of the 9 swords Azura erupted behind him. A 15-foot-tall black evil spirit stood in the mist, towering over the battlefield. 3 heads glared outward, and 6 arms flexed, each gripping a longsword. Black ribbons fluttered in the wind, granting the spirit an aura that demanded submission. The spirit wore the Buddha's compassionate expression, the Yiksha's evil smile, and the Vajra's angry eye simultaneously. 81 black blades manifested around the body of the 9 swords Azura, buzzing in the air like a swarm of angry wasps. Azura's swordsmanship returned to origin. Attack. This was the latest move of the Black Devil blade that Levi had developed after reaching level 4. The black blades shot out, mimicking the technique once unleashed by Nameless. Crackle. Percival barely managed to block the wave of attacks. Black gas slipped past his defense, breached his mucus protection, and pierced into his soft body. The impact left him wounded. At the same time, the 9 swords Azura brandished 9 indestructible black longswords and slashed downward. Boom. The 9 swords Azura shattered Percival's greatsword. Percival gasped, questioning if this was the 9-blade sect. He thought his 8-blade sect technique was unparalleled, yet this monster wielded more weapons than he did. Levi rushed forward. He had long awaited the chance to test the true power of the level 4 Black Devil blade. Now was the perfect opportunity. Percival steeled himself, waving his 8 tentacles in every direction. 8-blade sect technique, 8-direction disillusionment. This stood as his strongest move. Even his father, a general of the Sea Clan, had praised it. Percival knew he could block the sword of this 3-headed and 6-armed monster. The 8 blades struck out, and the seawater exploded in every direction. Blade light capable of destroying everything swept across the battlefield, injuring many sea beasts. The ocean turned crimson. Levi swung his trident, unleashing the golden revolving slash. The 9 swords Azura mirrored the movement. The light of the golden revolving slash illuminated the 9 swords like stars. This served as the second new effect Levi had developed after the Black Devil blade reached level 4. He controlled the 9 swords Azura to execute the exact sword skill as himself. The 9 swords form combined with the golden revolving slash. 9 golden swords. Boom. Percival went airborne from the sword attack. 9 beams of light drilled bloody holes into his body and head. The light pierced through his flesh and churned his organs, as if the pain would never cease. In horror, the heavily injured Percival sat on the back of the orca and prepared to escape. Levi unleashed a crimson tentacle that pierced through Percival's heart, devouring his blood. The light in Percival's eyes dimmed, and his life force dissipated until he lay still. A famous swordsman of the Sea clan had fallen. Levi collected Percival's corpse. The golden revolving slash dissipated, and Levi returned to his original form. He handled the corpse with care, hoping to raise it as one of the living dead. The warrior was powerful, capable of suppressing Marco, making him an equal to Cain and Carter. He belonged in the ranks of the 7 generals of the living dead family. With the troll couple, Cain, Carter, and this Sea clan swordsman, Levi had gathered 5 members for his inner circle. Levi returned to the shore. Marco had just helped Tim settle the battle. One of the 2 first circle sea beasts saw that the situation had turned against it and fled back into the sea like the orca. The other died on the spot. Marco looked at Levi, his expression guarded. He asked if Levi was all right and inquired if he had studied the modification studies of the life school of thought. Marco recalled Levi's terrifying transformation and noted the resemblance to the wizards of that school, who often turned themselves into monsters. Levi smiled, assuring him that he remained himself. He explained that this was just a small side effect of being a knight and promised he was not a monster. Tim offered a warning, telling Levi to be careful and not let strange powers contaminate his mind. Neither he nor Marco understood much about legendary knights, so they did not realize these were simply inhuman characteristics. They worried for Levi out of genuine concern. Levi acknowledged their concern and suggested they head to the array to check the situation. He rushed toward the towers. The first wave had proven difficult enough to handle. The sea beast tide was proving far more dangerous than Levi had initially imagined. Chapter 361. When Levi and the rest returned to the Grey Tower, hundreds of sea beasts were attacking the barrier outside the protection of the Blue Sea. Sea beast corpses littered the ground. Blood flowed like a river. These creatures charged toward the barrier fearlessly. The Sea clan controlled most of these beasts. They possessed the innate ability to communicate with sea beasts. They simply needed to paint the dark and evil wizards as enemies in the minds of these simple creatures, and the beasts became weapons of war. The unbewitched creatures followed their primal instincts, attacking the wizard territory alongside the others. The sea beast tide contained many rare specimens. With the protection of the second circle array, the Blue Ocean Shelter, and the defensive efforts of the apprentice wizards, resisting the first wave of the sea beast tide proved manageable. 9 alchemical creatures constantly attacked the sea beasts. These alchemical guards, refined by the Tower Master, possessed the strength of high-level apprentice wizards and relied on ether stones as energy cores. Levi, Marco, and the others heaved a sigh of relief. Marlene turned to Marco. "You are back. How is the situation over there?" Marco wore a serious expression. "There is a Sea clan expert and 4 first circle sea beasts." Marlene looked surprised. The Sea clan experts arrived in the first wave. Logically, the Sea clan appeared last. Yet, this warm-up wave already featured so many first circle sea beasts and members of the Sea clan. Marlene suspected the Star Tower had miscalculated the danger level of this tide. It was not a level 3 threat, but likely something much higher. "Marlene, do not worry," Mr. Tim said. 2 of those first circle sea beasts escaped, and 2 were killed. The Sea clan expert also fell. "We have your disciple to thank for that." Marlene glanced at Levi. "Levi," she murmured. Levi offered a modest smile. "It was only with the cooperation of the 2 teachers that I was able to kill the enemy." Levi and the 2 official wizards joined the fray. They spent half a day cleaning up the remaining low-level sea beasts from the first wave. They relied on the protection of the array barrier. As long as the barrier held, the apprentices could cast long-range spells at the sea beasts without scruples. When exhaustion set in, they rotated shifts, retreating to meditate and recover their spiritual force, or drinking red and blue mana potions. Levi had killed dozens of sea beasts on his own. Releasing his living dead would have made the task even easier, but matters related to the School of Death remained sensitive in the Grey Tower. He did not want to risk exposure, especially since the undead ship belonged to that school. When the first wave of the sea beast tide finally retreated, the apprentices collapsed, panting. Some even fainted from the exhaustion of their spiritual force. In terms of endurance, these apprentices were far inferior to legendary knights like Levi. Even first circle wizards lacked his constitution. Levi harvested the useful materials from the corpses. He surrendered the remaining flesh and blood to the tower as food reserves for the coming siege. The sea beast tide provided an endless supply of corpses. Levi's sacred insects ate until they were bloated, their bodies round and unable to move across the ground. Levi feared they would stuff themselves to death. These insects were ruthless eating machines. They fed nonstop, eating most of the time and sleeping the rest. Levi had not deliberately focused on raising the saint scorpions, but they were in much better condition than when he first acquired them. They feasted on low-quality sea beast meat, and often devoured the flesh and souls of knights and wizards, a far superior diet compared to what they had consumed in the scorpion family. Even high-level apprentice wizards would struggle against the 1,000 sacred insects. The shells of the new generation of sacred armor scorpions were too hard for ordinary cantrips to penetrate. Furthermore, they could chew through defensive spell fields, similar to the black gas that had once afflicted the Grand Knights. There was almost nothing they could not bite. Levi estimated that if this metamorphosis continued, an army of tens of thousands of Saint Scorpions would force even official wizards to flee in terror. However, his insect-controlling technique only reached level 3, leaving him unable to command such a massive swarm. He kept the population in check, fearing to breed too many. Once he became an official wizard and mastered the sacred insect touch, he could officially embark on the path of the School of Insects. A legend about the old demon insect might then rise in this sea area. After the first wave of the sea beast tide subsided, the wizards and apprentices did not dare to slack off. They rushed to clean the battlefield and dispose of the sea beast corpses while preparing for the second wave, which could arrive at any moment. Levi looked at the blue light screen before returning to his home to rest. Fighting for so long had left him exhausted. The blue ocean shelter is certainly useful, Levi noted. It is a pity that the inheritance of arrays is so rare. There are 5 official pharmacists in this sea area, but not a single array wizard. He let out a sigh. Chapter 362. Arrays represented a comprehensive knowledge that integrated many subjects of wizardry, and it proved the most difficult field to master. The resources and time required to learn the craft remained extremely high. Beyond this sea area, even within the entire endless sea, few array wizards existed who possessed true proficiency. Large factions usually nurtured outstanding array wizards at a special price. These factions firmly controlled the array wizards as strategic weapons. Levi wanted to learn arrays, but even a clever woman could not cook without rice. He lacked the inheritance knowledge for these arrays, so he had no way to begin his studies. Used effectively, such arrays would prove useful for building a base on the island or constructing his own wizard tower. Levi ceased fantasizing about what he did not possess. Instead, he withdrew the corpse of the Sea Clan swordsman from his storage bag. This Sea Clan swordsman lay paralyzed on the ground like a huge octopus. On each of the 8 tentacles, a sharp bone knife remained. The bone knife consisted of the bones of an unknown sea beast. Although the workmanship appeared crude and primitive, the blades remained undamaged after colliding with the trident of Levi. They even broke the weapon of Wizard Marco. This marked his first meeting with the Sea Clan, so Levi felt curiosity. He traveled to the library of the White Tower and found an ancient book covered in dust. The Sea Kingdom records recorded a vast amount of knowledge about the Sea Clan. Levi checked the books and found that this octopus man served as a warrior of the Sea Clan called the 8-legged Sea Demon. Only the experts of the Sea Clan bore the title of warrior. Their strength remained roughly equivalent to a first circle wizard. Above them ranked the Sea Clan generals, the Sea Clan barons, and the like. The social structure of the Sea Clan mirrored kingdoms in the human world. Small lords and big lords were divided into layers and eventually answered to the 4 emperors of the Sea Clan. According to the descriptions in the books, the Sea Clan had been a powerful race in the past, but they gradually withdrew from the stage of history due to the arrival of wizards. In the Endless Sea, 4 largest Sea Clan groups occupied the 4 sea areas in the north, south, east, and west, and established 4 powerful Sea Clan empires. The rulers of these 4 empires were called the 4 emperors of the Sea Clan. The fact that these 4 emperors possessed the strength of a high-level wizard shocked Levi. The Sea Clan possessed such power. A high-level wizard represented a realm extremely far away from Levi. In fact, even a third circle wizard remained distant from his current level, let alone a high-level wizard within the 6 environments. He considered the High Priest of the Sea Clan. The status of the High Priest mirrored that of the Pope in the mortal world, and all the Sea Clans in the Endless Sea followed her. She acted as the spiritual leader of all the Sea Clans in the Endless Sea. In this era, only the High Priest of the Sea Clan could receive the Oracle of the Supreme Sea God. Levi frowned slightly. To be crowned as a god by such a powerful Sea Clan, this sea god should belong to the realm of a 9th circle wizard, also known as a demigod. If a real sea god existed, he did not need to worry. Even if the sky collapsed, a tall person would stand up to hold it. This sea beast tide would unfold as previous ones had, and they would survive. Sacrifices would occur, as long as the victims were not him or the Grey Tower. The Atlan Empire controlled the southern region of the Endless Sea, and the Grey Tower sat in the outer ring of the southern sea region. The Atlan Emperor was a supreme expert of the Mollusks clan, the 8-armed demon emperor. He mirrored the Sea Clan swordsman in appearance. Both were octopus people, but the 8-armed demon emperor belonged to the royal bloodline, while this Sea Clan swordsman remained an ordinary Sea Clan. Interesting. So many races inhabited the Endless Sea. Levi sighed after reading the ancient book. He searched the body of the Sea Clan swordsman and finally found a storage bag that looked like a conch. Many shiny gold coins filled this storage bag. The Sea Clan used gold for trade. These gold coins bore the engraving of an indomitable 8-armed giant that emitted monstrous demonic flames. The head of the giant was covered in dense flesh tentacles, and a pair of fleshy wings covered the sky. This must have been one of the 4 sovereigns of the Sea Clan, the 8-armed demon emperor. In addition to these gold coins, thousands of ether stones remained inside. This Sea Clan had likely snatched them from other wizards. Suddenly, Levi found a portrait in the corner of the storage bag. It depicted a valiant female knight, wearing a gorgeous cloak and silver armor. She held a great sword that did not look like a woman's weapon and rode a white unicorn. Levi stared at the portrait, wondering why the Sea Clan possessed an image of the Flower Knight. This had no apparent connection to the Sea Clan. Levi had heard of the Flower Knight in the human world. In the Shining Tavern, the 100 Flowers wine existed in honor of the Flower Knight. Levi had assumed that this legendary knight died, as her name seemed to have been passed down for hundreds of years. Now, it seemed that the Flower Knight might not be dead. Perhaps she had come to the realm of Azure Cloud and become a wizard. Chapter 363. Levi blinked, his confusion mounting as he processed the discovery. Percival's father, Vandro, had once suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of a female legendary knight. That knight was the Flower Knight, Elena. The sting of that loss lingered in Vandro's mind for years. He could not purge the memory of the Flower Knight from his thoughts, so he had sketched this portrait from memory, keeping it in his bedroom to admire daily. His foolish son had grown determined to avenge his father, and had taken the portrait with him. The boy swore that if he ever encountered the Flower Knight, he would finally clear the name of the Eight-Blade Sept. Instead, he had met his end at the hands of Levi. Percival had been intelligent enough to weigh his odds. He believed that aside from the 2 second circle wizards of the Grey Tower, no one possessed the strength to defeat him. It was a simple calculation of soldiers against soldiers and generals against generals. He assumed the second circle wizards would be too busy guarding against the powerhouses on his side to act rashly. Even if they did intervene, he doubted they could stop him. Fate, however, had led him straight to Levi. Levi had just advanced to the 4th level of the Black Devil Blade, and his strength had surged. The combination of the 9 swords Azura and the 9 golden swords had claimed Percival's life in an instant. The realization that the Flower Knight might also be present in the realm of Azure Cloud stirred a sense of ambition in Levi. If the opportunity arose, he wanted to recruit her into his Twilight Knights. It would be a fine addition, ensuring that all the knights belonging to his old masters would have female counterparts. The following month remained quiet. The second sea beast tide did not arrive, granting the Grey Tower a much-needed chance to catch its breath. Levi used this time to cultivate with a frantic intensity. He felt the same crushing pressure he had known when facing the Duke of Montenegro. While Levi pushed himself to his limits, the outside world descended into chaos. The first wave of the Sea Beast tide alone had been devastating. 2 first circle wizard organizations had been flattened, leaving 2 islands ownerless. Once the tide receded, the Star Tower would reclaim them for auction. Under normal circumstances, the Panplane Wizard Council ignored the deaths of ordinary first circle wizards during a Sea Beast tide. There was simply no need to intervene. Many wizards fell in every tide, and such losses remained well within the acceptable range for the council. The practice seemed cruel, yet the council viewed the Sea Beast tide as a necessary trial for every wizard in the Endless Sea. It was survival of the fittest. This primitive, violent method of elimination proved to be the most effective. A massive organization required regular culling. Without it, the Panplane Wizard Council would surely possess the strength to stop the so-called Sea Beast tide entirely. So far, the dozen or so second circle organizations in the area had safely passed the first wave. Everyone waited, nerves frayed, for the next wave to strike. On Whalesong Island, Morpheus wore a mask of cold detachment. 1 month ago, the soul jade belonging to their organization member, Circus, had shattered. He had dispatched agents to Black Sail Island. They returned with reports that the Black Sail Enforcement Union had been razed to the ground by a force of extreme violence. Traces of various sea beasts crawled across the ruins. Circus had vanished without a trace. It was clear that he was dead, likely devoured by the sea beasts, or left with his corpse obliterated. Although Circus lacked great strength, he was still an official wizard of Whalesong Island. At its peak, Whalesong Island had boasted 12 official wizards. Now only 10 remained. They had lost one during the Shadow Realm exploration, and now another had fallen in the Sea Beast tide. Morpheus did not believe the sea beasts had killed Circus. As a first circle wizard, Circus possessed enough power to protect himself during the first wave. Morpheus suspected that wizards from rival organizations in the area had orchestrated his death. The Grey Tower stood out as the most likely culprit. Their legendary knight had caused Whalesong Island to suffer a great loss in the Shadow Realm, and he remained at large. With that thought, Morpheus sent a message to Harland. He could not allow the legendary knight to escape during the upcoming attack on the Grey Tower. Whether the knight was responsible for Circus's death or not, he had to die. At the bottom of a dark sea, an ancient, strange castle rested. The structure occupied a hidden underwater canyon. Craftsmen had chiseled the entire castle from an underwater mountain peak, creating a towering, spectacular sight. This was Beach Castle, the mansion of Baron Deep Sea. After the mobilization, the Baron returned to his stronghold and sat high upon his coral throne. A thin, tall sea clan member with 8 tentacles stood before him. This was the Blade King, Vandro, one of the 4 generals of Beach Castle. As a powerhouse of the Mollusks clan, he was also the father of Percival. Baron Deep Sea commanded 4 generals in total. Beyond Vandro, the ranks included Jin, the Ghost Claw Butcher of the Crustacean clan, Bob, the Yellow Flash of the Mollusk clan, and Parker, the Red Devil of the Mollusk clan. These 4 generals possessed the strength of second circle wizards. 3 of them were currently commanding the Sea Clan and the Sea Beasts to invade the Wizard Islands. Only Vandro remained at the side of Baron Deep Sea, serving as his military counselor. Baron Deep Sea broke the silence. Vandro, why are you looking for me? My good-for-nothing son, Percival, is dead, Vandro replied, his expression gloomy, and his voice cold. I want to personally lead a team to avenge him. He had sensed the news of his son's death not long ago through the Soul Jade. He had not expected his son to die on the front lines so quickly. Chapter 364. Before Percival departed for the battlefield, brimming with confidence, old Vandro repeatedly warned his son not to underestimate the enemy. He insisted that the boy must return alive, no matter the cost. Fate proved cruel. Their final meeting had become a permanent farewell between father and son. Baron Deepsea stared at Vandro, his voice gravelly and calm. I understand your grief, but we are at war. Death is an inevitable companion to conflict. Even if my own son fell on the battlefield, I would not be surprised. We must consider the revival of the Sea clan above all else. You are the most important figure by my side. I need you here to help me plan and command the entire army. The war has only just begun. It is unwise for you to expose yourself on the front lines now. Baron Deepsea leaned forward and asked, which wizard organization did your son target? Lord Baron, he targeted the Grey Tower, Vandro replied. I know. When the time is right, I will personally lead the army to the Grey Tower. I can destroy a mere second circle wizard organization with a single slap. Baron Deepsea laughed wildly, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth. Holy Brilliance calendar year 1024, month of the furnace. A few months had passed since the first wave of the sea beast tide broke against the shore. Throughout this period, no first circle sea beasts appeared in the subsequent waves. Only low-level creatures remained, charging toward the wizard tower without fear. With the second circle array barrier holding firm, they survived the fierce attacks without any mishaps. However, the rapid consumption of ether stones caused Marlene constant worry. Months had passed, yet the pressure did not relent. Countless sea beasts rushed over like a relentless tide. The Grey Tower stood like a lonely boat in a storm, threatening to capsize at any moment. Since no first circle beasts threatened them, Levi spent most of his time cultivating the breathing technique on the 9th floor of the Grey Tower, between occasional hunts for low-level beasts. After constant effort, the hunchback dragon breathing technique reached its maximum potential, and the black whale breathing technique broke through to level 9. Levi checked his status. The hunchback dragon breathing technique stood at level 10, which was the maximum, with the special effect dragon spine in liquid form. The black whale breathing technique reached level 9, with 347 out of 150,000. It possessed the special effect whaleback in gas form. Levi's burly body stood supported by a dragon spine that resembled thick, hardened asphalt. Endless, vast power resided within it. The endurance effect of the level 10 dragon spine significantly improved over the previous iteration. It reached 3 times that of the level 8 transcendent endurance. This transformation allowed Levi to become a tireless war beast in the upcoming waves, tearing apart even more sea beasts with ease. After reaching the peak of level 9 in the black whale breathing technique, the transcendent power finally transformed. Whaleback in gas form allowed the back of the swimming dark whale to carry mountains, rivers, seas, and all living beings. The black gas gathered on his back, significantly amplifying his strength. This marked the special effect of the whaleback. The giant strengthened his arms, Red Lotus strengthened his core torso, Ostrich Mountain strengthened his legs, and the black whale strengthened his back. Levi's back grew wider and thicker. Demon-like muscles knotted across his frame, looking like black snakes entrenched in his skin. The middle of his back bulged slightly. It resembled the back of a whale, angular, broad, and powerful. Surging, vast power coursed through his back with nowhere to escape. He leaned against the wall of the practice room like an iron mountain. He utilized only 2.5% of his strength, fearing that any more force would cause the wall to explode. Boom. The walls trembled. Whale Mountain, Levi muttered, deciding that Whale Mountain served as a fitting name for the move. My strength has increased again, and I will face the sea beast tide more easily now. The hunchback dragon reached its maximum, so breaking through the limit in the short term would prove difficult. Only Red Lotus, the undying bird, and the black whale required further cultivation. Levi heaved a sigh of relief. He studied his reflection in the mirror. Black scale, frost arm, ostrich feet, flame body, whale back, dragon spine, and blood wings. Alongside the hump and the tentacles of the blood clan poking out of his chest, 9 different monster characteristics manifested on his body. Power is beauty, Levi mused. Levi's expression remained calm as an ancient well. With a slight shake of his body, all the characteristics dissipated, and he returned to his original appearance. As long as Levi wanted to be handsome, he could become a handsome uncle like the Earl of Silver Mountain at any moment thanks to the 1,000 faces. However, that effort seemed meaningless. Whether he looked handsome mattered only to foolish mortals. Levi cared only whether his fists possessed enough strength, and whether he could survive in this world dominated by gods, powerful entities, and wizards. He walked out of the Grey Tower to see the exhausted apprentices resting and consuming pills to recover their strength and spirit. Everyone remained tense, afraid to let their guard down. Even Levi shared their anxiety. He learned from Marlene that the Tower Master would emerge from seclusion next month. At that time, the Third Circle Wizard, Herman, would make a brilliant appearance. Only a few official wizards and Levi knew the truth. The apprentices remained in the dark. Levi felt completely relieved. The Third Circle Wizards would definitely survive the sea beast tide. He wondered what form the Tower Master would take. The Third Circle grants a lifespan of 500 years. In the human world, that time proves sufficient to witness the destruction, rise, and fall of many families. Levi sighed. Chapter 365. Although Levi had advanced to the legendary rank, he remained uncertain about how much the achievement had extended his lifespan. The path of knights differed significantly from the path of wizards. The latter possessed a complete, systematic theoretical framework, where generations of scholars had calculated life extensions for each ring. However, in the history of the 7 kingdoms, individuals capable of becoming legendary knights remained as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Many legendary knights fell before reaching the natural end of their lives. Communication between legendary knights did not exist. Under normal circumstances, a single era produced only one legendary knight, making the presence of multiple peers a rarity. Levi lacked data on the lifespan of a legendary knight. A legendary knight should manage to live for 200 years, provided they escaped illness and disaster. Levi questioned whether the lifespans of legendary knights and wizards could stack. Worrying about such things remained premature. Levi had not yet turned 40. Within a year or two, Levi would attain the rank of official wizard. Upon that day, he would truly embark on the journey of a wizard. Levi patrolled the island, dispatching the remaining sea beasts. He visited the hiding spot of the Leviathan to check on the creature. The Leviathan remained safe, spending its days sleeping in an underwater cave. Levi felt a sense of relief. With the beast nearby, he possessed an escape route at all times. 3 days later, another wave of sea beasts swept over the island. Again, no transcendent creatures appeared. Through their combined efforts, the defenders managed to resist the assault. Levi felt the weight of more than half a year of fierce fighting. Everyone stood physically and mentally exhausted. Even he felt numb. Although they battled low-level beasts, the sheer volume of attackers caused consistent trouble for the Grey Tower. The Ether Stone reserves of the Grey Tower depleted at a visible rate. The second circle array had burned through resources for half a year. Yet, the defenders dared not deactivate the defense. Restarting the array required too much time. Once the barrier fell, the apprentice wizards could not withstand hundreds or thousands of sea beasts for long. In the outside world, fortune did not favor every organization. The second circle wizard group known as Mangrove Cottage fell under the assault of the Sea Clan experts. The Cottage was an older organization than the Grey Tower, established over 500 years ago. It had survived previous sea beast tides. Perhaps their past success bred complacency. To conserve ether stones, the members persisted for a few months without the barrier. Sensing a decrease in the frequency of attacks, they removed the array. 2 Sea Clan generals immediately led their army to flatten the organization. The leader, the second circle wizard known as Mangrove Sage, died on the spot at the hands of those 2 generals. This annihilation served as a harsh wake-up call for other organizations. No one dared to save money any longer. Arrays remained active around the clock. Organizations lacking such defenses faced total destruction. Countless people became displaced, fleeing across the sea. Without ships or sea beast mounts, those refugees could not survive long in the open ocean. The sea belonged to the Sea Clan and the beasts. This sea beast tide dealt a heavy blow to the mages in this region. On Whalesong Island, the organization stood tall under the round-the-clock protection of their second circle array, the Azure Sea Curtain. With 10 official wizards and hundreds of apprentices, they reported no casualties. Morpheus watched the weak organizations crumble, his heart cold. Morpheus thought of the other organizations. If not for the Penplane Wizard Council, those groups would lack the right to share the sea with him. The law of the jungle remains the only truth. Holy Brilliance Calendar Year 1024, Month of Harvest. Across the entire Endless Sea, more than 100 wizard organizations likely perished within the last 6 months. This number meant little compared to the sheer volume of groups in the region. Most destroyed organizations were low-level, first circle, or second circle. Only in the inner sea region had a few third circle organizations faced destruction. These casualties aligned with the expectations of the Penplane Wizard Council. The true titans of the wizard world ignored these trivialities. They focused on the overall situation of the entire wizard civilization. Low-level wizards, unaware of these high-level decisions, simply paid the price of their lives if they failed to survive the disaster. At the end of the month of harvest, Levi received good news from Marlene. The Tower Master, Herman, had emerged from seclusion and attained the third circle. Chapter 366. Levi stepped onto the 7th floor of the White Tower. The air felt heavy with the scent of ozone and heated metal. The Tower Master sat before him, resembling a spherical monster more than any human he knew. Levi withheld any judgment on the man's appearance. After all, the Sea Clan experts had dismissed him as a bastard for being human, despite his own physical mutations. The Tower Master had transformed into a metallic sphere approximately 3 meters in diameter. It radiated a heavy, cold aura. Rivets protruded from the mithril plating, and spell runes shimmered across the surface. Levi could only imagine the endless years and resources poured into gathering that much mithril. The Tower Master had clearly awaited this day for a long time. He had shed his humanity to become an alchemical construct. Marlene stood nearby, watching the spectacle in silence. Although she had braced herself for this moment, the sight of her leader abandoning his flesh to become a metal ball defied explanation. A circular aperture opened in the center of the metal orb. The Tower Master's head emerged from within. His neck consisted of an alchemical prosthetic made of overlapping mithril segments, resembling the segmented body of a centipede. It extended outward with fluid, mechanical grace. The bald head drifted toward Levi and Marlene, suspended at the end of the metallic neck like a probing serpent. Marlene, Levi, long time no see. It relieves me to see that you are doing well. The Tower Master flashed a grin, revealing yellowed teeth. Marlene gestured toward the metal chassis. Even your heart and skull have turned to metal. Why did you not turn your big yellow teeth into metal as well? The metal sphere circled them. There is no more luminant gold available. Otherwise, I would have swapped my teeth for a pair of shark teeth made of luminant gold. That way, I could have bitten Harlan's head off. The Tower Master's jaw unhinged with mechanical exaggeration, reminiscent of an alien predator. A cannon barrel rested inside his throat. He snapped his jaw shut with a heavy metallic clack. Levi suppressed a laugh. The Grey Tower now housed two monsters. One was a construct of alchemy, and the other was a knight forged in blood and mutation. You are in a good mood. How does it feel to advance to the third circle? Marlene asked. It is all right. It differs from the experience my teacher had when he advanced to the third circle. I did not ascend through conventional wizardry. I transformed myself into an alchemical creature. To be precise, I am a third circle alchemical creature with a wizard brain. When I master the soul transfer technology of the School of Death, I will upload my consciousness into a soul box similar to that of a lich. I will replace my organic brain with a secondary energy core. At that time, I might achieve a lifespan equal to a lich and advance to the fourth circle. It will take a long time to prepare. Levi clicked his tongue. The Tower Master wandered further down the path of an alchemist freak. Levi admitted that he could never follow such a path. You do not feel any discomfort. You are not going to become an alchemy maniac, are you? Marlene asked. She had not expected such dissatisfaction, that he would want to replace his brain with an alchemy core. If he succeeded, would he still remain the Tower Master? I am very successful, and I am in a better state than I expected. It is all thanks to Levi's stone heart. It is the best stone heart. He gave me a powerful alchemy heart. The Tower Master opened a compartment on the top left of his spherical body. A heart sprang out. It pulsed, producing a rhythmic cuckoo sound like an ancient alarm clock. Traces of the stone heart remained visible, though shrouded in alchemical tubing and flickering runes. The massive energy contained within surged through his complicated, precise body. Levi could not help but laugh at the cuckoo sound. He had not expected such a mischievous side from the Tower Master. Marlene rolled her eyes. In that case, what do you plan to do next? The sea beast tide is still in progress. As I said before, I will not show my face. Based on my understanding of Harland, he will not let any opportunity pass to add insult to injury. I have a feeling that Harland will take this opportunity to cause trouble. I am going to wait for him and give him a big surprise. Maybe Harland is also waiting for an opportunity to give me a big surprise. The Tower Master rolled across the ground, his metallic laughter echoing. The sight was absurd, and Levi felt as though he were watching a digital caricature from his past life. Understood. We will guard the tower well. When ordinary second circle wizards arrive, Horman and I should be able to resist them. Marlene sighed and bid the Tower Master farewell. The Tower Master halted Levi before he could leave. It is all thanks to you. The Tower Master rolled over and extended his neck so his head hovered before Levi. It is my duty. The Grey Tower and the Tower Master gave me the chance to become a wizard. Everyone has taken good care of me. It is only right that I do these things. Levi replied quickly. Do you want to learn alchemy? The Tower Master asked suddenly. Levi kept his expression neutral, but suspicion gnawed at him. Did the Tower Master intend to pass on his alchemy legacy to him as well? Chapter 367. I cannot do it. I am not very talented. Levi lowered his gaze, his voice quiet. What is there to be afraid of? I am also a child of chaos. Did I not become a third circle cultivator? The Tower Master rumbled, the sound vibrating through his metallic frame. Levi swallowed the retort rising in his throat. You have turned yourself into a metal lump. He kept the thought to himself. He did not want to share that fate. The Tower Master circled him, his metallic movements precise. I can see that your talent is not as simple as you seem. I have some understanding of the path of knights. To be able to become a legendary at your age, your temperament and perseverance are not something that ordinary people reach. In some cases, those legendary knights with wizard talent achieve great things. Besides, you are a child of chaos. You have only been in the tower for less than 10 years, yet you have advanced from a low-level apprentice wizard to a high-level apprentice wizard. At such a speed, even triple affinity students cannot compare to you. Therefore, wizard talent is nothing. I know you can definitely become an official wizard. I do not care about the process, or what luck you have had. I only care about the results. I believe you can become an official wizard. If you want to learn alchemy, you can come to me. Alchemy does not require you to transform your body. You can make some puppets to help you fight and handle chores. Of course, there is no free lunch in this world. I am not as rigid as some wizards who insist on the principle of equal exchange. I still hope that if you have any achievements in the future, you will not forget the Grey Tower, Granny Marlene, and the others, who provided you with a little help when you first entered this world. The Tower Master offered a metallic smile. Thank you for your kindness, Tower Master. Please let me think about it. I am afraid that I am taking care of too many things and delaying the normal cultivation of wizards and pharmacists. Levi replied, his stance awkward. Yes, I understand. Let us talk about it when you become an official wizard. The Tower Master turned away. All right. Levi gave a stiff nod. With the Tower Master's permission, Levi left the White Tower. He walked into the cool air, his mind racing. Why did the Tower Master suddenly want to teach me alchemy? Is he trying to turn me into an alchemical creature, a puppet to possess? Of course, it is also possible that the Tower Master likes my potential and wants to invest in me before I grow up. He has good taste. The former thought felt like a conspiracy, but the latter seemed more likely. He wanted to learn alchemy, but his time remained limited. The most important thing was to break through the shackles of the legendary realm and become an official wizard. He had to put aside alchemy, as it required too much time and gold. Regardless, now that the Tower Master had emerged from seclusion, the Grey Tower possessed third circle combat power. Survival against the sea beast tide was almost guaranteed. Levi heaved a sigh of relief, his tense nerves loosening. However, the sea beast tide continued, so he could not relax completely. He practiced the breathing technique every day, hoping to advance to the legendary six-dimensional state soon. Perhaps then, he would have combat power comparable to a second circle wizard. Days passed. The residents of the Grey Tower remained unaware of the Tower Master's return. They existed in a state of numbness under the constant sea beast attacks. Following the fall of the Mangrove Cottage, another second circle wizard organization, the Sea Serpent Tower, was flattened by the Ghost Claw Butcher and the Yellow Flash. The Sea Clan displayed their terrifying strength before the wizards for the first time. The leader of the Sea Serpent Tower, a second circle wizard, died on the spot. Panic spread through the other wizard organizations in the sea area. The Sea Clan displayed too much power. Coupled with the countless sea beast armies, every organization feared they would be next. The Sea Clan seemed to target the weaker organizations that only possessed a second circle leader. Forces like the Sighing Sea Breeze and the Grey Tower, which held two second circles, had not yet been attacked by the Sea Clan's generals. The wizards understood that the Sea Clan was picking them off one by one. Eventually, the armies would gather to crush the stronger targets. Even with this knowledge, the wizards were helpless. They could not abandon their wizard towers. Without the Azure Ship, they could not offer each other support. Fleeing on the vast sea in a panic proved even more dangerous than defending their towers. This was the tragedy of low-level wizard organizations. Many were treated as abandoned pawns by the Panplane Wizard Council, becoming victims in this endless sea trial. Holy Brilliance Calendar Year 1024, Month of Northern Wind. Compared to the chaos in the realm of Azure Cloud, the world remained peaceful. In the Evernight Kingdom, the Snow Saint grew up under the care of the church. As the mother of the saint, Goddess Night Elsa rarely saw her daughter after the birth. The head priest's attitude towards her grew colder by the day. Elsa's rationality told her that the saint was not her daughter. She was merely a vessel for him to descend into the mortal world. However, when she thought of the feeling of being a mother during her pregnancy, she could not stop the tears. Chapter 368. This pain and suffering did not last long. Elsa disappeared. The Queen of the Kingdom of Darkness, the Saintess, and the Goddess Night Elsa vanished mysteriously on a cold night. The church tried to hide the matter at first. It was not until Elsa's loyal guard, Knight Cater, leaked the information to the outside world that the public learned of the shocking news. The queen was missing. Cater was beheaded for spreading rumors. Some people guessed the snow demon killed her. Conspiracy theorists guessed the church killed her. Rumors circulated that an old man in a black robe took Elsa away using magic. Opinions differed, but one thing remained certain. There was no longer a queen in the Evernight Kingdom. The Church of Snow could only allow the head priest to serve as temporary regent while they waited for a new king to take over. The Emerald Kingdom remained much quieter by comparison. The policy of recuperation allowed the after-effects of the war in Montenegro Mountain to recover gradually. The aristocrats and the royal family stabilized. However, after the White Horse Night, the royal family produced no more brilliant knights. Some prophesied this signaled the end for the Jade royal family. The kingdom's fortune approached its limit. In the near future, the world would change. The era ruled by the Emerald Dragon would soon come to an end. The Church of Holy Light stood aloof, watching the changes in the world coldly, waiting quietly for the birth of their saint. In Flower City, where spring lasted all year round, chess master Anderson and lost chess venerable Andrew played chess again. The Ollery in the realm of Azure Cloud had temporarily stopped its mailing service. Andrew could not send the breathing techniques he had collected recently to Levi. In the entire Emerald Kingdom, Andrew had collected almost all the breathing techniques that were easy to find. The remaining ones were either with the nobles, the royal family, or the church. Andrew sent people to other distant countries to search for more breathing techniques, but the efficiency suffered due to the long journeys. Anderson had successfully cultivated the blood beast breathing technique Levi had given him to the night realm some time ago. With his current realm and his long lifespan, he would eventually cultivate the blood beast breathing technique to the maximum of the 9th rank. Whether he could break through the limit like Levi remained uncertain. Staying in the human world felt too boring. He could only play chess with Andrew or chat with some old blood clan friends. Anderson suddenly felt the urge to head to the realm of Azure Cloud to seek refuge with Levi. He considered that Levi was not yet an official wizard and might not protect himself. He decided not to cause Levi any trouble. He might as well do his job as the vice commander of the Twilight Knights. He would go to the human world to see if any hidden legendary knights remained so the Twilight Knights could grow stronger as soon as possible. How powerful would a knight group made up of all legendary knights in the human world be? Holy Brilliance Calendar Year 1025, Month of Beginning. The Sea Beast Tide had continued for almost a year. The Sea Clan took down another Second Circle Wizard organization. So far, 3 weaker Second Circle Wizard organizations had been destroyed in the sea area where the Grey Tower was located. First Circle organizations had suffered even more. This constituted an absolute disaster, yet the Sea Beast Tide showed no signs of ending. The wizard organizations that survived so many Sea Beast attacks proved tough. After encountering many obstacles, the Sea Clan experts seemed to pause and discuss their next plan. A few dark wizard organizations hiding behind the scenes still waited for the best opportunity. Harland rubbed his palms together, ready to teach that damned Herman a lesson. Once the defense of the array of the Grey Tower broke, and when both the Sea Clan and the Grey Tower suffered heavy losses, Harland would lead these second circle wizards into the Grey Tower and give that old dog Herman a big surprise. In the Grey Tower, the apprentices remained exhausted. Many suffered injuries. During the previous sea beast attacks, some sea beasts found a weak spot in the array. First circle transcendent creatures helped these sea beasts rush in, causing significant trouble. The defenders dealt with the sea beasts, but the losses were enormous. Marco and Mr. Tim personally guarded this weak point. The situation improved slightly. Levi killed quite a number of sea beasts during this period. He kept a warehouse in his house that specialized in storing storage bags. These storage bags were filled with all kinds of sea beast materials Levi needed. These materials could serve to refine potions or cast spells in the future. Finding these sea beasts would usually prove very difficult. However, these sea beasts had been delivered directly to his door during this period. Levi had benefited from this misfortune to a certain extent. He considered his first circle potion, Naga's Blessing. It would be even better if a sea beast like the Grey Naga were sent up. On this day, in the secret room, Levi finished cultivating the Red Lotus breathing technique. He spat out a long stream of red smoke that burned the walls black. Red Lotus breathing technique, level 11. Levi muttered to himself. He was in a good mood. Chapter 369. Levi reviewed his internal status. The Red Lotus breathing technique had reached level 11, which was the maximum. His body now possessed the special effect of flame body in a solid state, accompanied by Red Lotus blood. After the transformation, a layer of armor as hard as lava covered his frame. Scarlet cracks spread across the surface, revealing the heat of the lava blood flowing beneath. His body erupted with newfound power. This power rivaled that of Emperor Mew. He had entered the legendary three-dimensional state. After obtaining legendary defense and legendary speed, he finally secured legendary power. These were the three paths of the legendary knight. Levi dared not claim this achievement would remain unrivaled forever, but he certainly stood as an unprecedented pioneer. The flame body improved his strength and his resistance to burning faction spells. He no longer required the defense of the solid-state black scale. Normal spells of the burning faction failed to burn him. Only the small fireball technique could scorch him while he occupied his flame body state. If he faced Kane and Carter again, the battle would end more quickly than before. Even against a second circle nightmare knight, he would last longer. After all, a second circle creature relied on raw strength and resistance, rather than complex spell-like abilities. The Red Lotus breathing technique advanced to level 11, and his strength climbed once more. The advancement triggered the birth of a legendary organ. Unlike the Black Snake message of the Black Snake breathing technique, or the touch of the Blood Clan of the Blood Beast breathing technique, the location of this legendary organ felt far more ordinary. The legendary organ had become his heart, the core of the blood circulation system. His heart no longer resembled the flesh and blood organ of his past. It had transformed into a magma heart, similar to the stone heart. The surface of the heart emitted a scorching aura, keeping his chest warm at all times. Had he not worn the flying fish robe, the heat from his heart would have ignited his ordinary clothing in moments. The powerful muscle beat with a rhythmic intensity. "I am burning up," Levi grinned as the internal heat radiated from his chest. With every beat, the heart acted as a furnace, boiling his blood. Mysterious and powerful energy flooded his limbs. The state resembled the activation of the Red Lotus blood special effect. His strength and explosive power climbed, yet he experienced no painful aftereffects. This represented a permanent, normal increase in his base strength. The effect fell short of the Red Lotus blood, but it provided lasting benefits without the exhaustion that followed his battle forms. His current strength doubled that of the Red Lotus breathing technique before he hit the maximum level. With the enhancement of the burning Red Lotus blood, his total output reached a terrifying level. The magma heart possessed a special feature. As he focused his thoughts, more scorching aura gathered in the furnace of his heart, turning the organ into a small volcanic crater. The stored energy grew larger, demanding release. He left the Grey Tower and stepped outside the barrier. He found an isolated spot and opened his mouth. The burning power in his heart expanded, ignited, and reacted until it reached a critical point. He needed an outlet. A fountain of red flame, as thick as a bowl, gushed from his throat. The flames scorched and shattered every tree in their path. The torrent blasted a huge rock ahead of him into fragments. Burp. Levi belched, exhaling a scorching, turbid breath that smelled of sulfur and gunpowder. The path of destruction left by the red flame spanned the forest floor. He sighed helplessly. He had actually used his own mouth to expel a breath characteristic of the Dragon Clan. This provided the most obvious effect of the legendary organ in his heart. He possessed the ability to breathe out spells. He named the legendary heart the Red Lotus Furnace, and the breath the Red Lotus Breath. The Red Lotus Breath packed more power than his Seal of Flame. The Seal of Flame could effectively retire from his arsenal. He decided this move rivaled the power of the Big Fireball technique. The Big Fireball technique offered a larger explosive range and wider damage, but the Red Lotus Breath reached further with more concentrated power. Each had advantages and disadvantages. They would complement each other. The power of the Red Lotus Breath could grow with the continuous advancement of the extraordinary heart. If he ever became a true Red Lotus beast, even legendary wizards would fear his breath. At his current level, Red Lotus required a long time to gather energy for a second breath. Precise calculation and analysis would dictate exactly when and how he deployed this killer move. Chapter 370. Levi deactivated his Black Snake's message. He wiped his lips and returned to the tower in silence. The Red Lotus breathing technique now stood at the maximum level 11. With his current strength type breathing technique, he possessed enough power to break the limit of the Red Lotus breathing technique immediately and advance to level 12. Levi hesitated. He paused to consider the risks. This marked his first time breaking the limit of level 11. He could not predict the outcome. He needed caution. He would break the limit of his black snake first. After the black snake surpassed its limit, he would determine if he should advance the Red Lotus breathing technique as well. Next, Levi needed to cultivate the undying bird breathing technique and the black whale breathing technique. He wanted to push every breathing technique and every organ to their absolute limit before the peak of the sea beast tide arrived. Holy Brilliance calendar year 1025, month of flowers. Originally, this time should have allowed the members of the Twilight Knights to form a team. However, the sudden sea beast tide trapped Levi and Emperor Mew within their respective organizations. They could not leave. The plan fell through. He knew the Sighing Sea Breeze organization possessed enough strength to weather this storm. Although the group lacked a third circle wizard, 2 second circle wizards stood guard. As long as he avoided any particular streak of bad luck, the group should survive. As a legendary knight, Emperor Mew had survived the pursuit of the Church of Humanity. Emperor Mew would survive this. A year had passed since the sea beast tide broke out. The entire endless sea seemed covered in a layer of grey mist. Levi led the apprentice wizards to repel another wave of sea beasts in the following period. His undying bird breathing technique reached level 10. The gaseous blood ember upgraded into a liquid form. Levi's physique proved much stronger than before. His self-healing ability improved significantly. Every time Levi used the blood ember special effect, red ashes fell to the ground with the wind, turning into sparks. It appeared very strange. Holy Brilliance calendar year 1025, month of flowing fire. High-intensity invasions of sea beasts occurred repeatedly. The consumption of ether stones in the second circle array increased day by day. The entire Grey Tower neared its limit. A month later, the second circle array finally ceased operation. The Tower Master asked Ms. Marlene to close the array, leaving only 10,000 ether stones for the final hour. The Grey Tower was not alone. The other wizard organizations reached the end of their ropes as well. Even the third circle wizard organization, Whale Song Island, neared collapse. Although the people under Morpheus had secretly reached an agreement with the Sea Clan that no Sea Clan would attack Whale Song Island, the location of Whale Song Island sat relatively close to the inner sea region. The water element concentration remained higher there. Therefore, the strength and number of sea beasts not under the control of the Sea Clan appeared less optimistic than in border regions like the Grey Tower. In Beach Castle, deep within the sea, Baron Deep Sea sensed the shifting tides and revealed a satisfied smile. The Sea Clan had not felt this proud in a long time. Vandro sharpened his 8 sabers. In the year-long sea beast tide, the sea beasts had almost completely exhausted the power of those wizard towers. The time had come to finish this. Baron Deep Sea turned to his general. Vandro, he commanded, call the other 3 generals and go to Whale Song Island with me. Vandro hesitated. Lord Baron, he replied, did you not say the Duke reached an agreement with the people behind Whale Song Island? Vandro thought they should attack the other second circle wizard organizations according to the plan. He did not expect the Baron to target the local tyrants in this area. Baron Deep Sea scoffed. What does the Duke reaching an agreement have to do with me? It showed great kindness that I did not send troops to attack Whale Song Island in the past year. I have had enough of these arrogant big shots and their plans. Do you think our Sea Clan can really reach an agreement with the wizards? Vandro, he continued, humans love to kill people after they have outlived their usefulness. It is human nature to go back on their word and be cunning and greedy. The second circle organizations that have managed to resist until now are all tough bones. They possess their own trump cards behind them. If we attack those second circle wizard organizations one by one and consume all our living strength on them bit by bit, I am sure that Morpheus will fight behind us. He will take the opportunity to finish us off so that Whale Song Island can rest easy in this sea area. After a year of invasion by sea beasts, the defense of Whale Song Island sits at its weakest. I must get rid of the person who poses the most danger to me in this sea area. Only then can I eliminate the other organizations without any worries. Morpheus and his followers could betray wizards and humans, and they could betray the Sea Clan even more easily. I never believed a single human. I only want to do what I want to do. As for the Duke's plan, that is the Duke's own business. As long as I do not do anything that goes against the Empire and the Sea God, he cannot touch me. Prepare the army, the Baron ordered. The target is Whale Song Island. After we destroy Whale Song Island, our next target will be the Grey Tower. The Baron made ample preparations for this day. Vandro thought for a moment. What the Baron said made sense. He went to gather the troops. In another area of the sea, Harland felt the time was ripe. He led the other 4 second circle wizards toward the Grey Tower. He rode atop his 3-headed hell lizard. It is time to end our grudges, Herman, Harland whispered. This time, you are doomed. Chapter 371. The Grey Tower loomed over the landscape. Levi cultivated on the 9th floor, when unease suddenly coiled in his chest. The hair on his arms stood on end. This sense of danger outweighed the previous waves of sea beast attacks. He moved toward the sea and found Leviathan sleeping soundly. He signaled the beast to remain ready for departure at any moment. Levi then climbed to the 3rd floor of the White Tower to find Marlene. Teacher, we should open the array, Levi said. The breathing technique I cultivate predicts danger. I can feel something approaching the Grey Tower. Marlene blinked in surprise. Only spells from the School of Prophecy usually possessed the ability to predict fortune and misfortune. Levi remained reliable, however, so Marlene proceeded to discuss this with the Tower Master without hesitation. When the apprentices saw the array barrier light up again, they understood that something monumental was happening. Marlene appeared in the square. Everyone, the final battle might be coming. We have been holding on for more than a year. I hope everyone can pull themselves together and endure until the end. A fierce battle lies ahead. As long as we survive this crisis, our organization will grow stronger. Marlene offered no further words. The brevity of her message allowed everyone to sense the seriousness of the situation. Levi returned to his breathing technique. He needed improvement before the danger arrived. He prepared everything he could and adjusted his body to its peak state, ready to welcome the coming battle. A few days later, the sense of danger reached its peak. Levi greeted Marlene and the Tower Master before he slipped away from the Grey Tower in secret. He did not plan to engage the enemy within the tower. Instead, he wanted to utilize Leviathan to sneak behind the lines. When the enemy fought the Tower Master, he would use his specialty as a legendary knight to deal heavy damage. If the enemy proved too strong, escape would be much simpler. Everything depended on the situation of the upcoming battle. With his legendary knight body, he could not swim like the Sea Clan, but hiding in the mouth of the Dragon King whale to wait for an opportunity among the sea beasts proved no problem. Here we go, Levi whispered. The sense of danger from his spider sensing reached its peak. This meant his enemy had arrived. The adversary was definitely a second circle existence. Otherwise, the spider sensing would not be so intense. That is strange, Levi muttered. Logically, I have no enemies in the Sea Clan. Did those fleeing sea beasts complain to the elder of the Sea Clan swordsmen, prompting them to come for me? While Levi pondered the situation, the Black Snake's message sensed 6 powerful and unfamiliar auras approaching. Levi and the Dragon King whale lay dormant in the deep sea, quiet and still. Every breath triggered Levi's spider sensing. These 6 auras clearly belonged to second circle existences. 6 second circle existences. Why not just run away, he thought. Including the Tower Master and Horman, the Grey Tower only possesses 1/3 circle and 2 second circle existences. If Marlene handles 1 and Horman handles 1, can the Tower Master fight 4 people at once? Levi doubted the outcome. A qualitative change existed between a third circle and a second circle existence, but he remained unsure if 1/3 circle wizard could defeat 4 second circle wizards. The numerical difference was too vast. Other than that, some auras of first circle existences drifted among the enemies, but not many. The second circle existences posed the most significant danger. Levi had never seen these second circles before, so the Black Snake's message database held no information on them. Otherwise, he would only need to observe their auras to identify them. When those dangerous entities entered the range of his detailed top perception, Levi realized only one of the 6 second circles appeared to be a sea beast. The rest were humans. He knew Harland wanted to eliminate him. He had repeatedly ruined Harland's plans and had become a thorn in the man's side. Let us wait and see. If the situation becomes impossible, I will have to run away. Although I would let the organization down, I must consider my own survival. Levi decided to observe the battle situation first. If he could contribute, he would do his best to prevent the destruction of the Grey Tower. On the surface of the sea, the 3-headed hell lizard flapped its bone wings and arrived at the shore of the Grey Tower, wreathed in green flames. Above the 3-headed hell lizard, the 5 second circle wizards, the demon, the spider witch, the white bone wizard, the bloodthirsty wizard, and the lost wizard, looked ahead with indifferent expressions. The witch Marlene and a giant frost white snake coiled on the shore blocked the way. Marlene, where is Herman? Did that old ghost escape and abandon you? Demon Harland was in high spirits. He had never felt so refreshed. Including the 3-headed hell lizard, a total of 6 second circle existences stood on their side. Even if the other party included Herman, only 3 second circle existences remained to oppose them. Chapter 372. 6 against 3. With the advantage in numbers, Harland felt no doubt about his impending victory. He brought the second circle array wizard, the lost wizard, just to be safe. Harland, I did not expect you to dare to come back, Marlene called out from the shore. You were beaten up by the Tower Master and abandoned your armor like a stray dog. How dare you return and bark? Harland scoffed, waving his hand in dismissal. If Herman had not called the enforcers, he would not have been my match. There is no point in saying more. Since that old thing Herman does not dare to face me, I will kill you, and that white snake, and flatten this grey and white tower. Harland threw his head back and laughed wildly. Everyone, attack. Do not underestimate the enemy. Attack. Harland impatiently waved his magic wand, sending streams of hellfire toward Marlene. The others moved to display their own abilities. Ellens, the spider witch, was a beautiful woman. She was once an apprentice wizard of a first circle wizard organization. When she accidentally discovered that her senior sister had received the inheritance of a sorcerer from the School of Insects, she harbored evil intentions. She plotted to kill her senior sister and took the inheritance for herself. Hunted by the wizard organization, she disappeared without a trace. When she finally returned, she had become the leader of the dark wizard organization, see Spider Hut, and left behind the terrifying title of Spider Witch. The Spider Witch raised a group of top-notch low-grade Zergs, and ranked 111th on the School of Insects Zerg list. Her signature creation, the red-faced sea ghost spider, was the reason she made a name for herself. The spider witch produced a bag woven from spider webs. This was her bug house, and thousands of red-faced sea ghost spiders stirred inside. Go, cuties. Kill all the people on the island. The spider witch chuckled. The densely packed blue and red spiders, each as big as a human head, entered the seawater. They seemed to merge with the surf as they attacked. These creatures represented the best among low-grade mutated insects. If thousands of red-faced sea ghost spiders swarmed forward, ordinary official wizards would be devoured in an instant and die from the poison. Even second circle wizards would fail if they were not careful when facing so many mutated insects. Horman faced a formidable enemy. He flicked his tongue, and a cold aura of frost spread across the deck. As a second circle transcendent creature, Horman had mastered many spell-like abilities. He spat out frost, and his breath almost froze everything in front of him. The seawater hardened, and some of the red-faced sea ghost spiders hiding in it were trapped in the ice. These creatures were resistant to frost. Under such extreme cold, they did not die, but kept struggling on the ice. Terrifying red poison flowed from their fangs, melting the ice. The red-faced sea ghost spiders shuttled on the surface of the sea, spitting out white threads. As they moved quickly, they weaved a white spider web that covered the sky, attempting to trap Horman. At the same time, the three-headed hell lizard rushed over with a furious roar, pressing white snake Horman to the ground. 3 different lights emitted from its 3 heads. Horman showed no fear. Blue light shone brightly on its white scales. Second circle spell ability, ice arrows. Ice arrows, far more powerful than water arrows, shot out from its body. As a powerful second circle dragon clan mixed blood, Horman stared with light golden eyes filled with killing intent. His slender and powerful body broke through the spider web and wrapped around the 3-headed hell lizard, ready to kill. While the 2 second circle beasts fought, Marlene and the spider witch bombarded each other with spells. Harland looked gloomy. He stopped caring about the fight on this side. He called for the lost wizard, the array expert. He wanted to personally flatten the Grey Tower and find Herman to settle the score. One of the Whitebone wizards went to help the Spider Witch, while the other followed Harlan to find Herman. Marlene lacked the power to handle both the Spider Witch and the Whitebone wizard, but she did not panic. She only needed to try her best to resist the 2 second circle wizards for a while. The real highlight would be the Tower Master. Levi stayed put. The battle had just begun, and the Tower Master had yet to appear. Levi felt no need to rush. The Tower Master would not let Marlene come to harm. If Levi attacked an enemy like a second circle wizard, he would have only one chance. If he missed, he would have to use his blood wings to escape. Otherwise, if the second circle wizard was prepared, his life would be in danger. The Tower Master was the most important person in this battle. Levi wondered if the third circle Tower Master could withstand the attacks of so many second circle wizards. Harland brought the bloodthirsty wizard and the lost wizard to the second circle array, but they halted outside. This kind of large-scale protective array protected the wizard tower. Other than members of the wizard organization, who had recorded a trace of spiritual force into the core of the array, no one else could enter or leave freely. Hee. You are hiding in the array, are you? Harlan gestured to the lost wizard. Pinaz, break this array. The lost wizard looked confident. Countless rays of light swirled in his eyes, as if he analyzed the structure of this array. He spoke with a calm tone. The protection of the Blue Sea is a very good second circle array. However, I have already seen the gap in this array. There is no need to forcefully break the array. We will rush in through the gap. Chapter 373. Harlan chuckled, his mood light. He gestured to the array wizard beside him. As expected of an array wizard, Morpheus did the right thing by inviting you here. It saved me a lot of trouble. With the help of 2 second circle wizards, killing Herman seemed like a simple task. Soon, he pinpointed the weak spot of the array where Marco and Mr. Tim stood guard. A motley crew. How dare you stand in my way? Die. Harland cast a first ring spell, Soul Flame. The magic flared into existence. This simple first ring spell possessed more power than Green Ghost Carter ever had, amplified by Harlan's abundant spiritual force. The blast shook the ground. Marco and Mr. Tim barely blocked the attack before retreating. Harlan differed from the White Bone wizards. They were ordinary second circle wizards, while Harlan stood as a senior second circle wizard. His focus remained solely on Herman, who shared his senior rank. Harlan dismissed the others entirely. The 3 second circle wizards rushed into the array. Spells flashed. The square in front of the Grey Tower erupted into chaos. Apprentice attacks proved too weak against these veterans. They could not even scratch the defensive field surrounding the second circle wizards. Herman, come out. Face me. Do you only dare to be a coward in the tower now? Harlan shouted into the air. With the lost wizard maintaining the formation, Harlan felt no fear. Something fell from the sky through the gap in the array. The earth trembled. Dust filled the air. A huge metal ball blocked the path. Immediately, chains made of mithril and luminant gold shot out from the metal sphere. These chains danced wildly, etched with complicated alchemy runes. It was a second ring spell of the School of Alchemy. Chain whip. A loud slap echoed. The second circle defense field of the bloodthirsty wizard distorted, trembling on the verge of shattering. The bloodthirsty wizard's expression changed to one of panic. Alchemical creatures. Chains wrapped around the bloodthirsty berserk sorcerer, binding him tight. A bald old man stuck his head out from within the metal ball. He opened his mouth like an alien creature. An alchemy cannon revealed itself in his throat. The end of the cannon began to shine, signaling a terrifying attack. A violent white light shot out like a laser. The bloodthirsty wizard's defensive field collapsed. The white light struck him, blasting the upper half of his body away. The bald old man smiled, his gun barrel still smoking. Harland, my old friend, we meet again. Harland's expression shifted drastically. You are Herman. You are not human anymore. If Harland had known this would happen, he would have stayed away. Herman descended from the sky. He had instantly killed the bloodthirsty wizard. Although the victim was an ordinary second circle wizard, he was still a second circle wizard. How could that defensive field shatter in an instant? There was only one possibility. He had advanced to the third circle. This is impossible. How could you advance to the third circle before me? Harland screamed. He had fought Herman for more than 100 years. He knew Herman better than anyone in the world, aside from himself. He had spent his days on the ship researching how to kill him, how to find his weakness, and how to win their ongoing arms race. The third circle signaled that low-level wizards had become intermediate wizards. The difference between the third circle and the second circle was much greater than the difference between the second circle and the first circle. Even if everyone he brought today joined the fray, he doubted he could defeat Herman. Outside, the bone wizard and the spider, which continued to fight Marlene, and the white snake. Harland shouted to his companion. Penaws, I will restrain him. Use your array to trap him. Harland knew the key to dealing with Herman was the array wizard. Only an array could defeat the strong. The ball the Tower Master had become kept changing, reforming like a super beast. It shifted into a violent mountain gorilla, though the bald head atop it looked somewhat comical. Various second ring spells slammed into the alchemical creature. The defensive field formed by complicated alchemy runes blocked them all. The creature consisted of mithril mixed with luminant gold. This construction cost a fortune, and the quality far surpassed that of cheap brass goods. The second ring spells failed to halt the alchemical beast. The earth shook. Harland summoned a nightmare knight on a flaming warhorse to charge the alchemical beast. The knight struck, but the beast sent it flying. Broken bones shattered as the creature fled back to hell. This was the difference between a third circle and a second circle. The first third circle spell the Tower Master had solidified for his alchemy body was the most classic, powerful, third circle passive defensive spell. Steel Burning Protection. With this defensive spell protecting his alchemy body, he felt invincible. Even without spell abilities, he could rely on this iron form to tear apart an official wizard. Yet, the alchemical beast possessed more than just strong defense. Its attacks were equally devastating. Chapter 374. 5 powerful second circle alchemy cannons occupied the body of the alchemical beast and the throat of the Tower Master. As the large pile of ether stones in the fuel cabin burned, pillars of light blasted at Harland. Harland used more summoned creatures to restrain the Tower Master, while dodging frantically. Even so, a shot struck him firmly, costing him half his life. The black magic fire in his head dimmed. In just a few minutes, his energy waned. Marco and Mr. Tim watched the Tower Master crush Harland and breathed a sigh of relief. They hurried to the seaside to assist Ms. Marlene. Only official wizards could intervene in a battle of this level. Apprentices risked immediate death if they came too close. The lost wizard prepared his array. Rays of light flew from his body and shot into the ground. These lights contained gear-like discs embedded with ether stones. Incomparably complicated spell runes adorned the discs. This was the array he intended to use next, known as the array board. The array board quickly surrounded the Tower Master and Harland. Penaws chanted complicated incantations, and all kinds of light surrounded him. Beams of light shot from the discs and connected together, forming a complicated rhombus-shaped array on the ground. The second circle array, the sea demon cage, hummed into existence. 8 thick tentacles made of water elements rose from the 4 corners of the array pattern. These tentacles waved and formed an unbreakable barrier, trapping the Tower Master and Harland inside. Harland stared at the cage, his expression changing drastically. He demanded an answer from Penaws. Penaws, what do you mean? Why are you trapping me inside? His black demonic flames flickered, struggling under the destruction wrought by the Tower Master. Penaws ignored the question. He finished setting his strongest second circle trapping array, and quickly flew away. He did not have time to retrieve the array board. If he did not leave now, he would lose his chance. Damn it, this damned Harland. The information is wrong. This Herman is not a second circle wizard at all. He is a third circle wizard. Penaws understood the difference between a second circle and a third circle cultivator. As a senior first circle wizard, he could barely cast a second ring spell. His spiritual force had suffered severe injuries, though he held a chance of recovery in the future. However, a senior second circle wizard could not cast a third circle spell. Forcing the attempt resulted in one consequence. The user burned their spiritual force irreversibly until their soul turned to ashes. Then, the soul dissipated, and the user died completely. The gap between the second circle and the third circle loomed vast. Although Herman did not enter the third circle through the orthodox path, and only modified himself into an alchemical creature, his strength remained unmatched. Penaws knew that if the wizards who came here did not run away quickly, Herman would kill them one by one. Penaws chose not to tell the others about the actual situation. He used all his strength to escape the sea area. Letting those people stay hindered Herman for a while. A desperate and sorrowful roar tore through the air as Demon Harland shouted, "Die, Herman, fall into hell with me. It is worth it for me to die with you." A terrifying aura condensed in the sky above the grey tower. A blood-red light spread across the island, as if a gap had opened in hell. A 10-foot-long palm reached out from the crack. At the end of the crack, a ferocious-looking red-faced giant ghost with goat horns seemed impatient to descend. Accompanied by an extremely indignant roar, Harlan's entire body burned into black flame. The Tower Master opened his mouth and sucked all the black flames into his metallic form before closing it. The red clouds in the sky receded, and the cracks dissipated. Fortunately, he did not finish casting the spell. Even if this guy burns all his mental power, he still summons hell creatures of the third circle. He did not fear the giant, but the grey and white towers would vanish if a war broke out on the island. After solving the problem, he immediately chased toward the surface of the sea. When the White Bone Wizard and the Spider Witch saw the Tower Master, their expressions changed drastically. Harlan had fallen. The monster killed him. Both wizards cast spells to leave the battlefield and attempted to slip away. This is not a place where you can come and go as you please. The Tower Master sneered and dragged the 2 second circle wizards and the 3-headed hell lizard into the battlefield. It became a fight of 1 against 3. Horman, Marlene, and another person, Pinaz. He is an array wizard with strange methods. Go after him and deal with him carefully. I will handle things here. Horman and Marlene nodded and quickly chased after him. Pinaz traveled 100 miles in one breath. Then he hit on an uninhabited island among the reefs and used a simple first circle invisibility array to cover himself. Chapter 375. Pinaz exhaled and wiped sweat from his brow. He was finally safe. His array disc remained in the Grey Tower. He had suffered heavy losses. Morpheus lied. Herman had already advanced to the third circle. It was fortunate that he had escaped so quickly. Pinaz retreated into the reef to recover his spiritual force. The second circle array, the Sea Demon Cage, was the strongest trapping formation he had mastered. Even a third circle powerhouse would remain trapped in it for a short while. The array had bought him the necessary time to escape. At the same time, the consumption of spiritual force for this second circle array was terrifying. He had mastered it recently and dared not wander. He remained still, fearing detection. While powerful, the spiritual cost of the array far exceeded that of spells of the same level. Harlan had gifted him the first circle array, the Shadowless Maze array, to conceal his aura and figure. He felt confident. Unless other wizards of the third circle or above passed by, no one would detect him hiding 50 kilometers away from the Grey Tower. He would hide here for a few days to recover his spiritual force. He would escape after the storm passed. Pinaz let out a breath of relief that Harlan, the fool, had bought him time. Otherwise, even as an array wizard, he would have struggled to escape without preparation. Marlene, the second circle wizard, flew over the reef. She failed to notice the person hiding among the rocks. Pinaz heaved a sigh of relief. He drank a bottle of potion and began to meditate to recover his spiritual force. Under the surface of the sea, Horman swam past with his slender, white body. The snake flicked his tongue, sniffing the currents. The target aura hovered in the sea ahead, but remained invisible. Horman grew anxious. Levi emerged from the mouth of the Dragon King whale and gestured to Horman. Horman understood and dived downward. Levi signaled to the giant snake. He knew exactly where that person hid. A strange smile played on his lips as he flicked his tongue. He had followed the fleeing second circle wizard all the way to this spot. With the black snake's message, Levi had locked onto the figure until the target hid his aura on the island. The target remained a second circle wizard, however, and Levi dared not make a move alone. He waited for the opportunity until Horman arrived. The target likely utilized a concealment spell. They would join forces to kill the enemy. Horman nodded, sensing the enemy nearby. His snake tongue lacked the precision of Levi's, so he could not pinpoint the exact range. Horman would restrain the target head-on. The target hid on the reef on the right side of the island. Horman could unleash an area of effect spell to attack the island indiscriminately. The target would have to emerge. Once the target appeared, the two of them would coordinate to kill him instantly. Levi lacked confidence in tackling a second circle wizard alone, but with the powerful Horman, success seemed achievable. The man and the snake finished their plan. Horman swam toward the island. Levi hid in the mouth of the Dragon King whale, ready to let Leviathan send him up at any time to deliver a fatal blow. 5 kilometers from the island, Pinaz's expression shifted. A powerful aura rippled through his detection spell. It was the white snake. He should be just passing by, like Marlene. My aura remains completely concealed. Even if this transcendent creature possesses sharp perception, it should not be able to discover me. Pinaz comforted himself. He weighed the option of escape but decided to wait. He refused to believe the white snake could discover him. Pinaz remained unaware that Levi had locked onto his location through the black snake's message. Even with the array hiding his aura, the method proved useless because Levi pinpointed where the aura disappeared. If Pinaz moved away from the array, his aura would leak and alert Levi once more. Horman arrived at the island. He obeyed Levi's instructions perfectly. Without hesitation, he released an indiscriminate icy breath at the island reef. Ice spread and froze the island inch by inch. Hiding in the Shadowless Maze array, Pinaz believed he remained safe. His expression twisted. The damn furless beast, how did it know I was here? Was it pretending to test me? That proved impossible. When I escaped, I used perception, but no one followed me. He hesitated, but as the frost covered his hiding spot, Pinaz flew out. He moved fast, blasting a second ring spell toward Horman. Horman's body glowed with a frost armor spell that blocked the attack. The giant snake swung his tail in a sweeping strike, and Pinaz dodged the blow. Chapter 376. Pinaz dared not continue fighting. He feared the enemy would catch up to him. As he dodged the giant snake's attack, Array items resembling small flags spun and danced around him. He intended to use the second circle array, Swarm Shark Dance, to kill Horman and end the battle quickly. At that moment, a figure turned into a bloody light and shot out. The crimson flame scroll in Levi's hand tore apart. 5 big fireball techniques, each emitting scorching heat like small suns, appeared and blasted toward Pinaz. There were no blind spots. It was a 5 fireballs technique, a second circle spell. Levi opened the engagement with a second ring spell he usually hesitated to use. Boom, 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 boom. The 5 fireballs exploded in succession, lighting up the sea. A big fireball technique could solve almost anything. If it could not, then 5 consecutive shots certainly would. The 5 fireball divine sect possessed the most awesome power. The burning faction was known for its unparalleled attack power. Naturally, their most classic second ring spell possessed devastating strength. Pinaz had nowhere to hide. A second circle wizard, and from the burning faction, Pinaz thought, shock rippling through him. He felt confident he could defeat the white snake. However, facing a second circle wizard meant certain defeat. Levi interrupted the Swarm Shark Dance array midway through its activation. Pinaz had no choice. He stopped to deal with the sneak attack from behind. A tall and burly monster flew over from behind Pinaz. It possessed a black scale flame body, frost arm, ostrich feet, blood ember, whaleback dragon spine, and blood wings. The monster grinned wildly and flicked its tongue. Red lotus blood burned fiercely, pushing the creature's aura to an unprecedented peak. It was Levi in his legendary 3-dimensional state. 3 heads and 6 arms sprouted from his back. His Dharma form appeared solemn, and black belts fluttered in the wind. A 5-meter-tall 9 swords Azura, evil spirit materialized. Above the 9 swords, 9 stars appeared. This was a legendary 3-dimensional state, combined with red lotus blood and 9 golden swords. This marked Levi's strongest state in history. Every ability except for favored by the knight remained active. Levi had only one chance to strike against a powerful second circle wizard. He could not fail. Since the great battle began, he had remained dormant. He endured silently, waiting for this exact opportunity to deliver his most sublime sword strike. At the same time, a scorching breath mixed with flame flow gushed from Levi's mouth. The red lotus breath arrived instantly. Scarlet flame slammed into the back of Pinaz as he fought Horman. The defensive spell on Pinaz, second circle robe activated automatically. It protected his body, blocking the red lotus breath. Beyond the defensive field of the second circle, Pinaz possessed other defensive measures as a second circle wizard. However, the 9 swords Azura's brilliant 9-star chain followed, along with the 9 golden swords burning with red lotus flame. Slash! The gorgeous attack tore the robe apart. Spell runes dimmed. Flesh and blood splattered across the sea. The second circle wizard, the lost wizard, Pinaz, fell. Chapter 377. Levi drifted on the surface of the sea. His breath came in ragged gasps. He leaned against the side of the creature, finally resting after the exertion. He wiped his face and looked at his companion. Thank you, Horman. You do not mind if I take this person's things, right? The white snake merely shook his head in silence. Levi moved quickly, securing the broken corpse of the second circle wizard inside his storage bag. He gathered the remaining items, including the man's storage satchel, and the strange, small flags and plates scattered across the water. He examined the pieces. All manner of spell runes covered the surface of these seemingly inconspicuous objects. They remained entirely indecipherable to him. Could this be something used for arrays? Levi felt a flicker of uncertainty. The massive formation back at the tower was a large-scale array, specially customized for wizard organizations. It differed greatly from these portable tools. Regardless of their true purpose, Levi tucked everything away into his storage bag. He climbed onto the back of the Dragon King whale. Together with Horman, he returned to the Grey Tower. Ms. Marlene waited for their arrival on the shore. Her return marked the end of the conflict. The battle with the Tower Master had concluded. As a third circle powerhouse, it remained only a matter of time before he dismantled the 3 second circle dark wizards. Marlene stood with her shoulders slumped. A sense of self-blame weighed on her. She had failed to catch that cursed lost wizard. She had let him slip away. It is all right, Marlene. The Tower Master spoke with a soft, calming tone. The man is an array wizard. He possesses great proficiency in his craft, making him notoriously difficult to kill. Even I remained trapped by his array for a significant duration. He gestured to Marlene, who looked visibly depressed. Sigh. If we kill this second circle dark wizard, we can apply for additional bounties from the Star Tower once the Sea Beast Tide passes. Casualties within the Grey Tower remained low during this latest Sea Beast Tide. However, the activation of the large-scale, costly array had nearly depleted their entire stockpile of ether stones. Such a loss proved fatal for a wizard organization. The tower required ether stones for daily expenses. Furthermore, the official store at the nearby wizard market had shuttered because of the tide. The Grey Tower had lost its primary source of income. The meager amount of ether stones earned from the apprentices fell well short of their needs. It is fine, the Tower Master continued. Harland alone is worth 20,000 ether stones at the Star Tower. With the addition of the 3 second circle wizards, the total bounty reaches 50,000 ether stones. Moreover, their storage bags hold a significant number of ether stones. I have calculated the figures roughly. These stones should be enough to compensate for our losses during this period. Harland acted as someone who knew how to provide help in times of need. At the most critical moment, he had sent much-needed warmth to the Grey Tower. The Tower Master had anticipated this turn of events. He had already deduced Harlan's tricks. Consequently, he refrained from exposing the fact that he had directly advanced to the third circle. If he had revealed it, Harlan possessed the personality to avoid coming entirely, unless he first reached the third circle himself. Levi and Horman eventually returned to the White Tower. Levi approached the leaders and placed the broken corpse of the second circle wizard along with his storage bag in front of Marlene and the Tower Master. This is Pinaz. Marlene stared at the remains, her voice trembling in disbelief. Did you kill him? Levi shook his head. A bitter smile touched his lips. I tracked this person, knowing exactly where he hid. I cooperated with Horman to eliminate him. How could I kill a second circle wizard on my own? I only launched a sneak attack. Marlene released a sigh of relief. If Levi had killed a second circle wizard by himself, especially one proficient in arrays, it would be impossible to believe. Levi had originally intended to keep the storage bag for his own use. However, he realized he could not break the spell restriction placed upon it. He reconsidered his options. He decided to hand it over to the organization. Furthermore, Levi worried that the Tower Master or the others might communicate with Horman. If they discovered he had secretly hidden the spoils of war from a second circle wizard, the outcome would be dire. It would destroy the most basic trust between them. He chose to trust that the Tower Master and Ms. Marlene would deal with the spoils fairly. Another second circle dark wizard's head. Marlene nodded. I should be able to exchange it for 10,000 ether stones at the Star Tower. The Tower Master paused for a moment. His expression grew serious. Forget about Pinaz. Do not spread the news of his death. Only the few of us will know. Pinaz is different from the others. He is an array wizard, and he has always been a focus for the Star Tower. The Star Tower holds a deep interest in this man's array inheritance. Of course, we cannot hand such a precious asset over to the Star Tower. It remains priceless. Our organization must control it. Levi, you and Horman killed this person together. It is your credit, so your reward will be significant. If this man possesses the inheritance of an array wizard in his storage bag, you may learn from it in the tower at any time. You need only sign a confidential contract and keep the matter secret. Levi bowed his head. Thank you, Tower Master. He felt a surge of surprise. The man had truly been a rare array wizard. After witnessing the power of those formations, Levi felt obsessed with the craft. Now that he had the chance to study arrays, he would not refuse. In truth, if not for Horman, Levi would never have dared to attack the second circle wizard. It was Horman's frontal suppression that provided the window for Levi to launch his fatal sneak attack. Chapter 378. The Tower Master immediately opened the bag belonging to the lost wizard. He found tens of thousands of ether stones inside. As expected of a second circle array wizard, the man had been wealthy. Next, the master pulled out various arrays of different shapes and sizes. These formed the cores of the mechanisms. Levi had already handed the array flags of the second circle Shark Frenzy array over to the Tower Master. Levi understood he remained too far away from achieving the second circle himself. Instead of letting the items gather dust, he believed they might as well serve to increase the defensive strength of the tower. Finally, the Tower Master retrieved an ancient-looking book. It was thick and crafted from an unknown material. A strange triangle, with a blood red eye adorned the cover. He labeled it the Book of Cipher. The Tower Master flipped through the pages and showed them to Marlene and Levi. Levi took the volume. Suddenly, the blood red eye opened its bloodshot pupil and stared directly at him. Levi ignored the gaze. He understood these were merely the evil interests and tricks of wizards, and they held no true meaning. He took a quick glance. As expected, the book recorded the inheritance of arrays. The value of this work was immeasurable and could not be calculated in mere ether stones. However, after finishing the book, he realized it was incomplete. The Tower Master sensed the confusion in Levi's expression. Obviously, what Pinaz obtained was only a portion of the inheritance from this array master named Cipher, the Tower Master said. I have examined it, and it seems to contain basic knowledge and first circle arrays. A low-level second circle array without any knowledge above the third circle holds little help for me. However, Marlene and Levi, if you have time, you can learn from it and master the second circle array. If you are prepared in advance, few opponents of the same level will be able to defeat you. Marlene and Levi nodded. The Tower Master continued his explanation. The knowledge of arrays also involves a great deal of alchemy, crafting, and ancient spell runes. Levi, if you want to learn arrays, you had better come to me to supplement your knowledge of alchemy. All right, Tower Master, Levi said. I am still focused on becoming an official wizard. I can learn about arrays and alchemy after I break through to the next level. You cannot ignore potions, Levi, Marlene reminded him with a helpless sigh. Of course not, Levi replied. Potions are my major field. I only need to dabble in the rest. This way, I can deal with array wizards more easily in the future. That makes sense, the Tower Master agreed. Finally, the Tower Master offered Levi 1,000 ether stones as a reward. Levi could not refuse and accepted the gift graciously. Levi left the White Tower and allowed the Tower Master and Ms. Marlene to take their time counting the remaining spoils of war. Apart from the lost wizard, he had not contributed much to this battle, so he felt he did not qualify to participate in the distribution. It served as a pleasant surprise that he had managed to obtain the inheritance of the array. Third circle wizards are far too powerful, Levi mused. They exist on a completely different level from second circle practitioners. If first circle wizards utilize a reasonable combination of spells, hold enough trump cards, and possess proper equipment, they might compete with second circle wizards. However, it remains almost impossible for those in the second circle to challenge the third circle. Therefore, first and second circle wizards are only considered low-level practitioners. After the third circle, they become intermediate wizards. In the entire Star Sea, they would be considered big shots. He had never expected that the Tower Master could defeat so many enemies alone. This made him even more eager to become an official wizard. The battle against these dark wizards had brought Herman, a third circle powerhouse, out into the open. The apprentice wizards, who had been kept in the dark, revealed happy smiles. Everyone felt the tension leave their hearts, and they allowed themselves to finally relax. With such a powerful Tower Master in charge of the Grey Tower, the strength and status of the organization in this sea region would skyrocket, bringing it on par with Whale Song Island. Apart from the fact that their number of official wizards remained weaker than those on Whale Song Island, the Grey Tower now counted as a third circle wizard organization in other respects. Holy Brilliance Calendar, Year 1025, Month of Wheatfield. An even more important piece of news spread across the sea area. A month ago, a Sea Clan Lord, Baron Deep Sea, led 4 powerful Sea Clan generals, thousands of Sea Clan members, and many sea beasts to attack Whale Song Island. The Sea Clan Lord displayed extremely powerful strength and shattered the defensive array of Whale Song Island with a single punch. Then, the Sea Clan and Whale Song Island engaged in a bloody battle. In this battle, the strength of the Sea Clan crushed Whale Song Island almost unilaterally. With the cooperation of the 4 generals, Baron Deep Sea killed a second circle wizard and pharmacist named Angus from Whale Song Island, severely injured the third circle wizard Morpheus, and killed more than half of the official wizards and apprentice wizards on the island. Just as the Sea Clan prepared to take down Whale Song Island completely, a mysterious 5th ring wizard descended with a spatial teleportation scroll and saved Morpheus at the critical moment. Then, the wizard used a 5th ring spell and killed more than half of the Sea Clan forces. However, Baron Deep Sea proved unusual. He and 2 surviving Sea Clan generals managed to escape under the noses of the 5th ring wizards. After this battle, the strength of Whale Song Island, which had been nearly destroyed, fell drastically. Only 5 official wizards remained. A single second circle wizard stood as the deputy island master, and the third circle wizard Morpheus retreated into seclusion with serious injuries. The entire Whale Song Island faced an unprecedented crisis. Chapter 379. At the same time, after Baron Deep Sea escaped with serious injuries, the sea beast tide in this area began to fade away. The attacks of the sea beasts grew weaker. In the end, during the month of northern wind in 1025, the sea beast tide ceased entirely. This marked the end of the sea beast tide in this sea area, but looking at the endless sea, some regions still suffered from the impact of the tide. Overall, the sea beast tide had passed its peak period, and the next step was to weaken. All of this remained within the expectations of the Panplane Wizard Council. Holy Brilliance Calendar Year 1026, Month of Beginning. The messenger from the Star Tower brought good news again. After nearly 2 years of resistance, the war between wizards and sea beasts had come to an end. The courage and perseverance displayed by the wizards proved admirable. The final victor remained the wizards. The wizards once again proved with their strength that they stood as the true masters of this sea area. Evil did not suppress the good. Any evil would eventually face defeat. Not long after, the Azure ship flights to and from the endless sea started moving again. The wizards who had survived the disaster cheered for the joy of victory. The Black Sail Wizard Market slowly resumed its operations, and the usual liveliness gradually returned. However, the president of the Law Enforcement Union no longer claimed Whale Song Island, but a sorcerer from the Dark Sea Cave. Whale Song Island announced the closure of its shops in the market, and withdrew from the law enforcement management of the Black Sail Wizard Market. From then on, it retreated into seclusion and ceased interaction with other wizard organizations. In contrast to the desolation of Whale Song Island, the Grey Tower thrived. After the Sea Beast tide, the Grey Tower officially applied to the Panplane Wizard Council, and became an officially certified Third Circle Wizard organization. From then on, the organization enjoyed the treatment of a Third Circle Wizard organization. The Star Tower had also sent the reward for the Tower Master killing those dark wizards to the Grey Tower. The total amount reached 60,000 ether stones. As the leader of the Second Circle Dark Wizard organization, the heads of these people commanded high value. With these ether stones, the Tower Master could strengthen his alchemy body and increase his strength. He could also solve the urgent problem of the Grey Tower regarding its empty treasury. The current Grey Tower, after 2 years of Sea Beast tide, not only avoided decline, but felt as if it were thriving. Compared to the other organizations, the Grey Tower suffered the least losses. In the Sea Beast tide, Whale Song Island suffered the most. When they betrayed the human race, the Sea Clan stabbed them in the back, and the island nearly faced destruction. On the other hand, regarding the Grey Tower, after the Tower Master attained the Third Circle, everyone felt proud and confident. In this sea area, the Third Circle provided the deterrence of a nuclear weapon. Furthermore, the undead ship, their mortal enemy, had met its end. Travel would be much safer for them in the future. In the later stages of the Sea Beast tide, an outstanding high-level apprentice wizard in the tower successfully advanced to an official wizard. This person was Winnie, the triple affinity blonde girl, who grew up in the wizard tower, successfully became an official wizard and moved into the White Tower, which made apprentice wizards envious. Winnie stood ahead of most apprentice wizards because of her talent in affinity with the three elements. In addition, Granny Marlene doted on her. Under some special care, her advancement to an official wizard after a long time of accumulation came as no surprise. Now, including Winnie, the Grey Tower possessed a legendary knight, 3 first circle wizards, 1 second circle wizard, and 1 third circle wizard. The Grey Tower stood much more powerful than before. In this sea region, the former overlord of Whalesong Island welcomed a powerful competitor, the Third Circle organization, the Grey Tower. The situation in this sea region changed from 1 superpower to 2. In such a favorable situation, Levi focused on his cultivation and made preparations to become an official wizard. In the pharmacy room on the 9th floor of the Grey Tower, Levi took a shower and changed his clothes. He calmed himself down and prepared to start making a particularly important potion. That was the first circle potion, Naga's Blessing, that he had craved for so long. During the later stages of the Sea Beast Tide, Levi basically did not have to worry about the sea beasts because of the Tower Master's protection. Thus, he went all out to cultivate the meditation art. In the end, he successfully cultivated the Earth Meditation art to the maximum level 3. Levi reviewed his progress. His Earth Meditation art had reached level 3, which was the maximum level, and a breakthrough stood available. In the later stages of the Sea Beast Tide, after the crisis of the Grey Tower resolved, Levi took advantage of the last opportunity and rode the Dragon King whale to search the sea every day. In the end, he found a group of Grey Nagas. After dealing with a family of 5 in this group, Levi collected a total of 5 Grey Nagas tears. The Grey Nagas tears were not the actual tears of a Grey Naga, but a blood-red diamond-shaped crystal on the chest of a transcendent creature like the Grey Naga. This rhombus-shaped crystal also served as the Grey Naga's main attack method. It could shoot out a ray of light that would knock out the enemy. 1 Grey Naga's tear could be used to refine the Naga's Blessing once, so Levi had 5 chances. As long as Levi could successfully refine the Naga's Blessing once, he held a 90% chance of becoming an official wizard. Chapter 380. The Grey Naga's Blessing only proved effective when used for the first time. Therefore, if Levi managed to refine it twice, he would secure a profit. Even if he sold it to the tower at a low price, the potion held a value of 4,000 ether stones. If he sold it on the open market, the price could climb to 5,000, or even 6,000 ether stones. If he encountered wealthy buyers with urgent needs, the price might climb even higher. The cost of the materials alone reached 2,000 ether stones. The Grey Naga's tears stood as the most valuable first circle potion. Potion varieties designed to help wizards break through bottlenecks always carried significant value, and demand for them remained constant. Too many high-level apprentice wizards remained stuck at the advanced stage, desperate for a way forward. Throughout this period, Levi had been using other first circle potions to practice, refining his craft in preparation for the Naga's Blessing. After consuming a significant amount of resources, he finally felt confident enough to refine the potion. Levi kept his expectations grounded. He only needed to succeed once. He settled himself and began the refinement process. He dried the fog lamp grass and ground it into a fine powder. He repeated the process with the beak of the Bird of Joy. Then, he gathered the remaining potion ingredients and followed the formula steps with precise, orderly care. A pot of blue liquid bubbled in the crucible. Levi added the fog lamp grass, chanting the necessary incantation. The potion shifted to a vibrant green. He tossed in the beak of the Bird of Joy, and the mixture turned pitch black. Finally, he dropped the blood-red Grey Naga's tears into the brew, and recited the final assembly incantation. Abba Medetto, he intoned. An explosion rocked the room, and the potion splattered outward. The water shield on Levi's flying fish robe flared to life, deflecting the boiling liquid. His pharmacy proficiency increased by 236 points. 2,000 ether stones vanished in an instant. He took a deep breath. He grabbed a fresh set of pharmacy utensils. He calmed his racing heart and continued the work. A deafening boom echoed. The newly replaced crucible cracked under the strain. His pharmacy proficiency increased by 222 points. The second attempt ended in disaster. I am exhausted. I will refine it tomorrow, Levi muttered. I lost 4,000 ether stones today, but failure acts as the mother of success. The next day, Levi took a deep breath and resumed his work with a calm expression. During the third attempt, he chanted the assembly incantation once more. After he added the blood-red Grey Naga's tears, the black liquid began to thicken. It turned into a viscous, blood-like substance that emitted a pungent, fishy odor. The potion was sucked into the Grey Naga's tears, magically vanishing. A beautiful, blood-colored orb settled at the bottom of the crucible, radiating a strange allure that tempted the senses. His pharmacy proficiency increased by 450 points. It worked. I have finally broken even, Levi said, a hint of relief in his voice. If I succeed next time, I will make a profit. Levi used a pre-prepared bottle to seal the potion, preventing the medicinal effects from evaporating. He continued the refinement. The fourth refinement was successful. Another Naga's Blessing was completed. Levi felt overjoyed. I have earned it. On the third day, Levi continued to refine, and he succeeded yet again. I have made a killing, he whispered to himself. If these 2 potions appeared in the outside world, countless large organizations would fight for them. Even third circle wizard organizations would not hesitate to compete. Although the Naga's Blessing remained very expensive and apprentice wizards could not afford it, official wizards, second circle wizards, and third circle wizards usually stored such potions for their beloved disciples or children, ensuring they could successfully advance. Many wizard organizations in the Endless Sea were led by wizard families. The seniors of these families stored potions like the Naga's blessing for their descendants. Winnie's parents used to be high-level apprentice wizards in the Grey Tower, and they retired after reaching that level. Winnie's life had been smooth sailing since she was young, and she successfully advanced to become a wizard because of her parents' support. The union of two wizards carried a higher probability of producing descendants with wizard talent. Over time, wizard clans of various sizes formed. This remained especially true in huge wizard organizations like the Star Tower, which functioned through various large wizard clans. Although the Penplane Wizard Council worked hard to weaken these family attributes to avoid degeneration and corruption, the effect remained minimal. Levi eventually set aside 3 Naga's blessing potions, leaving 2 for himself to sell. Whether he would sell them to the organization or to the outside world depended on the situation. Levi still had extra fog lamp grass and beak of the bird of joy. If he obtained more Grey Naga's tears in the future, he could continue to refine them. With the experience of 3 successful refinements, his future success rate would only increase. After finishing the potion work, Levi placed his hand on the Klein crystal. His spiritual force measured 20. His spell power reached 145. Everything stood ready, including the potion. He only needed to polish his spell power to the peak of 200 points, then select a first circle spell model for construction. After that, he could attempt the breakthrough to become an official wizard. He felt no need to worry about spell power, as he could refine green potions to replenish it whenever necessary. Levi already had a plan for the first circle spell model he would use for his advancement. He intended to master the first circle passive spell, Rock Body, which functioned as an advanced evolution of the Stone Skin technique. In truth, the Stone Skin technique served as a simplified version of the Rock Body. The Stone Skin technique only strengthened his skin defense, but the Rock Body went deep into his flesh and bones, strengthening his defense from the inside out. Levi felt confident that the construction of this first circle spell model would not be difficult for him. Chapter 381. It was the year 1026 of the Holy Brilliance calendar, in the month of flowers. Levi and Emperor Mew completed their third team-building event, after confirming the Emperor's survival. During the final routine spar, Emperor Mew displayed increased strength, yet Levi defeated him nonetheless. Golden light bathed Emperor Mew during the fight. He moved as if he had mastered the legendary indestructible diamond divine skill. The glow lent him a mighty, extraordinary air and a sacred temperament. Levi decided the time had come to ask about the technique. He inquired about the nature of the power Emperor Mew displayed. Emperor Mew explained it was the breathing technique of a golden knight, known as the Golden Horn breathing technique. Legends spoke of a beast roaming the astral world called the Golden Horn. It could bathe in the sun and travel through the void. Its defense stood unparalleled in the world. A golden horn grew from its forehead, and stories claimed the appendage contained the power to destroy a world. Levi offered a technique Emperor Mew found irresistible, the Red Lotus breathing technique. They traded. Levi gained the Golden Horn breathing technique, and Emperor Mew secured the Red Lotus method. Emperor Mew welcomed the exchange. The Red Lotus breathing technique ranked as a top-tier strength method, on par with his family Holy Ape breathing technique. He had long desired it for reference. Back in the human world, he had searched for the Red Lotus technique in vain, and eventually abandoned the hope. He had not expected Levi to possess such a rare collection. As legendary knights, they could assist each other and grow together. This remained Emperor Mew's original intention when he joined the Twilight Knights. Emperor Mew lacked the Red Lotus bloodline required to cultivate the technique fully. Yet, at the level of a legendary knight, observing and learning other methods might inspire his own progress. He would not surrender any chance to break through the shackles of the legendary realm. Emperor Mew understood that bloodlines could be transplanted after birth. The process held little mystery. However, wizards who mastered bloodline transplantation ignored ordinary breathing techniques. Breathing techniques demanded more time than many spells. The investment did not match the final benefits. Even spending decades to master a breathing technique and reach the legendary knight level only resulted in the strength of a first circle wizard. Cultivating the path of sorcerers offered greater rewards. Ordinary knights, limited by their knowledge and vision, believed bloodlines remained sacred and noble, immutable by nature. Changing bloodlines constituted a taboo against their ancestors. Naturally, they never considered transplanting bloodlines to cultivate other breathing techniques. Emperor Mew differed from ordinary knights. He was a legendary knight who had received a wizard education. He was far from foolish. The Golden Horn breathing technique he cultivated had been acquired by chance. During a vigorous voyage, he discovered a golden centipede-like monster among the treasures of the Golden Knight Gregor. The creature resembled a human spine, yet it moved. It possessed many sharp, stinging feet capable of penetrating anything, and it exhibited parasitic instincts. This golden spine bone, suspected to be the remains of Gregor, attacked Emperor Mew. The spine drilled directly into the Emperor's body. The devouring process replaced Emperor Mew's original spine. Helpless against the intrusion, he gradually accepted the reality. He had come to the wizard world to use his knowledge as a wizard to determine what the golden spine bone was and whether it carried side effects. Regardless, Emperor Mew obtained the golden bloodline and mastered the golden horn breathing technique. This remained a secret hidden deep in his heart. He felt the golden spine bone held deeper mysteries, and would serve as an important reliance to break through the shackles of the legendary realm in the future. He even suspected the golden spine bone served as the source of the golden bloodline of the Gregor family. That monster had single-handedly created the golden family. During the previous team-building event, Emperor Mew learned from Levi that the life school of thought possessed the bloodline transplant technique. He believed that if he could find a supernatural creature with the Red Lotus bloodline and obtain a trace of the bloodline through transplantation, he might be able to cultivate the Red Lotus breathing technique and enhance his strength further. Levi seized this opportunity to reach a preliminary consensus with Emperor Mew. If they encountered different breathing techniques in the future, they would exchange them. Unlike Emperor Mew, bloodline restrictions did not exist for Levi. Furthermore, Levi could rely on the interface to continuously break through the limits of breathing techniques and fuse different bloodlines to mutate into more powerful forms. As for Emperor Mew, even possessing the Red Lotus bloodline and cultivating the Red Lotus breathing technique to the legendary limit, breaking through the inherent ceiling of the breathing technique would prove difficult. For an ordinary legend like Emperor Mew, gaining one more bloodline meant accessing one more legendary pathway to strength. However, he lacked an effective, clear path to break through the shackles of the legendary realm. He also lacked a proficiency panel like Levi's to bypass those limits. Success seemed basically hopeless for him. From Levi's perspective, if ordinary legendary knights like Emperor Mew or Anderson wanted to break through the shackles of the legendary realm, they had to first explore a path for themselves. They had to walk their own route and chase their own pace. In other words, Levi's own current realm stood as the upper limit for a legendary knight. Chapter 382. Levi learned from Emperor Mew that the Saint 8 breathing technique focused on strengthening the arms. This overlapped with his own giant breathing technique. He lacked desire for the Saint 8 breathing technique for that reason. However, if the relationship between Levi and Emperor Mew improved, he could trade a breathing technique of the same quality. He felt curious about using the giant breathing technique and the Saint 8 breathing technique to mutate. He wondered what kind of monster would result from that fusion. Perhaps a giant 8 breathing technique would emerge. After obtaining the golden breathing technique, Levi began to prepare the golden horn secret medicine. His expectations proved correct. The golden horned beast resembled the Red Lotus beast and belonged to the Dragon clan, so their secret medicine also required components from the Dragon clan. The most important ingredient, dragon horn powder, could be harvested from the horns of any dragon hybrid possessing Dragon clan blood. Levi remembered Leviathan, a dragon hybrid possessing a dragon horn. Leviathan fit the description perfectly. Leviathan existed simply as a source of secret medicine materials. The creature's blood, ambergris, and even the beautiful horn used for courtship functioned as treasures. Ever since he subdued Leviathan, Levi no longer worried about secret medicine. He could simply source it from the creature. Levi admitted that his achievements came from the panel first, his own hard work second, and Leviathan's support third. Consequently, Levi used the miserable Leviathan as a drug primer once again. Every once in a while, he scraped powder from Leviathan's horn. He used his trident to scrape a little powder regularly. This caused no damage. He was not a great villain, after all. He constructed spell models while cultivating the breathing technique. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. It was the year 1026 of the Holy Brilliance calendar, the month of Wheatfield. Levi successfully upgraded the Golden Horn breathing technique to the 8th level, which granted him transcendent defense. When this technique reached the legendary level, Levi would fuse the Golden Horn breathing technique and the Black Snake breathing technique to birth a new technique. This new method could reach the limit of the 12th level. During the month of harvest, Levi finally constructed the spell model of the first ring spell, Rock Body, in his mind. His spell power reached the limit of 200 points through the persistent consumption of potions and consistent polishing. It kept pace with his spiritual force. His spiritual force measured 20. His spell power reached 200. Levi completed all preparations to advance to an official wizard. He told his teacher about his plan. She promised that as long as she remained nearby, she would not let anyone disturb his seclusion. After adjusting his state to its peak, Levi placed the fragrant pill into his mouth. The pill melted, turning into a strange energy that surged into his mind. The beautiful song of the Grey Naga echoed in Levi's mind, calming his restless spiritual energy. Levi entered a state devoid of self or other, much like an old Buddhist monk sitting in meditation. In his mind, above the sea of consciousness that carried spiritual force, even more vast spiritual force poured from the boundless void. Levi felt his entire body sublimate. He felt as if his soul had left his body. He knew this was an illusion. In the theories of wizards, spiritual force and the soul remained different concepts. The soul resembled a person's true essence and acted as a unique imprint. If the soul suffered damage, the person died. Even if they survived, their unique life characteristics changed. According to the theory of the school of death, physical death was not true death. Only the dissipation of the soul, or the scattering of the soul, constituted true death. Therefore, some wizards of the school of death devoted themselves to researching a technique that placed the human soul in a soul box. Through this method, short-lived humans transformed into long-lived extraordinary creatures known as liches. Spiritual force functioned as a kind of metaphysical power. It differed from the soul. If one's spiritual force suffered severe damage, recovery through potions or rest remained possible. Even if the soul left the body, the spiritual force continued to exist in a container like the physical form. Therefore, even after the saint scorpions devoured the souls, the living dead retained mental strength in their bodies. This explained why the living dead could continue casting spells. However, the source of mental strength for the living dead shifted from meditation to the undead core. At the level of a high-level wizard, the spiritual force and the soul assembled. The two elements became one, forming what they called the primordial soul. The primordial soul served as the core of a high-level wizard. It performed incredible feats such as leaving the body, casting spells, and elementalization. As long as the primordial soul survived, the wizard remained intact. The wizard could protect the physical body in the wizard tower and use the primordial soul to travel outside the sky. Some people with extremely powerful primordial souls could even travel through the multidimensional plane. Levi's current spiritual force remained far from the essence soul stage. As time passed, Levi's spiritual force grew more abundant. At a certain critical point, as if someone opened a valve, a powerful mysterious force surged into his mind and limbs. This force made Levi feel lightheaded. He opened his eyes. His consciousness felt clearer than ever before. The cantrip models in his mind appeared incomparably clear and simple. With his current level of spiritual force, learning these cantrips, or performing them felt as easy as flipping his hand. Levi advanced to the first circle wizard realm. His spiritual force underwent a qualitative change. For first circle wizards, the restriction of spell slots for cantrips no longer existed. As long as Levi desired, as long as his brain could hold the knowledge, and as long as he had the time, he could learn any cantrip. He opened the proficiency panel. As expected, the entry belonging to the Earth meditation art had changed. Levi noted the Earth meditation art had reached level 4, with 1 point out of the 20,000 required for the next level. Chapter 383. Levi sat in his room, clutching the Klein crystal ball, his eyes dancing with delight. He focused on his internal state, sensing his spiritual force had risen to 21. His total spell power had surged to 203. Levi whispered to the empty room that he was finally an official wizard. His spiritual force had broken through the apprentice maximum of 20 points to reach 21. A single point increase might seem minor, but the shift was profound. His spiritual force had undergone a qualitative and quantitative change. The value of a single point of spiritual force had shifted from the 10 points of his apprentice days to 20 points now. This shift granted him far more potent spellcasting capabilities. He could unleash many first-ring spells without the constant threat of exhausting his reserves. The spiritual drain of minor cantrips became negligible for an official wizard. Most offensive and defensive cantrips held little utility for someone of his stature, though exceptions existed for specialized auxiliary spells. It had not been easy. Since the millennium of the Holy Brilliance calendar, he had spent 26 years in this world. He, Levi, had finally become an official wizard. He mused that from this moment, a first-ring spell would occupy his mind, and his destiny belonged to him alone. He caught himself, shaking his head. He had just stepped out of the novice village, so it was best to avoid the kind of grand pronouncements reserved for the truly powerful. Levi, nearing 40 years of age, let out a long sigh. Although his advancement to official wizard status came later than some, he had only truly walked the path of the wizard for about 10 years. In his estimation, excluding the children of the elements, even those with dual elemental affinity could not match his pace. Jagri possessed a dual affinity and had begun meditation shortly after Levi. Yet, despite having a third circle wizard as a mentor, Jagri remained a high-level apprentice, still struggling to achieve official wizard status. Levi held his own among the elite in the sea region. He could not compare to the children of the elements, who enjoyed the vast resource backing of large factions. He had started late and could only close the gap through persistence. The beginning had been the hardest part. Once his progress was recorded on the proficiency panel, he could begin to leave the others behind. He had spent the majority of his time in the human world, scouring the lands for traces of wizards. Winnie had been born in Rome, while he had been born without a title, forced to play the part of a small lord. It had not been a waste of time. Throughout that journey, his greatest asset had not been the wizard path, but the mortal breathing techniques that wizards often disparaged. Without the knightly path, he would not be standing here as an official wizard. He understood this truth clearly. Levi finally exhaled, his shoulders relaxing. As an official wizard, he had become a genuine high-level competent within the sea region. As a legendary knight in the three-dimensional state, combined with his status as an official wizard, it was no exaggeration to claim he was invincible against any foe below the second circle. He turned his thoughts to his future plans. The knightly path required 3 breathing techniques. The golden horn, the undying bird, and the black whale remained critical. The golden horn and the undying bird were the highest priorities. Once the golden horn reached its maximum, he could fuse it with the black snake breathing technique to foster a mutation. This would break his current limit and forge a new, unique breathing technique. He faced a bottleneck on the knightly path, so he would focus on breaking the limits of the black snake breathing technique to transform into the legendary 6-dimensional state. The wizard path would become his next major focus. Now that he had achieved official wizard status, the vast stage of the wizard world lay open before him. The earth meditation art had reached level 4. He was already deeply familiar with the process of breaking limits for the deep sea, sun, and night crow meditation arts. Even without the Naga's blessing, he felt confident in pushing the other meditation arts to level 4. He felt no excessive concern regarding them. Regarding spells, he possessed only one first-ring spell, which was the rock body. His mastery of the rock body reached level 4, with 1 point of progress toward the next level of 20,000. Levi recalled that after he mastered the rock body, the stone skin technique, which had previously hit its maximum of level 4, had broken its limit and successfully transformed into the rock body. He had spent a long time rejoicing over that discovery. It confirmed his theory that learning spells required choosing those with a clear advancement path. This allowed the proficiency gained from low-level spells to inherit perfectly into advanced versions. This approach saved him vast amounts of time, allowing him to start the rock body at level 4. He intended to cultivate the fireball technique in the same manner. His body had transformed. Within his flesh and blood, faint spell runes flickered across his bones and pulsed through his veins. This passive defensive spell required no casting or chanting. Once solidified, it acted automatically. It still consumed spell power, however. Should his spiritual force deplete, the rock body would lose its effectiveness. Chapter 384. With his solid black scale and his rock body, Levi possessed a terrifying level of defense. Beyond the rock body, Levi planned to cultivate the fireball technique from the burning faction. He also intended to master the undead summoning, green smoke escape, and the body of ghost fire from the school of death. He looked toward the ocean faction for the water prison spell, and the school of insects for the sacred insect touch. Theoretically, a first circle wizard possessed the spiritual power to learn, at most 20 first ring spells, and 1 second ring spell for advancement. In practice, few wizards managed to master 20 first ring spells. Mastering 5 first ring spells marked a senior wizard, while 10 opened the path to the second circle. Small wizard organizations rarely possessed that many spells, and cultivating them to perfection demanded immense time. Consequently, a first circle wizard had to choose their spells with extreme precision. Some spells required the mental strength of a veteran first circle wizard, amounting to at least 30 points of spiritual force. Levi could not learn those yet, but he could begin constructing the spell models for others. He intended to form a complete system of attack, defense, control, escape, and life-saving spells once he mastered the meditation arts of all the schools to level 4. After stabilizing his realm at home, Levi decided to inform Marlene and the Tower Master of his breakthrough. Hiding his strength within the Ashen Tower served no purpose. Their mental acuity allowed them to perceive his cultivation level with ease. Only by demonstrating his talent and potential could he secure the organization's support. His status as a legendary knight and pharmacist had already earned him the Tower Master and Marlene's attention. The Grey Tower operated differently from dark wizard organizations, so he had no reason to fear elders plotting against him. Deception felt unnecessary here. Levi ascended to the 3rd floor of the White Tower. Marlene chatted with Winnie, whose status had risen since her own advancement to official wizard. Marlene gestured toward her. She urged Winnie to learn more from Levi. "Teacher, senior sister, you are all here," Levi said, smiling. Marlene caught the shift in his presence immediately. She raised an eyebrow. "Little Levi, have you become an official wizard?" "Yes, teacher. I have advanced to the 1st circle," Levi said. Winnie clapped her hands. "Congratulations, junior brother. This is great news. Our tower now has 4 first circle wizards, only 1 less than Whale Song Island." Levi thanked her and took his leave. The Tower Master had recently secured Harlan's inheritance from the School of Death. He pored over the knowledge, hoping to derive inspiration for his soul transplantation theories. The tower also maintained other resources, including the Spider Witch's inheritance from the School of Insects and the Bone Wizard's legacy from the School of Death. Any official wizard could purchase these with points and ether stones. The strict confidential spells governing these items limited them to personal use. Violation of the contract carried severe consequences. News of Levi's advancement rippled through the tower. The Tower Master invited him to move into the White Tower. Levi accepted the offer and relocated from his home on the 9th floor of the Grey Tower to the 2nd floor of the White Tower, settling in just below Marlene. The White Tower stood 7 floors tall. Every level except the 1st was occupied. Levi took the 2nd, Marlene the 3rd, Winnie the 4th, Marco and Mr. Tim the 5th and 6th, and the Tower Master the 7th. The original Tower Master, Salmon, could never have imagined his small organization would one day flourish so brightly. Yet, with Levi and Winnie advancing, few high-level apprentice wizards remained with any real hope of reaching the 1st circle. New blood for the 1st circle looked scarce in the coming years. Marco and Mr. Tim offered their congratulations shortly after his move. Manla shared in the joy, taking pride in the success of her official wizard friend. The atmosphere warmed. The Tower Master decided to mark the occasion. He cleared his throat. "Let us have a banquet tonight. We will eat, drink, and enjoy ourselves. No studying or cultivation today. Our tower has seen many good things recently." Winnie advanced to official wizard, and now Levi has done the same. "I have not been this happy in a long time." Chapter 385. Marlene agreed, her voice bright. In an instant, the Grey Tower became lively. In the square in front of the Twin Towers, Horman coiled its slender body into a circle. Everyone ate delicious food and drank wine, speaking freely with sighs of emotion. Horman enjoyed the roasted meat of the one-ringed sea snake that Levi had carefully prepared. Levi had taken out the precious materials from the one-ringed sea snake, using the remaining meat to feed Leviathan and Horman. The Tower Master drank a mouthful of wine and laughed. He told the group that he knew Levi would become an official wizard. He claimed that from the moment Levi first stepped into the tower, he knew the boy was no ordinary person. He insisted that he possessed a good eye for people. Marlene rolled her eyes at the Tower Master and dismissed his claim. She told him to stop flattering himself, as he was simply stating facts after the event had already passed. The Tower Master giggled and did not refute her. He looked comical. It remained hard to imagine that this man stood as a powerful third circle wizard. Levi drank some wine as well. The alcohol did not intoxicate him. He merely felt that it was good to find such a warm and reliable organization after existing in the wizard world for so long. The oppressive feeling that had tightened his chest vanished now that he was an official wizard. He felt free, as if he could fly into the sky and dive into the sea. When the wine took effect, the Tower Master began to dance, jumping up and down in a comical manner. Under the Tower Master's encouragement, everyone began to dance the dances of their hometowns. Those with dance partners called for them, while the others remained alone. Winnie approached Levi, wearing a golden wavy shawl and a low-cut dress. She appeared sexy and charming. Her face flushed as she smiled sweetly and invited him to dance. Levi thought that rejecting senior sister Winnie at this moment would cause her embarrassment. It was only a dance, after all. When he lived in the human world, Levi had been a noble dancer who practiced for 2.5 years. He had taken this useless life skill to its limit. Levi danced with great skill and temperament. Together with senior sister Winnie, he became a star in the middle of the dance floor. Everyone applauded, cheering that they made a perfect match and teasing them to be together. Laughter filled the air, and for a moment, Levi felt as if he was dreaming of his student days in his previous life. After the dance, Winnie wanted to continue, but she politely returned to her seat, glancing at Levi from time to time. Levi drank while contemplating how he could use his undying bird breathing technique to trade for Emperor Mu's Saint 8 breathing technique next year. He wanted to attempt to fuse the Saint 8 breathing technique and the giant breathing technique. Levi enjoyed the happiest and calmest day since he entered the wizard world. After the joy, however, Levi quickly entered a state of intense cultivation. He wanted to quickly cultivate all the other meditation arts to level 4 and then establish his own first ring spell system. Once he finished learning spells, he could approach the Tower Master to learn alchemy and the arrays he had pondered. He had witnessed the power of arrays before. If he could master them, he could set plans in advance and act with foresight. Perhaps he could defeat the strong. During the month of winter, the messenger Eve sent an email. Levi thought it came from Andrew, as he had not contacted Andrew for a long time due to the sea monster tide. When he opened the letter, however, he realized it was not from Andrew. It was a congratulatory letter and gift from the Panplane Wizard Council. The letter addressed Wizard Levi and offered congratulations on officially stepping into the world of wizards. The moment he became a first circle wizard, he automatically obtained membership in the Panplane Wizard Council. The letter explained that he could voluntarily inject a trace of his soul into the soul jade sent with the letter. If something happened to him, the Panplane Wizard Council would immediately start an investigation process. He possessed the qualifications to participate in the public servant assessment of the Panplane Wizard Council. After passing the assessment, he could become a staff member of the major institutions under the Panplane Wizard Congress and enjoy their benefits. At the same time, he obtained the qualifications to vote for the representative of the Panplane Wizard Council, casting his sacred vote. He could register his own wizard organization in Congress and lead a group of like-minded friends to conduct magic research and discussions. Finally, and most importantly, the letter stated that from now on, as a member of the Panplane Wizard Council, he should hold his head high, neither humble nor overbearing, and remain confident and calm in front of the masters of the multidimensional plane, or the gods of the astral world. Because he represented the Panplane Wizard Council, the wizard civilization, and a group of unbelievers who would never yield to fate, but would forever pursue the truth. The only thing he believed in was the truth and himself. The letter was signed by Sauron from the Panplane Wizard Council. The letter contained a wealth of content, written within a small booklet. Levi looked through it and realized he possessed no real authority. The Soul Jade existed only for the Panplane Wizard Council to confirm whether Levi remained alive. Even if Levi were killed, his identity as a first circle wizard meant he would likely be treated like Cain and not be taken seriously. The wizard world was simply too huge. Although the Panplane Wizard Council respected all the weaker groups of wizards, a long way remained to truly protect the rights of these low-level wizards. To be honest, in a supernatural world where individual power defined everything, an extraordinary organization achieving the level of the Panplane Wizard Council was already an excellent outcome. Chapter 386. The prospect of serving as a civil servant for the Panplane Wizard Council was worth a cursory glance, but nothing more. The national examination was daunting enough, but the provincial examination of the Ocean Faction Star Tower was far worse. To actually secure a position, one needed connections to the higher UPS, or excellence as a third circle wizard, much like Salmon, the first tower master of the Grey Tower. Ordinary wizards could forget about it. Levi had no real desire to join such an official organization. While the concept behind the Panplane Wizard Council held merit, the organization itself stifled him. Complicated power relations and tangled networks made him flinch. A single misstep could turn him into cannon fodder in a game of power, plunging him into a bottomless abyss. Dealing with politicians and ambitious schemers required walking on thin ice. It was better to remain free. Just as he had in the human world, Levi planned to find a quiet place to farm and cultivate. Work, he no longer wanted to entertain the thought. Whether in his previous life or this one, his personality was unsuited for that path. Levi ultimately chose not to infuse his soul into the soul jade. It was not a matter of trust in the Panplane Wizard Council. The necessity simply did not exist. He was already dead in the eyes of many, so why worry if the council could help him find the true murderer? Cain stood as a living example. Levi sighed. Regardless, the council had officially certified him, and he was now a member. He planned to purchase an island after some time to become its master, then he would return to tinkering with his living dead, Saint Scorpions, and other projects. The year 1027 of the Holy Brilliance calendar arrived with the month of beginning. News traveled across the sea that the Grey Tower had produced 2 first circle wizards in a short span of time. The Grey Tower stood in the limelight. The Sighing Sea Breeze, an organization on good terms with the Grey Tower, even sent a congratulatory gift. Emperor Mew heard the news and felt a jolt of shock. Both men were children of chaos. How had Levi managed to become an official wizard? Emperor Mew remained a wizard with no clear path to becoming a high-level apprentice, yet the realization that Levi possessed greater knightly strength brought him relief. Levi clearly had his own fortuitous encounters, just as Emperor Mew had his own. In the Grey Tower, Levi continued his cultivation until his sun meditation art reached level 4. With the sun meditation technique advanced to level 1+, Levi began learning the fireball technique. As expected, his previous mastery of the small fireball technique allowed his proficiency in the fireball technique to start at level 4. Levi checked his proficiency panel. The fireball technique registered at level 4, with 1 point of progress out of 20,000. The power of a level 4 fireball technique eclipsed that of the small fireball technique. It possessed the attack power of a first circle spell, though it still fell short of the large fireball technique. During the month of flowers, Emperor Mew, stimulated by Levi's progress, began an inner struggle and entered a long period of seclusion. The routine team-building activities of the Twilight Nights were cancelled. Levi continued to gain experience on his own. Not long after, the Night Crow meditation art and Deep Sea meditation art both reached level 4. Levi began his long journey of cultivation. Time flew by. Another year passed. Levi had completed his first ring spell system. The Water Prison spell stood at level 4, with 1,893 points out of 20,000. The Fireball technique and Rock Body had both reached level 5, the maximum. The special effects of the Divine Dance of Fire and the Earth Pulse, combined with their level 4 status, allowed the Fireball technique and Rock Body to reach the limit of level 5 quickly. The power of a level 5 Fireball technique carried significant weight. With the buff from the Fire Snake Bracelet, the Fireball technique became Levi's most powerful spell attack. By the standards of the Celestial Circle Shop, the attack power reached a B rank. Once Levi raised his maximum spiritual force to 30, reaching the standard of a veteran first circle wizard, he could upgrade the fireball technique to the large fireball technique. At that point, too many attack spells would become unnecessary. Nothing could not be solved with a large fireball. If a problem persisted, another would suffice. Levi planned to practice the fireball technique to the end within the burning faction. He would forego learning other fancy spells for the time being. The level 5 rock body provided defense on PAR, with Levi's liquid black scales stage, essentially reaching B-grade defense. He wanted to avoid trouble, and now, with so many armors stacked, he stood invincible among those in the same realm. Water Prison and Green Smoke Escape lacked the foundation of cantrips and the elemental affinity of the Earth Pulse, making them slower to learn. Still, with Levi's speed, mastering these spells to their limits would not take long. The Fireball technique for attack, Water Prison for control, Rock Body for defense, and Green Smoke Escape for utility created a perfect system. Levi studied his spell panel with satisfaction. Chapter 387. Only with such a scientific and reasonable spell combination could the strength of a first circle wizard be maximized. It was very difficult for other wizards to achieve this, as they could not master as many meditation arts as Levi. This capability remained the unique advantage of his proficiency panel. Levi had already mastered 4 first ring spells. He approached the level of a seasoned wizard, yet his spiritual force reserves remained insufficient. After all, he had only recently achieved official wizard status, and significant growth required more time. Beyond the 4 spells he already possessed, Levi planned to cultivate undead summoning and sacred insect touch once he settled on his own island. He preferred to avoid practicing them within the tower, particularly undead summoning. He had no desire to summon hellish entities and invite trouble for the organization. Levi's spiritual force sat at 22 points, and his maximum spell power reached 440 points. Ordinary first ring spells, like Water Prison and Fireball Technique, consumed roughly 30 points of spell power. The more complex spells demanded a higher cost. Green Smoke Escape and Big Fireball Technique required 50 points, while the most difficult spell, Body of Ghost Fire, drained 100 points with each use. While green potions could hasten recovery, they still necessitated a short period of meditation. Quick restoration during the heat of battle was impossible. Potions capable of immediate mana recovery during combat proved exceptionally expensive. Even Levi, with his status as a first circle pharmacist, lacked the formula, to say nothing of others. Consequently, a qualified wizard calculated which first ring spell to deploy before entering battle, determining exactly how to pair spells to neutralize the enemy. In a battle between wizards, reckless skill usage invited death. Every move required careful planning and strategic thought. Of course, advancement to an intermediate wizard rank would improve this awkward situation. At that stage, he could solidify innate spells atop his existing spiritual power. These innate spells functioned like those of extraordinary creatures. They allowed for fast, convenient casting without requiring materials, and demanded very little spell power. Beyond these first-ring spells, Levi had learned numerous common cantrips potentially useful in the future, such as Light, Sound of Silence, and Grease. Since his advancement to an official wizard, the restriction on the number of cantrip spell slots had vanished. He prioritized gathering as many of these low-cost spells as possible. They primarily served support purposes, as expecting cantrips to hold their own against an official wizard was unrealistic. With a systematic mastery of spells from these mainstream factions, Levi informed Marlene and set off aboard the Dragon King whale. He intended to visit the House of Archipelagos, which operated under the Star Tower, to purchase his own private island. He envisioned establishing a medicinal garden and creating specialized breeding bases for his saint scorpions. From that point on, the island would serve as his second home, a place where he could perform any task inconvenient to pursue within the Grey Tower. Before leaving, Levi spent all his points and 3,000 ether stones to acquire the inheritance of the Spider Witch, a second circle wizard from the School of Insects, from the island master. The inheritance included the Spider Witch's insect control notes, alongside spells to command the red-faced sea ghost spider, and detailed breeding methods. Regardless of whether Levi eventually chose to adopt the red-faced sea ghost spider as his primary combat insect, the knowledge proved priceless. Levi had not killed the Spider Witch himself, so the inheritance did not come for free. Yet, in truth, 3,000 ether stones was a bargain for the legacy of a second circle School of Insects wizard. For wizards, knowledge remained the most valuable commodity. The 1,000 or so low-grade red-faced sea ghost spiders alone, contained within the Spider Witch's insect house, carried a market value of at least 10,000 ether stones. 7 days later, the Dragon King whale arrived at the island housing the Stellar Resource Committee. In his previous life, Levi had struggled in the imperial capital for years, unable to even afford a house. In this life, he stood on the verge of buying an island to become a landholder. The prospect filled him with satisfaction. A black-haired witch wearing a short robe approached him. Her eyes lit up as she scanned Levi. He looked like a stray lamb wandering into her stall. The recent sea beast tide had devastated the island trading markets, and wizards had become a rare sight in this trading hall. She narrowed her eyes, determined to ensure this customer walked away with a large island. "Hello, sir," she said, her voice bright. "Are you here to purchase an island? Please, show me your membership card for the Panplane Wizard Council." Chapter 388. The membership card served as an identification document issued by the Panplane Wizard Council to every official wizard. It stood as proof that a wizard enjoyed various membership benefits. To simplify his travels across the wizard world, Levi bound the membership card to his own essence. Without this, dealing with officials would prove difficult. The card linked directly to a trace of his spiritual force, forming an immutable spiritual mark. Every wizard possessed a unique spiritual signature, akin to an identification number, or a fingerprint from his previous life. Consequently, if someone attempted to impersonate Levi, or if Levi attempted to pass himself off as another, the inconsistency in their spiritual signatures would trigger an investigation by the Panplane Wizard Council. Levi withdrew the card from his robes. No portrait graced the surface, only his membership number and a faint spiritual imprint. In the wizard world, physical appearances held little weight. Too many illusions and spells existed to alter one's face for those inclined toward mischief. The witch named Lena wielded a specialized wizard tool to scan the card, and basic information regarding Levi manifested upon a stone slate. The display listed his member number as 9,527. It confirmed his name as Levi Snyder and his organization as the Grey Tower, 3rd Circle. His member level appeared as 1 star, 1st Circle. The criminal record column remained blank. After confirming his identity, Lena smiled. Her expression was welcoming. "Your Excellency Levi, I am Lena the Witch. Please follow me to purchase the island." Levi scanned the trading hall. It felt deserted. Few wizards walked the halls. The real estate market in the wizard world suffered in a slump. Following the impact of the sea beast tide, both wizards and their organizations tightened their belts to survive. Under the guidance of the enthusiastic witch Lena, Levi approached a massive blue light screen. The display mapped the surrounding sea area, dotted with various islands. "This is the situation of all the islands in the southern region of the Outer Ring," Lena explained. "Sir Levi, use your spiritual force to sense the green dots on this map. That action will reveal the information of the islands currently for sale." The islands in the Endless Sea spanned 9 levels. From level 1 to level 9, the ambient elemental power increased. In the 9th region, the premier location was Whale Song Island, an island boasting grade 3 water elemental power. Lena gestured toward the map with a smile. "That serves as an example, of course, as Whale Song Island is not for sale to the outside world. What level of island do you desire?" "Let me take a look first," Levi replied, his eyes narrowing as he studied the projected data. The region containing the Grey Tower and Whale Song Island officially held the designation of the 9th district of the southern Outer Ring Sea. This House of the Archipelago acted as a mere branch for that district. Levi scrutinized the screen. He sought an island located within a reasonable distance from the Grey Tower. He preferred richer elemental power, but he harbored no rigid demands. With his proficiency panel and his store of potions, the ambient elemental concentration mattered little to his personal progress. He tapped a green dot. Black Chicken Island. It possessed level 1 water elemental power. The title certificate number listed as CXK250. The price stood at 5,000 ether stones. It is too expensive, Levi murmured, shaking his head. Although the island sat near the Grey Tower, the cost remained exorbitant. He could afford 5,000 ether stones, but the value proposition felt poor. He moved to the next. White Belt Island. It featured level 2 water elemental power. The price climbed to 8,000 ether stones. This one carries level 2 water elemental energy, making it even more expensive, and it sits far too close to Whalesong Island, Levi noted, passing it by. He cycled through the options until an island in a remote corner of the sea caught his attention. It sat at a distance from the Grey Tower, yet it also remained isolated from other organizations. This location offered privacy. He could cultivate in peace, undisturbed. Blackfire Island. It held level 2 fire elemental power and level 1 water elemental power. The price listed at 4,000 ether stones, marked with a discounted and shocking label. Blackfire Island. Was that not Kane's Island? Levi muttered to himself. This island holds promise, he thought. Not only does it offer level 1 water elemental power, but it also provides level 2 fire elemental power. It remains quite cheap, cheaper even than the level 1 Cockcrow Island. He turned to Lena. Is there something wrong with this island? Why is the price so abnormal? Lena offered a professional smile. Do not worry, Sir Levi. The current status of this island remains clear. The ownership belongs to the Star Tower, and it carries no hidden issues. The price appears low because this island favors the cultivation style of the burning faction. The fire elemental energy on the island pulses with a violent nature. If a wizard of the ocean faction attempts to cultivate there, they will face significant difficulty. Recently, the 9th region has lacked a wizard aligned with the burning faction, so we have been unable to sell it. That is the reason for the promotion. Blackfire Island previously belonged to the magician Kane. After Kane's death, the island property rights returned to our control. All assets left behind by Kane will now belong to Sir Levi. Chapter 389. As an island salesman, Lena knew every island like the back of her hand. Levi shook his head and sighed. He wondered who the hell could have done such a thing, as Sir Kane had been such a good person. Lena shrugged. That is how the wizard world works. Levi considered the options for a moment before speaking. How about this? I will buy this island. I cannot afford the others. Lena beamed. She was delighted to close another deal. As a salesperson, her happiness was genuine. Please follow me, sir. In the end, Levi walked out of the House of Archipelago with something that looked like a memory slate. This was the contract slate, similar to the memory slate. Both were special tools developed by wizards. The contract slate was the carrier of the contract between wizards. The relevant rights, obligations, and the wizard's spiritual imprint were engraved on the slate. No party to the contract could violate the terms inscribed upon it. Once violated, the soul would suffer the backlash of the special contract spell solidification. It was said that other wizards could not resist this backlash, except for high-level wizards. As for high-level wizards and above, they utilized other high-level contract spells to form an agreement. These seemingly inconspicuous slates formed the cornerstone of the wizard civilization system. If any civilization wanted to progress, the spirit of contract was indispensable. According to the contents of the contract slate, after Levi bought Blackfire Island, he would possess the property rights to the island for the next 100 years. He was the absolute master of Blackfire Island. If any wizard broke into Levi's territory without permission, he had the right to kill them directly. The protection of private property was very important to wizards. 100 years is enough. Moreover, after 100 years, I can renew the contract, Levi mused. At the same time, the contract slate was equivalent to the title deed, or property right certificate of Blackfire Island. From now on, according to the bill of the Penplain Wizard Council, Levi's rights to Blackfire Island would be protected by the council. No one could take it away. In principle, this prohibited some powerful wizards from bullying the weak and killing people for treasures. Of course, in reality, there would definitely be some people who broke the law for the sake of profit, or who had connections and backgrounds to bully the weak. It was inevitable. On Blackfire Island, Levi found a hidden abyss to hide the dragon king whale, while he swam toward the shore. The island now sat in a bleak state. The staff of the Star Tower who had been guarding the place had long since evacuated due to the sea beast tide. Traces of the sea monster attack remained everywhere. Levi looked at the desolate Black Island and sighed. I have a home. He laughed aloud. I bought it in full. Blackfire Island spanned 8 kilometers from east to west, and 5 kilometers from north to south. It was much smaller than the island where the Grey Tower was located. However, the Grey Tower was prepared for the establishment of a large wizard organization. There were also many mortals living there to maintain the basic needs of the organization. Levi only needed to live on his own. It did not need to be too large. According to the introduction from the House of Archipelago, the sea area below Blackfire Island consisted of a huge group of active volcanoes. These volcanoes had been erupting for a long time, forming this island. The highest peak, Fire Dragon Peak, was also an active volcanic crater. The last eruption occurred 30 years ago. However, these geological disasters posed no danger to Levi. The rich fire elemental energy here greatly increased the power of his burning faction spells. It would also speed up his cultivation of the sun meditation art and burning faction spells. Overall, this was a very good island. Levi's black snake message was fully activated and covered the entire Black Fire Island and the nearby sea area. In this way, he knew exactly what was going on. Suddenly, Levi's face darkened. He felt something moving under Black Fire Island. At first, he thought it was a wild beast, but when he carefully used his advanced perception, he realized it was a person. Soon, Levi found an entrance at the crater of Fire Dragon Peak. He recognized the location as the former cave of the Fireplay Master, Cain. The deeper he traveled, the denser the fire elemental power became. A wizard seemed to be secretly staying in the cave, cultivating there, and Levi analyzed the situation. His spider sensing did not trigger any danger, which meant the enemy should not be strong. No matter who it was, Levi had the right to expel them. If the other party refused, Levi could make a move. Thinking of this, Levi smoothed his expression. He walked down the cave passage and gradually descended. The temperature climbed higher, but Levi felt no discomfort. Finally, in a spacious underground cave, Levi appeared. A wizard in a gray robe opened his eyes and studied the intruder. "Who are you?" the wizard asked. Levi stood his ground. "I am the master of Black Fire Island, Levi. Who are you, and why are you on my island?" After saying that, Levi produced his title deed. The man looked at the title deed and suddenly smiled. "I am sorry, I thought this was an ownerless island. My name is Terrell, an official wizard of the Azure Fire Alliance. Since this island has an owner, I will be leaving." Chapter 390. The man named Terrell smiled, his expression radiating kindness. The hairs on Levi's arm stood up, an unmistakable warning from his spider sensing. "You want to harm me," Levi thought, sneering at the performance. "Why pretend to be a good person?" Spider sensing perceived danger and deep-seated hostility. It alerted him whenever a threat lurked nearby. The man's acting skills were decent, his smile friendly, yet he remained a notorious villain. Spider sensing stripped away the mask, leaving his evil exposed. Levi smiled, his voice steady. "You may leave. I will not hold it against you, as you could not have known this island had an owner." "Very well, Sir Levi, I will leave now," Terrell said with a foolish laugh. He gripped his wand and retreated from the cave, his eyes darting vigilantly. Advanced perception tracked every move. Should the man attempt anything treacherous, Levi would not hesitate to strike him down. Finally, Terrell mounted his flying wizard tool and vanished into the distance. Levi watched Terrell retreat, lost in thought. The prickle of hostility from his spider sensing remained sharp. He understood the man would return. He had no intention of sparing someone who harbored such malice. A small slate materialized in Levi's hand. He chanted a spell, and the image of the conversation between him and Cain projected onto the surface. This was a photographic slate. The solidification spell on it recorded every event within a certain range. It functioned like surveillance, yet it produced a clearer image. The photographic slate was absolutely objective and impossible to fake. Therefore, the content of the slate served as evidence in the wizard tribunal. With the experience gained from Cain, Levi had formulated a plan. He had been a lawyer in his previous life, and he understood the importance of such preparations. He had come prepared this time. In the future, if anyone trespassed on his island, he would record the incident with a photographic slate. That way, killing the intruder would be justified. With this evidence, the wizard tribunal could not touch him. After Terrell left, Levi immediately devoted himself to the exploration of Black Fire Island. He surveyed the entire island, memorizing the basic layout. After the survey, he decided to stay in the cave dwelling once used by Cain. The space was generous, though the heat remained intense. It proved perfect for practicing the burning faction techniques. He renamed the dwelling from Cain House to Black Fire Cave. The soil on Black Fire Island was more fertile than he had imagined. The accumulation of volcanic ash darkened the earth. After some minor modifications, he could open a medicinal garden and plant herbs compatible with the fire element. They would surely grow well here. A medicinal garden had existed on the hillside of Fire Dragon Peak, planted by Cain, but the sea beast tide had completely destroyed it. In addition, Levi found a few natural caves. He modified them and placed his Saint Scorpions inside. He planned to transform the area into a Saint Scorpion breeding base. He had also received the inheritance of the spider which regarding the School of Insects. This inheritance was far more comprehensive than the sacred insect control technique he had obtained in the human world. It introduced the basic knowledge of the School of Insects and contained many notes from the spider witch. These were priceless treasures. As for the thousands of red-faced sea ghost spiders, Levi dared not release them from the bug house for the time being. These strange insects were ferocious, and he lacked the special method required to control them. Releasing them now invited the risk of a backlash. The red-faced sea ghost spiders exceeded the quality of the Saint Scorpions he had obtained in the mortal world. On the ranking list of mutated insects established by the School of Insects, the red-faced sea ghost spider ranked 111th. It was the highest ranking among the low-grade mutated insects. The top 36 of the rankings consisted of famous high-grade insects, while those from the 37th to the 108th were middle-grade insects. The fact that the red-faced sea ghost spider could rank 111th demonstrated its terrifying nature. This insect had been the trump card of the spider witch, the source of her reputation in this sea area. Levi studied the ranking list of mutated insects. His Saint Scorpion ranked beyond 200, but the Saint Scorpion on the list represented the most ordinary variety. Levi believed his own Saint Scorpion possessed a much higher quality than those. If he carefully nurtured them, they should prove no less capable than the top 200. Moreover, the Saint Scorpions possessed the potential to evolve into middle-grade insects in the future. Although they originated from the human world, they shared a vague connection to the underworld mythology of certain civilizations. In many places, people respectfully called them the sacred insect or the dark worm. Therefore, Levi remained very optimistic about the potential of the little creatures. Of course, it would be better if he could subdue the red-faced sea ghost spiders. However, the control spell belonged to the second circle, so Levi likely could not deal with these fierce sea spiders in the short term. After settling his Saint Scorpions, the second day dawned. Levi could still feel the lingering danger from the spider sensing. He knew that Terrell was likely still plotting his next move. Chapter 391. Levi calmly removed the corpses of the rock troll couple, Green Ghost Carter, Kane, and Little Octo from his storage bag. He had chosen the nickname Little Octo for the swordsman from the Sea Clan. Aside from Little Octo, Levi covered the 5 living dead in a layer of alchemy armor forged from a mixture of brass and mithril. He assembled the pieces tightly to strengthen their defenses. He had also requested the Tower Master to solidify an isolation spell on these armors. The spell blocked the spiritual power of low-level wizards, ensuring no one would recognize the original appearance of the 5 living dead. After injecting the core of the undead into the bodies of these warriors, the 5 living dead, comparable in power to First Circle wizards, stood up. These figures became the 5 generals of the living dead family, Levi's own personal cyberpunk creations. All of you find a place to hide, Levi muttered to himself. Levi also moved the black flame demonic bird to Black Fire Island. The demonic bird preferred hot environments, so it soon took a liking to its new home. With his preparations complete, Levi settled into his home on Black Fire Island to cultivate his breathing technique while awaiting the arrival of Terrell. 3 days later, Levi stood up from the red boulder where he had been sitting. His aura radiated with a potency greater than before, because his undying bird breathing technique had reached its maximum level. Levi reviewed his current status. The undying bird breathing technique was now at level 11, which was the maximum. The special effect of blood ember had reached a solid state, granting him the ability of resurrection. A sensation of rebirth washed through his body. Layers of blood-colored ashes covered his skin, and within those ashes lay traces of magical power. He used the Poseidon trident to open a hole in his arm, deep enough for bone to be visible. The blood ember surged rapidly into the wound. Magical energy took hold. The blood ember transformed into squirming, blood-colored flesh worms that burrowed into the arm, weaving together a trace of fresh flesh and blood. In about 1 minute, the wound healed completely. The regeneration speed could not yet compete with the primary blood clan, who relied on the blood river will. However, outside of specific spells from the life school of thought, few other schools could heal such a serious wound in 1 minute. Levi considered cutting off his own arms or legs to test the duration of the regrowth. After a moment of thought, he decided against the idea. The level 11 blood ember provided a vastly improved self-healing ability compared to his previous state. Theoretically, as long as his vital organs, such as his head and heart, remained intact, he could recover from any serious injury through the power of the blood ember. Naturally, Levi hoped he would never need to rely on the self-healing ability of the blood ember. The supernatural organ brought forth by the maximum level of the undying bird breathing technique was located in his palm. With a thought, his normal-looking hand transformed, becoming thin, long, and black. His knuckles grew thick, and sharp claws sprouted from his fingertips. They resembled eagle claws, burning with raging flames. This was the legendary organ of the undying bird, which Levi named the Undying Fire Claw. This pair of sharp claws possessed immense power and incredible regenerative capabilities. Levi slashed gently, and the huge rock beneath him split neatly under the Undying Fire Claw. The void seemed to tear apart at the motion. He tested the strength of the claws. The hardness of the Undying Fire Claw rivaled that of luminant gold. The claw itself functioned as a divine weapon. Coupled with the power of the golden revolving slash, it could instantly tear apart the defensive spell of a First Circle wizard. He ran through the list of his mutations in his mind. Black scale, flame body, rock heart, frost arm, blood ember, bird claw, dragon spine, whale back, hump, blood wings, ostrich feet, and tentacles all served him well. Levi admired his peerless appearance and smiled. The sensation of becoming stronger felt intoxicating. As the undying bird breathing technique advanced to the legendary realm, Levi attained the legendary 4-dimensional state. Legendary power, legendary speed, legendary defense, and legendary physique were all confirmed. These 4 important attributes had achieved the legendary stage. Only legendary endurance and legendary perception remained to be conquered. The current version of himself was gradually approaching the combat power of a second circle wizard, Levi analyzed. Of course, he remained far from his ultimate goal. With the undying bird breathing technique at its maximum, he would likely reach the legendary realm within 2 years using the golden horn breathing technique. He wondered what powerful breathing technique might mutate after he fused the golden horn and black snake legendary level defense breathing techniques. Regarding endurance and perception type breathing techniques, Levi could only leave things to fate. Few of these techniques existed, especially those focused on perception. It was rare to encounter them, and those of excellent quality were even rarer. Holy Brilliance calendar year 1028, in the month of Germinal. Perhaps some unforeseen event delayed him, or perhaps he was planning something substantial. In any case, Levi stood ready. Terrell had not yet arrived. Levi had sent scouts to investigate Terrell. He discovered that Terrell was not a member of the Azure Fire Alliance. He had once been a member, but after violating many laws of the Penplane Wizard Council, the Alliance stripped him of his qualifications and rights. He had become a dark wizard. If he had known earlier, Levi would not have needed to beat around the bush. He could have killed him on the spot and gone to the Star Tower to claim the bounty. During this period, Levi planted seeds of first circle herbs in the herb garden of Fire Dragon Peak. He watered them daily with the flower fairy dew and tended to their growth with care. Chapter 392. Many of these herbs provided ingredients for refining the Sandman potion. This potion still served a purpose at the first circle wizard stage, though its effects proved far inferior to those experienced during the apprentice stage. Still, as the only meditation supplementary potion Levi currently possessed, he refused to abandon its refinement. Beyond having Manla collect ingredients, he intended to cultivate some personally. Even if these herbs matured when he no longer required the potion for himself, he could always sell them. In short, the venture carried no risk of loss. More than 1 month passed, and the layout of Blackfire Island reached completion. Levi surveyed his island with immense satisfaction, the contentment of a seasoned farmer spreading across his face. Farming remained a beautiful pursuit, but the island still lacked servants and guards. He could not manage everything alone. He needed to refine alchemical creatures to watch the house and handle chores. Unlike humans who might succumb to greed or betrayal, these lumps of iron and living dead offered absolute obedience. Once he mastered the art of arrays, he could erect defensive, trap, and attack arrays to make Blackfire Island impregnable. For the foreseeable future, this place would serve as his second home. Levi did not intend to venture far from the outer circle until he advanced to a third circle wizard. While resources in this region remained scarce and the wizards generally weak, his current strength ensured his safety so long as he avoided unnecessary conflict. The Inner Sea region, known as the Sea of Dreams, presented an entirely different environment filled with unpredictable dangers. Only intermediate wizards could barely stand firm there. If a low-level wizard like him arrived, he would easily find himself caught in treacherous whirlpools. Adhering to the principle that he would rather be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix, he would focus on farming and developing in the outer circle, waiting until he achieved the third ring before contemplating an entry into the inner circle. After waiting a few more days without a sign of Terrell, Levi grew impatient. He left Kane behind, entrusting the house to the other 4 generals of the Mo family. He boarded the Dragon King whale and set a course for the Grey Tower. The Dragon King whale reduced the journey to 2 days, whereas the Azure ship would have required at least 7. Inside the tower, the atmosphere crackled with the activity of official wizards. Now that Levi held the status of an official wizard, he turned his focus toward alchemy training. He ascended to the 7th floor of the White Tower to meet the Tower Master. The Tower Master looked up from his desk and inquired about the island purchase. He wanted to know if the process had gone smoothly. Levi laughed, confirming that the acquisition had been successful. With the island, he possessed a second home in the wizard world beyond the walls of the Grey Tower. He spoke openly about the purchase with the Tower Master and Marlene. He would certainly spend long stretches of time cultivating there in isolation, returning only for classes or tower activities. Total transparency with the Tower Master remained essential. Herman nodded in approval. An official wizard required a personal base. The Grey Tower stood surrounded by several private islands belonging to the Tower Master himself. These islands provided brass ores and the occasional deposit of mithril. Levi invited the Tower Master to visit in the future. He outlined his schedule, noting that he would return once a month to handle tower matters and attend classes, spending the remainder of his time cultivating on his island. As an official wizard, tower regulations required him to teach at least 1 course. He currently held responsibility for the pharmacist course. Since few apprentices specialized in pharmacology, a monthly course sufficed. The Tower Master shifted the conversation toward alchemy, welcoming Levi into the wondrous world of the craft. Alchemy represented a new school, and few wizards practiced it. Most traditional wizards dismissed the discipline as a dead end, claiming that legendary wizards could never emerge from its ranks. According to the Tower Master, the alchemy faction existed in a miserable state. The strongest wizard in the entire faction held the rank of 8th circle, which remained formidable to Levi. However, a mainstream faction required the support of a great wizard dedicated to its study, unlike the 4 traditional factions of earth, fire, wind, and water, which each boasted several legendary wizards. This reality left alchemy wizards with a low status. The Tower Master originally practiced in the Ocean School of Thought, but stumbled upon an alchemy inheritance. He discovered a greater talent for alchemy than for his original path, and decisively switched to the unorthodox faction, quickly achieving mastery. In the realm of Azure Cloud, few people surpassed the Tower Master in alchemy. Within the traditional Ocean School of Thought, rarely did sorcerers choose to study this path. Guided by the Tower Master, Levi felt his knowledge improve rapidly. Chapter 393. Half a year later, Levi had mastered the fundamental theoretical knowledge of the School of Alchemy, including alchemy bionics, alchemy materials, alchemy style theory, alchemy runes foundation, alchemy dynamics, smelting, and forging. Smelting and forging proved to be a simple task for Levi, who had already reached the maximum of level 5 forging. A new skill manifested on Levi's proficiency panel. His furnace meditation art reached level 3, with 3,679 out of 10,000 points toward the next level. This art served as one of the few meditation methods within the School of Alchemy, functioning as an entry-level practice for all apprentices. It derived from the Burning Faction's Sun meditation art, tailored specifically for the alchemy path. Levi advanced quickly through this practice, as the Dance of the Fire God's special effect enhanced it. For someone who had already pushed 4 other meditation arts to level 4, cultivating this furnace technique came naturally. With the basic alchemy courses complete, Levi secured the alchemical creature blueprint he had purchased from the Tower Master, and returned to Blackfire Island with a sense of purpose. This blueprint detailed one of the alchemical guards that had proven its worth during the sea beast tide. The term alchemical guard served as a collective name for all house-protecting creatures in the school, though they were categorized by model and level. The system mirrored the classification of transcendent creatures, measured in rings. Blueprints for creatures above the first circle remained exceedingly rare. Since those were beyond his current grasp, he settled for the zero circle model known as the swordsman mantis. These creatures performed on par with high-level apprentice wizards. Their primary weapon consisted of a cold steel scythe, rather than an alchemical cannon. Levi preferred this, as alchemical cannons required an unsustainable amount of ether stones. He lacked the financial resources to support cannon fire, so he aimed to refine a batch of swordsman mantises to serve as house guards and laborers. He planned to refine 4 in the first round. The cost of construction was significant, totaling 300 ether stones per unit. Brass served as the primary material, but the expense lay in the alchemy energy core and the pure mithril scythe. He gathered all the necessary components, piling them into a mountain. Levi began the refining process. It required everything from smelting and forging to the engraving of alchemy runes, riveting, assembling, and camouflage painting. Alchemy spells were woven into every stage of the work. The engineering involved in creating even the simplest zero-ring creature exceeded his initial expectations. 1 week passed. A chime sounded in his mind as a notification appeared. Alchemy proficiency plus 325. He opened the proficiency panel to find a new skill listed. Alchemy level 1, 325 out of 1,000. He could do this. A sense of delight washed over him. Since the skill appeared on the panel, he could cultivate it. Before him sat an alchemical creature roughly 2 meters long. It was painted completely black, allowing it to blend into the surroundings of Blackfire Island. Precise rivets and intricate alchemy runes adorned its surface. These runes formed the alchemy style required for the creature to function. On its back, a pair of folding iron wings allowed for short-distance flight. Its arms consisted of bionic mithril mantis blades, which were incredibly sharp. In a non-combat state, the creature could retract these scythes. If he replaced them with fingers as agile as human hands, the creature could assist with chores. The streamlined body exuded the beauty of metal, signaling its role as an assassin-type alchemical guard specializing in speed. Levi chanted an incantation to test his results. Seconds ticked by as the noisy wind blew against his face. It failed. The creature remained inert. He muttered the realization to himself. This outcome aligned with his expectations, as he did not consider himself an alchemy genius. The issue likely stemmed from the alchemy runes. He possessed no choice but to dismantle the swordsman mantis and inspect it repeatedly. Refining a swordsman mantis provided a few hundred proficiency points, even if the attempt failed. He could cultivate this skill quickly, provided he had enough ether stones to waste. He struck while the iron was hot. After a brief rest, he returned to his workstation. Throughout the process, he remained vigilant. More than half a year had passed, but the spider sensing ability still triggered a slight warning every day. Recently, the alerts had intensified, signaling that the hostile First Circle wizard remained a threat. The year was 1028 of the Holy Brilliance calendar, in the month of Northern Wind. In the sea near Blackfire Island, a wizard in a grey robe rode a flying artifact toward the shore. This was Terrell. Beside him floated a green-robed wizard who appeared to be from the undead ship. This was Moot, a senior First Circle wizard of the organization. Although Harland had perished, a few stragglers remained. Moot, a cousin of Green Ghost Carter, had maintained a distant relationship with him, keeping his presence hidden from most on the undead ship. Terrell had observed Levi half a year ago, and noted that the seemingly ordinary wizard possessed enough wealth to purchase Blackfire Island. Greed had taken root, though Terrell possessed a cautious nature and refused to act without confidence. After 6 months of cultivation, he had reached the senior First Circle stage. Still feeling uneasy, he recruited Moot to assist. They struck a deal to split Levi's assets 60-40. Moot discovered the target was the same Levi from the Grey Tower, who had ruined his former home, fueling a desire for revenge. They rushed toward the island, ready to commit a ruthless act. Chapter 394. Moot and Terrell schemed across the surface of the sea. Lord Moot, later, use your summoned creatures to restrain Levi. I will use my combustion spell to kill him at lightning speed. Although the other party is just an ordinary wizard, in our line of work, we have to go all out. Even a lion needs to go all out to capture a rabbit, do you not think so? Terrell smiled. Moot maintained a cold expression. Terrell, do not worry. I have long heard of this Levi on the undead ship. He is not only a First Circle wizard, but also a legendary knight. He is very difficult to deal with compared to ordinary first circle wizards. We have to treat him as the enemy of a first circle wizard. My disappointing cousin, Green Ghost Carter, was repeatedly tricked by this kid because he underestimated his enemy. I will not repeat the same mistake. I knew it. This Levi looks a little burly and rough, but he is actually a legendary knight. Then we cannot hold back. Also, before the two of us kill Levi, it is best not to have any ulterior motives. Terrell looked at him meaningfully, a smirk playing on his lips. Do not worry. Although I, Moot, am a dark wizard, I have no problem in terms of credit. As for you, do not slack off when you fight. Moot sneered. The two first circle wizards chatted and laughed, while walking toward the Blackfire Island with confidence. No one knew what kind of wishful thinking they had in their hearts. On Blackfire Island, Levi finished refining another swordsman mantis. He recited the activation incantation. The mantis swayed, its limbs clicking into place. Its movements quickened until it blurred into a black shadow, rivaling the speed of a top-notch Grand Knight. The mithril scythe flickered with a cold light, crackling as it moved. The blades sheared through rocks along the path, reducing them to piles of gravel. The machine returned to Levi's side, folded its scythe, and lay quiet. Not bad, not bad. Levi felt a surge of satisfaction. Under normal circumstances, Levi would not let the swordsman mantises fight. He preferred to let them handle the chores of plowing the herb garden, weeding, and driving away wild beasts and seabirds. A single swordsman mantis offered little combat power. However, with 10 or 8 of them, even an official wizard risked serious injury if he lowered his guard against these alchemical assassins. Levi could not refine such a large number in a short period. He knew that high-level alchemical creatures could perform complex tasks and follow highly precise instructions, almost like an intelligent butler in a cyberpunk style. Even the Tower Master lacked those blueprints. Perhaps they existed only in ancient wizard ruins, or with a small number of sorcerers from the School of Alchemy. Levi could only entertain the thought for now. Regardless, his first alchemical creature stood complete. After so many refinements, his alchemy skills had advanced by leaps and bounds to level 3, specifically reaching 101 points out of a total of 10,000. His alchemy skills stood second to none among the apprentice alchemists, given his success in refining the swordsman mantis. From now on, you will be the number 1 swordsman. Levi spoke to the motionless machine. Number 1, let us go meet the 2 guests who are about to land on the island. Levi smiled as he stood. His bones crackled, echoing through the quiet cave. He stretched his muscles, donned his robe, and strode to the shore. He sat on a reef by the sea, carefully placing photographic slates in hidden spots to record the coming confrontation. Moot and Terrell appeared above the waves. One of them is Terrell, and the other appears to be a fish that escaped the net of the undead ship. Levi watched from the reef. The 2 men paused, stunned to find Levi sitting calmly on the rocks. Terrell's expression shifted before he forced a neutral mask back onto his face. How is this possible? How did he know that we would come? Moot wore a solemn expression, his eyes fixed on the man ahead. Moot, do not be fooled by him. He is about to die, but he is still pretending to be profound. If 2 first circle senior wizards fight him, it is impossible for him to survive. Go, let your summoned creature appear. Terrell gripped his wand. The summoning array that Moot had prepared beforehand took shape. A huge skeletal snake emitting green ghost fire descended with a bang. It opened its mouth and spat out a thick green poisonous fog that covered the sky and swept over the island. It was a first circle hell creature, the poison firebone snake. It stood slightly stronger than the hell strongman. Poisonous mist filled the air the moment the snake appeared. Its huge body charged forward, aiming to crush Levi beneath its weight. Levi's expression remained unchanged. His current strength afforded him total calm when facing 2 senior first circle wizards. He waved the dark blue wand, and a water shield spell blossomed to protect him. Levi quickly chanted the water prison spell. A water cage enveloped the poisoned fire snake, temporarily imprisoning it. Levi cast a fireball technique, and a fireball with a diameter of 2 meters appeared, shooting out explosively. It hurtled straight toward Terrell. Chapter 395. Levi had cultivated the fireball technique, a first ring spell, to its absolute limit. Its power was not to be underestimated. Terrell watched Levi conjure the spell and doubted his own sanity. The rumors placed Levi in the Grey Tower, a man of the Burning and Ocean factions, yet this magic defied those expectations. The fireball detonated. Terrell scrambled to block it with his first ring spell, a flaming shroud. Before the smoke cleared, 5 powerful figures emerged from the shadows to surround him. Terrell scanned them with his perception, and his jaw dropped. They were all first circle wizards. One 8-legged monstrosity swiped 8 bone knives, slicing through the remnants of the fireball. The rock troll couple, Green Ghost Carter, Little Octo, Kane, and the 5 living dead descended upon Terrell. Spells and abilities collided in a chaotic symphony. Saber beams and flames tore through the sky. Levi did not need to move. His servants rained destruction upon the intruder. Terrell's defenses crumbled under the relentless, indiscriminate assault. He found himself trapped, surrounded by the living dead army that had been waiting in ambush. Little Octo, the strongest of the group, loomed like the god of death, dismantling every defensive spell Terrell threw up. The 8 blades technique displayed its lethal efficiency once again. Within moments, a bone knife pierced through Terrell's heart. Levi had ordered his servants to leave the bodies intact, or Little Octo would have torn him to pieces. Terrell had only just advanced to a senior first circle wizard, but he proved no match for the 5 living dead. He had come with confidence, only to be killed instantly. Moot watched from the water, dumbfounded. He cursed under his breath. They had agreed to kill him together, yet Terrell died in seconds. There was no point in continuing this farce. Levi shed his restraint. He unleashed the full power of his legendary four-dimensional state. Black scales coated his skin, and his body ignited with flame. Moot shuddered as he faced Levi, feeling like a pitiful monster shivering before a predator. Levi's speed defied sight. Moot's defensive spells flashed frantically, and a chill raced down his spine. The undying fire claw pierced through Moot's shield as if it were parchment. Levi tore the force field apart, and watched it dissipate into nothingness. The poison firebone snake broke through Levi's water prison spell, and lunged at his back. Levi relied on the invincible whale mountain, absorbing the impact with the recoil of the hump. The beast flew backward, dozens of meters of scales slamming into the island. It shuddered, dazed and swaying as if it were drunk. At the same time, a soul flame struck Levi's head. Green fire enveloped him. Moot laughed, desperate to distance himself. He prepared to transform into green smoke and flee the island. Levi emerged from the raging green flames, with his head morphed into a hideous black scale visage. His blood vessels pulsed like channels of magma. His entire body thrummed with scorching energy from the furnace heart. He opened his mouth and unleashed the thick red lotus breath. The flames wrapped in long, searing heat evaporated the seawater, creating a void channel. The heat wave swept across the sea. Moot did not hesitate to use his life-saving trump card, the body of ghost fire. While immune to most physical attacks, his form was only partially resistant to spell-like breathing abilities. The breath dispersed his ghost fire, scattering the figure into sparks. The flames coalesced into Moot's shape a short distance away. Levi descended from the sky like a falling star. His ostrich feet, wrapped in endless black gas, crushed Moot's shoulder and drove him deep into the seabed. Moot choked on a gulp of seawater. A blood-red tentacle pierced through his heart. He stared at Levi, eyes unfocused and swimming with confusion. Moot had encountered bloodline modification wizards from the life school of thought before. He knew the monsters proficient in mutation, organ transplantation, and bloodline studies who used biological prosthetics to obtain power. But no wizard from that school could use those organs as freely as Levi. Levi was not a man. He was a monster. Fear consumed him. Carter's cousin died under Levi's claws. Levi gathered the body. With the summoner dead, the poison firebone snake lost its tether to the human world. A summoning door from hell opened to reclaim the creature, leaving Levi alone on the quiet, blackened shore. Chapter 396. The blood-colored tentacles surged outward. They wrapped tight around the tail of the retreating poison firebone snake. You want to leave after offending me, Levi. Leave the energy core behind. A thunderous boom echoed across the water. The tail of the snake jerked backward under the grip of the vampire touch. Levi erupted with legendary power. His furnace heart burned with the intensity of a nuclear reactor. The red lotus flame body surged with sudden, crushing force. The poison firebone snake thrashed in disbelief. Levi hauled the creature back, reversing its retreat as half its body had already crossed the threshold back into hell. Ghost fire flickered in the eyes of the hell creature. It processed the situation with surprising intelligence. Levi reached for the energy core, but the snake recoiled. It begged for mercy, nodding its head frantically. Levi paused, stunned. He had never encountered such a situation. Usually, hell creatures perished at his hands or vanished into the void once their summoner died. This was the first time one had kowtowed to him. Hell creatures preferred death over submission. This bone snake broke the mold. It possessed no backbone. Levi recognized the opportunity. His hell affinity and the black snake bloodline with a candle likely influenced the beast. He harnessed his martial strength to force the creature into submission. Levi spoke, his voice commanding. I heard that if hell creatures want to stay in other planes for a long time, they need to sign a contract with other planes and acknowledge them as their masters. Do you know how to sign such a contract? The Tower Master had once mentioned that Demon Harland brought his second circle three-headed hell lizard out of the underworld. That lizard remained in the human world because of the bond between them. The poison firebone snake nodded violently. It possessed far more cunning than the usual simple-minded hell beasts. It understood the futility of resistance and chose to defy its ancestors to survive. A green circular array materialized on its forehead, resembling a gateway to hell. A wave of spiritual force pulsed through the mind of Levi. He sensed the energy fluctuation and recited the incantation. Almo, Shituo, Rector. A green pattern manifested in the sea of consciousness of Levi. The shape resembled a miniature, dark green version of the poison firebone snake. Levi smiled, a joyful expression on his face. Interesting. Sacrifice a trace of your soul to me and form a soul imprint. From now on, I will be the owner of this poison firebone snake. This will mirror the relationship between Harland and the three-headed hell lizard. Such a situation remained rare. Both parties had to reach an agreement. Most importantly, the hell creatures had to submit to him completely and willingly offer their soul imprints. He had encountered many hell creatures, but none offered such obedience. Consequently, he had killed the others. Very good. You are a snake that understands the big picture. Levi's mood lifted. As your master, as long as you remain loyal to me, I will not mistreat you. The poison firebone snake nodded. Do you have a name? Levi asked. The creature shook its head. I will call you Igor then. Levi chose a name at random. He had intended to use the creature as a living dead thrall, but instead, he gained a traitorous snake. With the soul imprint established, Levi communicated with the creature effortlessly. Even without speech, he understood its thoughts. Hell is a place I must visit in the future. Despite his words, he held no desire to enter hell until he grew stronger. It served as a top-tier plane, one capable of competing with the gods of the astral world during its prime. While suppressed and in decline, a starving camel still proved larger than a horse. The powerhouses residing there far exceeded most other planes. Harland had reached the second circle, transforming into a hell creature himself to survive the plane rejection. Ordinary wizards without intermediate strength courted death by stepping into hell. Furthermore, Harland had only reached the shallowest level. Wizards from the School of Death believed the hell plane contained 9 levels, corresponding to the 9-circle system. Without corresponding strength, venturing into the deeper levels meant certain death. Levi turned his attention away from the creature and directed it toward an underground cave for shelter. He secured the corpse of Tyrell. No wonder he took so long to find trouble with me. He must have called for a helper only after he advanced. Levi recalled the long wait over the past 6 months. The spiritual power radiating from Tyrell had proven much stronger than it was half a year ago. That man had wanted to kill him months ago, but must have waited to ensure his safety. He had only attacked after advancing to a senior first circle wizard and recruiting another dark wizard. Chapter 397. These days, robbers are getting more and more cautious. Levi chuckled, shaking his head. He inventoried the storage bags salvaged from the 2 men. The total amount of ether stones amounted to only 3,000. Levi frowned. As a first circle dark wizard who engaged in regular plunder, he could not help but curse their poverty. The rest of the loot consisted of common casting materials and spell books he already possessed. Nothing stood out as worthy of his time. He did, however, recover 2 wizard tools. One was Terrell's flying tool. It resembled a shield, solidified with burning faction spell runes. This first circle tool, the fire shield, functioned for both defense and flight. It operated similarly to the Ring of the Wind Spirit. Its performance proved mediocre, however. Levi already possessed the Blood Wings, rendering this tool redundant. He resolved to visit an underground black market to sell it for ether stones. His recent expenditures had been high, and even with the newly seized stones, his total remained under 10,000. A sum below 10,000 ether stones always left him feeling exposed. The second item was Moot's Trembling Ring. This first circle spatial ring offered storage capacity comparable to the Ring of the Wind Spirit and the Sea Demon Ring. More importantly, it housed a solidified first ring spell, the Paralysis spell. Levi stared at the ring, caught between laughter and frustration. The Paralysis spell held a reputation as a notorious ancient creation from the wizard Zumar. The spell was long lost, primarily because it proved useless in most scenarios. Casting it offered a mere 1% chance to induce a paralysis state. During that 1 second of paralysis, the target remained unable to cast spells or chant. While the control effect held potential, the success rate remained locked at 1% regardless of the caster's skill or rank. It consumed vast amounts of spell power and occupied a valuable mental memory slot, known as the spell slot. The cooldown stretched for an entire day. For most wizards, the cost-benefit analysis made it a poor investment. Better options for first circle control spells existed everywhere. Yet, the spell remained an interesting curiosity. It worked not just on first circle wizards, but potentially on second circles and even intermediate wizards. The duration merely decreased as the target's realm advanced. Only high-level wizards could completely ignore the effect. Some dubbed it the luck technique, while others named it the woe technique. The spell had largely vanished from modern study, surviving only in rare ancient wizard tools. Moot's ring was clearly one of these relics. Levi sighed, shaking his head. He had always struggled with luck in games. Such a volatile spell held little value for him, but the ring itself served as a functional storage device. He slid the trembling ring onto his left middle finger, joining the Ring of the Wind Spirit and the Sea Demon Ring already adorning his other digits. His goal of filling all 10 fingers with ring-type wizard tools was progressing. The 10-ring knight progress had reached 30%. Levi turned his attention back to the fallen. He converted both first circle wizards into living dead. The 7 generals of the living dead family, fueled by the seal of hell, stood ready. He embraced the summoning style, choosing to overwhelm opponents with sheer numbers rather than fair one-on-one combat. The lineup included the rock troll couple, Carter and Moot, Kane and Tyrell, and the Sea Clan warrior, Little Octo. No opponent below the second circle could withstand the combined might of 7 generals. Levi considered the Grey Tower one of the top organizations in the sea area. It only boasted 4 first circle wizards in total. Levi's private army could dismantle many second circle wizard organizations, let alone the power of those ranked even higher. Beyond these, he commanded 9 first circle subordinates, including the poison firebone snake and the Leviathan. He paused, considering the limitations. The current potential of the Seal of Hell remained modest. Unless a breakthrough occurred, 7 first circle living dead represented the absolute upper limit. The seal was merely an adaptation created by the Constantine ancestors, based on the first ring spell Undead Summoning. That spell could only summon first circle creatures. Higher tiers required specialized advanced spells. Still, the fact that Levi could leverage the seals of a mortal aristocratic family to this extent was impressive. Even the original ancestors might not have achieved such results. Satisfied with his preparations, Levi returned to his cultivation and resumed the refinement of the swordsman Mantis. Chapter 398. Holy Brilliance Calendar Year 1028, the end of the month of winter, marked the arrival of the new year. Levi spent a total of several thousand ether stones to refine 8 swordsman mantises. These 8 creatures performed with unexpected power, standing their ground even against a first circle entity as formidable as the poison firebone snake. The 8 swordsman mantises provided enough support to patrol the territory and handle simple chores. Levi could not afford to refine more at the moment. In the future, he would need to acquire a blueprint for first circle alchemical creatures from the Tower Master to continue his progress. That goal, however, required his furnace meditation art and level 4 alchemical creatures to advance further. His current skills in the School of Alchemy remained insufficient to refine the more precise and complicated first circle alchemical creatures. As Levi stepped out of the alchemy area, a seagull-like bird soared in the sky and landed slowly on Blackfire Island. The creature spoke in human language. Member 9527, Levi, the Panplane Truth Journal you subscribed to has been delivered. After the seagull finished speaking, it left behind a slate and took flight. Levi took the slate, and the information unfolded in his mind. He had activated this special service after becoming a member of the Panplane Wizard Council. By paying 1,000 ether stones at once, he could enjoy a major news push service from the council for the next 100 years. Although Levi intended to cultivate in seclusion, he could not ignore the news of the outside world. Constant attention to major events ensured he could avoid being drawn into inexplicable disputes. The information detailed that the general election of the Panplane Wizard Council had occurred. The Burning Faction's legendary wizard, the Blazing Sun God Wizard Edmund, had once again defeated the Ice Faction's Frost Witch, Gullwig, with a slim number of votes. He would be re-elected as the Grand Council Chairman of the Panplane Wizard Council for the 3rd time. The message urged members to let the Blazing Sun God Wizard lead their wizard civilization to greatness again during the next millennium. Levi pondered the news. The election had happened, yet he had received no notification as a member. His vote had gone to waste, and no one had attempted to buy it. He shrugged off the thought. Such matters involving high-level figures had nothing to do with a small fry like him. The report continued. A group of dark wizards from Chaos City, the darkest and most evil organization in the Panplane, had recently orchestrated a shocking suicide attack on the realm of Crimson. Many wizard organizations had been implicated, involving nearly 100 wizards. In response, the Chaos City Lord, the Dark Wizard Emperor and Aster, the Son of Chaos, announced that they were responsible for the matter. Everything belonged to Chaos, and so did the wizards. The existence of the Panplane Wizard Council was a blasphemy against Chaos. The Dark Emperor, the Lord of Destiny, Aster, would bring chaos to the Panplane Wizard Council. Levi felt a chill. Even legendary wizards acted foolishly at times. It seemed the dark wizards intended to start causing trouble again. He decided it would be safer to limit his outings. The final piece of news indicated that an incomplete experimental subject of the Life School of Thought had escaped from the laboratory of Ms. Rowland when the lady assistant had looked away. The subject had even erased the tracking mark. Ms. Rowland reminded all members that anyone who encountered this subject should contact the Panplane Wizard Council immediately, promising a handsome reward. A photo accompanied the text. Levi sighed. He felt fortunate to be in the realm of Azure Cloud. The wizards in the realm of life seemed miserable, constantly disturbed by all kinds of experimental subjects. Ever since he subscribed to the Panplane Truth Journal, Levi read the newspaper to relax during his daily cultivation. Half a day passed by the time he finished reading. Levi memorized the useful information and continued his cultivation. Once he completed his research in alchemy, he borrowed the Book of Cipher from the Tower Master to begin studying arrays. He planned to learn arrays before setting up a protective boundary around his cave abode. Time flew by when he remained engrossed in research. While studying arrays, Levi taught pharmacists in the Grey Tower and used more first circle potion formulas to progress his pharmaceutical skills. During the month of flowers, his pharmaceutical skills reached level 8, achieving the status of a first circle senior pharmacist. The cultivation of arrays, however, remained slow and had yet to appear on the proficiency panel. He had not mastered the art after several months of study. Levi remained patient. He continued to cultivate the arrays while advancing his own realm. Year 1029 of the Holy Brilliance calendar. During the month of flowers, Levi prepared for a periodic team building session. Before he could begin, the black whale breathing technique reached the maximum of level 11. Levi felt the shift in his physiology. The black whale breathing technique hit its peak. The special effect of the whale back settled into a solid state, and he fully mastered the sea-swallowing whale ability. Chapter 399. Levi had finally cultivated the black whale breathing technique to the maximum level of 11. His back was incomparably broad, as if it could carry everything in the world. His muscles rippled with elegance, marked by deep, crisscrossing ravines. It resembled the back of a demon. The solid-state whale back had improved his strength considerably, but the true power of the technique revealed itself in the second special effect born after his legendary breakthrough. The ability, known as sea-swallowing whale, granted him the power to absorb a vast amount of energy in a short period. This action accelerated his blood circulation, causing his body to gather the energy and expand rapidly. His strength would escalate alongside this physical expansion, though his agility and speed would inevitably decline. This ability could not be upgraded, but its efficacy would increase slightly as his breathing technique improved. Levi stored himself in the blood whale sac and hump. The food energy he had saved for a year began to pour into his system. As the energy flooded his veins, his body grew visibly. His blood boiled. Pulses of aura surged through his limbs and bones. Like a rubber man filled with vitality, he expanded from his usual height of 2.5 meters, 2.7 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters, 4.5 meters, 5 meters. As his height hit 5 meters, the energy depleted. He understood that his current realm limited him to 5 meters. To expand further would risk his legendary knight body exploding. He studied his adult rock troll stature with pride. Big is strong, he declared. Levi reached out and clenched his fist. The sound of creaking bones echoed as he punched the ground. The impact replicated the first ring spell known as the Mountain Giant's Wrath. Levi had transformed into a mountain giant possessed of immense strength. Within a radius of dozens of meters, mountains collapsed and the ground shattered. Rocks annihilated, turning to dust. The force caused Black Fire Island to tremble. Igor and the Black Flame demonic bird, who were sleeping soundly in the cave, felt the tremor. They assumed an earthquake had struck. They poked their heads out of their hidden cave and traded glances. Upon spotting Levi pounding the ground, they returned to their shelter with defeated resignation. They were accustomed to Levi causing such trouble on the island each day. After transforming into a giant, his strength attribute would be 3 times stronger than before. This felt even more terrifying than the enhancement of the Red Lotus blood. The Red Lotus blood increased his strength by 2 times, though it provided a more balanced boost. Sea-swallowing whale favored the pursuit of brute force. All effort went into strength. In his quest for raw power, he had willingly sacrificed his other attributes. In short, he feared failing to kill his enemy, so he poured everything into his strength. Levi analyzed the pros and cons. Red Lotus blood left him in a weakened state after the eruption, yet sea-swallowing whale carried no such penalty. 3 minutes later, his body began to shrink like a deflated ball. White gas hissed from his pores. With the recoil of the rushing airflow, he shot forward like a bullet. Bang! He slammed onto the surface of the sea. It can be used like this, he muttered, stunned. Fortunately, this world does not operate under the laws of Newton. The speed of the explosion nearly matched the full velocity of his blood wings. If he caught an enemy off guard, he could utilize the deflationary push to close the distance instantly, securing a victory with a single close-quarters strike. Suddenly, his expression shifted as a wave of hunger consumed him. This hunger mirrored the gluttonous desire to devour everything that had plagued him after he first practiced the black snake breathing technique. He immediately pulled a massive pile of dried meat, roasted with his secret condiments, and a large bucket of bread potion from his storage bag. He shoved it all into his mouth. The energy in his blood whale sac and hump replenished, and the gnawing feeling dissipated. Levi finished every morsel in the storage item before letting out a satisfied burp. There are some minor side effects to using sea-swallowing whale. It triggers an intense, gluttonous desire that even a legendary knight struggles to control. It seems to be the bestial instinct buried deep within his extraordinary bloodline. Otherwise, a legendary knight would not have nearly lost control. In the past, he believed those ordinary knights had become lunatic knights simply because of hunger. Now he understood the truth. Lunatic knights suffered because of their extraordinary bloodlines. The path of a legendary knight involved evolving toward the form of the original ancestor. How to master that beastly nature using only the willpower and perseverance of a knight would be a problem for the future. Alchemy maniacs became insensitive when they lost their humanity, while lunatic knights turned bloodthirsty and violent when they surrendered to their bestial nature. There is still a long way to go on the path of a knight, he sighed. Chapter 400. Beyond the second special effect, the legendary organ forged by the black whale breathing technique proved relatively normal. It was Levi's lungs. Since advancing to legendary, his chest had expanded. His lungs occupied more space, pushing against his ribs and broadening his torso. The lungs of the black whale. This supernatural organ stemmed from the black whale breathing technique. Levi opened his mouth and inhaled. An endless stream of aura surged into his lungs, plunging into a bottomless pit. Half an hour passed before he exhaled. His size remained unchanged, yet his body felt significantly heavier. He had pulled in massive amounts of aura, compressing the energy into an incredibly dense liquid within the black whale lungs. He could breathe like Leviathan. 3 days and 3 nights passed without the need to surface. He could sleep submerged. With these lungs, he possessed the physiology of the sea clan, allowing him to fight freely beneath the waves. This organ provided immense utility in the environment of the endless sea. When the next sea beast tide arrived, he would simply hide inside the maw of the Dragon King whale and travel wherever he pleased. Levi suspected these lungs offered more than just respiratory benefits. Other magical applications likely existed, though he had yet to discover them. Levi emerged from the water, placing a hand on Leviathan's head. He retrieved the Poseidon trident to begin sharpening the creature's horns. Levi patted the creature's head. Go have fun. It helps your blood circulation and longevity. I am doing this for your own good. Leviathan nodded and slipped back into the deep sea, satisfied. Levi returned to the black fire cave carrying enough dragon horn powder to last for some time. He had now cultivated the black snake, blood beast, red lotus, undying bird, and black whale breathing techniques to the maximum of the legendary realm. Yet, the legendary 5-dimensional state remained out of reach. He could only call it the legendary 4.5-dimensional state, because the black whale breathing technique also belonged to the lower dimension of strength. Beyond that, the giant breathing technique strengthened his arms and the ostrich mountain breathing technique strengthened his legs. Levi had broken the limits of both the giant and ostrich mountain breathing techniques some time ago. These two techniques had reached level 10 and were advancing toward the final level 11. Within his current system, only legendary endurance and legendary perception lagged behind. Some time ago, after the delivery business between the human world and the wizard world resumed, Andrew sent a batch of breathing techniques. None of them matched what Levi wanted. Furthermore, the quality of these techniques continued to decline. Collecting them through standard channels, even with Andrew's ability, would yield diminishing returns in the future. Andrew asked if he should abandon the effort. Levi considered the question for a moment and told Andrew not to be anxious. The human world remained too stable. Currently, too little power from the multidimensional plane had descended. The scattered disasters of the Blue Frost and the Blood Clan were insufficient to cause panic among the churches of the Seven Kingdoms. Given time, more powerful entities would infiltrate the human world. More Darkwave items would arrive. Those forces would eventually start a war with the church and its hidden guardians. When that happened, many large families would fall. Andrew would then be able to secure many useful breathing techniques. He might even travel straight to Heavenly Mountain to snatch the inheritance of the Van Helsing family suspected to be hidden there. Intelligence reaching Levi indicated that the dark wave was accelerating. Chaos in the human world approached. Patience was all that remained. In the middle of the month of flowers, the annual team building event of the Twilight Knights arrived on schedule. Levi reached the island where he met Emperor Mew early in the morning. They had changed locations this time. The previous island had crumbled under the strain of their prolonged legendary battle. He sat and waited. The Dragon King whale lurked in the deep sea nearby. Not long after, a huge sword dragonfish rode the wind and waves. Emperor Mew laughed excitedly from its back. "Commander, I am here. The sea beast mount you gave me is excellent. I will not have to wait for the Azure ship when I go out. That lousy ship rarely shuttles, and the speed is slow. Traveling on it is torture." While this sword dragonfish is not a first circle transcendent creature, it is still a descendant of the Dragon Clan, Levi said. "You must cherish it." Levi had chanced upon the sword dragonfish some time ago. He realized Emperor Mew lacked a personal mount, which damaged his reputation as the leader of the Twilight Knights. Levi spent effort to tame the beast and gifted it to him. Emperor Mew insisted on paying 500 ether stones. Given his capabilities, saving that amount required significant effort. Levi refused at first, but finally accepted the payment. To be continued. Hope you liked today's video. Join the community by subscribing and dropping a like. I'll be back with another update as soon as possible. See you then.